What would you do if you had 9 beautiful senior sisters? Isn't it obvious? Of course, I'd win them all over. At this moment, I woke up surrounded by several beautiful women. As soon as I opened my eyes, they all gathered around. They were murmuring, "Everyone, look, little uncle is awake." And the little uncle they were referring to was me. But we were suddenly attacked by the blood demon patriarch. The Sword Immortal sect's grandmaster and 9 disciples were all killed in battle. Only one sole survivor remains of the entire direct lineage. Just as they were about to be completely annihilated, I unexpectedly arrived via a thunderous bolt of lightning. I even managed to strike down the blood demon ancestor. And so, I was transported here and became Yixuan, the last disciple of the Sword Immortal sect. But after waking up, my sisters gave me some bad news, even though I did kill the blood demon ancestor. But the power of the 10 thunderbolts was too immense, and it directly struck my spiritual root, destroying it. Fortunately, the 9 elder sisters are kind-hearted people, and they are determined to protect me for this lifetime. Thus, on the first day of my transmigration in the Sword Immortal sect, I received 9 bowls of exquisite soft food. However, what they didn't know was that a transmigrator always has a golden finger. Just 10 years of clocking in, and I'll finally be able to take root. One day, the Jian sect disciples saw that I couldn't cultivate, yet occupied the sect's top resources. All sorts of malicious rumors spread, and I silently endured everything. But today, my 10 years of clocking in are finally complete. I successfully activated the God-level choice system. But the first random task made me want to swear. Hagnango? Reward 1 spirit root. Conversely, if I do nothing, this system will permanently shut down. Initially, I was very resistant to this task, but with the appearance of Big Sister, Big Sister is so beautiful, the system is really amazing. I'll take this mission. Compared to a beast without spiritual roots, I'd rather be a beast with roots. So I came up with a plan and pushed Big Sister aside. I said the disciple of the sect is right. I'm just a useless waste without roots. I'll only drag my sisters down. Then I leaped off the Jianzong cliff. Sure enough, Big Sister saw me trying to kill myself, and in a panic jumped down after me. She then hugged me tightly. "You fool, we depend on each other. Big Sister won't let you die." At this moment, the system sound finally rang out. "Congratulations, host. You have initially completed the God-level choice. Route 1 waste spiritual root. The spiritual root will continue to evolve and upgrade as the host holds onto Nangong Mo. So I had no choice but to start my performance again. As expected, the energy bar began to rise rapidly, and in the eyes of the disciples, the sect leader's senior sister is actually hugging a useless person. No one knows exactly what happened. Outer sect elder Yuenji was so enraged he could hardly contain himself. He had been pursuing Nangong Mo for so long and yet received no response. Now they're hugging a useless person. This is literally slapping their own face. Meanwhile, in the sky, Nangong is completely unaware. He only feels his dancing growing hotter. His entire body feels like it's about to collapse. And I also received a system notification. The reward is the evolution of my spiritual root into the legendary Heavenly Tao spiritual root, the Xuanyang Dragon root. It can absorb the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, and its speed is 10,000 times faster than other spiritual roots. In the blink of an eye, the heavens and earth change color. Countless spiritual energies rush towards her. The elder sister feels an intense heat all over her body. A phantom of a phoenix rises in the air. "Uncle, hurry back, I'm about to break through. I accidentally obtained the Heavenly Tao spiritual root. As long as I cultivate together with the Xuanyang body, I'll be rewarded with 10,000 years of cultivation. What's even more terrifying is that I actually possess 9 senior sisters with this physique. 9. After helping the eldest sister break through to the peak of the Yuanying stage on the mountaintop, the disciples were all buzzing with discussion. After all, the Xuanfeng spiritual root is extremely rare. Even in the sword sect, only the sect master Nankongmo possesses it. Elder Yuanji of the outer sect was so angry that he smashed his teapot on the floor. Xuanfeng Ling is simply defying the heavens. She has broken through again. The entire outer sect is no match for her. If I want to take control of the sword sect, I must act while her foundation is still unstable. At this moment, Yexuan is feeling extremely proud. He's finally a man again. With one move, he helped his big sister break through successfully. If the other sisters find out, they'll definitely tear me apart. But just then, a voice like that of a frog in a well reached his ears. Yexuan was shocked and horrified. There was clearly no one around who could be speaking. Then a fairy girl appeared before the young man. As soon as he came out, he bluntly expressed his bad luck. The new host turned out to be an old pervert. It turns out the girl is Linger, the manager of the god-level selection system. She appeared this time to determine whether Yexuan would bind the system. With Linger's introduction, Yexuan learned that the god-level system has had a legacy since ancient times. No one knows its origin. All that is known is that it has passed through countless hosts. Some became the supreme immortal emperor who founded a new dynasty. Some ascended to the great Luo Golden Immortal during the day. Others transformed into the unparalleled war god who slaughtered through the immortal realm. But in the end, they all made the wrong choice and perished. As the saying goes, God-level choices, one thought creates life, one step to heaven, or one step to hell. I don't know if you're capable of handling this. Are you brave enough to bind the system? Yixuan lived 2 lifetimes, both mediocre and insignificant. In this life, he's suffered the pain of having no roots. Now that such a great opportunity is right in front of him, he must become stronger than anyone else. Bind. No regrets for life. The elf girl saw that Yixuan was so determined in his words. A satisfied expression finally appeared on her face. After reminding him not to leak the system, she disappeared from view. While checking the system, Yixuan was surprised to find that although the Xuanyang dragon root's cultivation speed far surpassed that of other spiritual roots, it could only be cultivated together with the Xuanyan spiritual root. Otherwise, there was a risk of exploding and dying. Seeing this, the shameless young man chuckled. It seems all 9 of my senior sisters have this attribute. Then in the future, wouldn't it be? Afterwards, Yixuan, to verify his current cultivation, in a few leaps flew into the sky. Looking down at the mountains and rivers below, Yixuan laughed wildly. So the feeling of possessing spiritual energy, that feels refreshing. At this moment, a bright voice came from afar. What is Uncle doing? I could hear your ladder from so far away. The person arriving was the second elder of the Xianjin sect, Huang Yurong. With a swift acceleration of her flying sword, she arrived in front of the young man. She explained that she had heard Yixuan's ladder from far off. Today is the day the sect distributes spiritual pills. So he just happened to come over and take the young man with him. Meanwhile, outside the main hall of the sect, the disciples were discussing among themselves. After all, Nan Kongmo is the sect master of the sword sect. Today, countless people saw him hugging Yixuan in the sky tower. There were rumors circulating outside, with various versions. However, when they saw the second elder bring Yixuan over, the discussions came to a halt. Only Yuanbei is still acting arrogant and domineering over there, saying that Yixuan doesn't even have a spiritual root. Why give him spirit pills then? This is a complete waste of resources. You must know that Yuanbei is Yuanji's eldest son. He used to enjoy the inner disciple status thanks to his sisters. This guy has humiliated me countless times. The second sister became directly enraged upon hearing this. The younger uncle lost his spiritual roots because he saved himself and others. But no matter how you say it, he is still Master Yuanba Sr. How dare he speak so disrespectfully? Immediately, as someone was sent to take Yuanba to find the law elder. Although Yuanba was dragged away by the inner disciples, he didn't hold back his words. He directly insulted Yixuan, calling him a cowardly turtle, only knowing how to hide under a woman's skirt. If you're tough, face off with yourself. Upon hearing this, Yixuan was immediately enraged. He rolled up his sleeves and was ready to fight. At that moment, the system task reappeared in front of him. Unlike before, there were now 2 tasks. Task 1, fight Yuanba head-on. Completed to obtain a rare immortal treasure. Or back down and be a coward. Xihuang Yurong's corset. Reward 1 power pill and it cannot be removed. Task Xihuang Yurong's corset. Reward 1 power pill. What the heck, this dog system is so malicious. Grow a turtle shell. Shrink, good buddy. Also, what the heck is task 2? Old man, I've never seen a Belaban in my life. A single thought gives birth. A single thought makes one a god. Or a single thought sends one to hell. Yixuan stood frozen, staring at the task issued by the system. Although both tasks seem difficult, the reward is a powerful pill, but there seems to be some hidden connection. As expected, this system is so twisted. I really like it. Immediately, Yixuan told his second sister not to get involved in his matters. This time, he was determined to make Yuanba kneel and call him father. He then turned to look at Yuanba. He said that he could not sense any spirit stones. Then, the 2 of them would hide a spirit stone somewhere within the sword sect. Whoever finds the other spirit stone first would let the other person handle it. Seeing that Yixuan had easily fallen for his provocation, Yuanba also smiled triumphantly. Second sister looked at her younger brother-in-law with concern. He had made such a bet in public. What if he loses? Even the older sisters would be able to favor him. Unexpectedly, Yixuan pulled second sister aside. The dog-like worshipper was muttering something, but no one knew what. Huang Yurong felt a wave of embarrassment, her face turning red. However, the prompt for completing random task 2 immediately popped up. With 2 streaks of bright red flowing from the tip of her nose, Yixuan waved his. Has Yuan Sunzi hidden it well? If it's hidden, don't waste time. The 2 of them stood in the square, facing each other for a long time. Even if Yuanba had fully activated his spiritual power, they couldn't find a single spiritual stone belonging to Yixuan, but Yixuan was smiling serenely. Sure enough, the spiritual stones were hidden there. Caught red-handed, Yuanbei was enraged and ashamed. He shouted that Yixuan must have cheated. It must have been the second elder who helped him. And it wasn't just the second elder. Everyone saw you hugging the sect master today. Upon hearing this, Huang Yurong became enraged. This brat actually dared to disrespect the sect leader and spread rumors. She immediately ordered her disciples to escort Yu Wenba to the law enforcement hall. However, she was stopped by Yixuan, who had a dark expression on his face. Yu Wenba thought Yixuan was afraid. He mocked him, claiming that Yixuan was scared. Today, he would expel Yixuan from the Sword Immortal sect on behalf of the outer disciples. But before he could finish speaking, Yixuan landed a heavy punch. Humiliated in public, Yuenba was enraged. Attack, he ignored the disciples' attempts to stop him. He first went after his martial uncle. Attack, jumping up, he was ready to fight Yixuan to the death. However, Yixuan immediately swallowed a strength pill. He dodged the attack with a quick sidestep. Then, with a move resembling the Buddha's palm, powered by the strength pill, he struck Yuenba's chin hard. After landing the punch, he even took a moment to catch his breath theatrically. A disciple from the outer sect stepped forward and gently checked on Yuenba. He discovered that Yuenba had already lost his breath. Yixuan's face darkened as he turned to look at the others. The Sword Immortal sect's rule: disrespect towards the sect leader equals death. I didn't expect that Senior Sister 8 was the Empress of Kinkyu. She had been born with a rare poison in her body. The only way to detoxify is through jewel cultivation with a man born with thunder. I thought that Senior Brother Jianzong had died on the battlefield with a thunderous roar, and that I was beyond saving. But unexpectedly, Yixuan arrived at the last moment, crossing through with a thunderous sound. That's why the 8th Senior Sister placed all her hopes on the young man. Because Yixuan completed the system task beyond expectations today, he was rewarded with the ancient body-forging immortal item, the ancestral Dragon Emperor's bone. But I have no idea what it is. While I was lost in thought, a small hand waved to wake me up. It was her second older sister, Huang Yurong, who had just hidden the spirit stones. The boy wanted to help his second older sister retrieve the spirit stones. But Huang Yurong raised her hand in a threatening gesture, scaring him into repeatedly apologizing. Then his second older sister sighed softly. She spoke at the time the blood demon ancestor attacked. Almost everyone in the Jian Shan sect died protecting the sect. But just 10 days ago, the protective mountain array was shattered by a powerful cultivator. "10 years ago, I could have severely wounded him. If that old bastard dares to come again, I will definitely kill him." Huang Yutong nestled against the young man's chest. "You've really grown up, haven't you? You've become a man who knows how to protect women." Just as the two were still in their loving moment, suddenly they heard the disciples shout, "Second Elder, something's wrong? Elder Yuanji says he has urgent business with you." She arrived at the Jiangshan Sect's council hall. Elder Yuanji appeared calm and composed. The second senior sister went straight to the point upon entering, saying that if it concerned Yuanba, then there was no need to discuss it. Unexpectedly, Yuanji greeted her with a smile. He stated that it was due to his inadequate teaching that he had indulged this wicked disciple. "I have no objections to Elder Second's handling of the matter." He then mentioned that the 5 extreme sword debate was approaching. He asked if it was possible to open the Zongnan illusion early, to allow the disciples to enter for trials. The senior sister had already planned to do so, so she agreed to it without hesitation. When Yixuan saw that Yuanji wasn't causing any trouble at the door, he began to think about attending to his own business. Then he summoned the spirit Linger. He inquired about the use of the ancestor Dragon Emperor bone. However, the proud little girl refused to tell him. The Emperor bone is a treasure of the immortals. Whether or not to absorb it is up to Yixuan. Speaking of immortal treasures, Yixuan thought of his 8th senior sister. His senior sister comes from the Kinkyu Fox clan in the immortal realm. Perhaps he should ask her to take a look. Arriving at Sisterba's small courtyard, the peach blossoms on the trees are refreshing and calming, but there is no sign of Sisterba. However, wine bottles are scattered everywhere. One is easily knocked over by accident. Yixuan bent down to pick up the bottle, but unexpectedly a jade-like foot reached out from mid-air, gently lifting Yixuan's lower body with the tips of its toes. Yixuan looked at the scene in front of him, feeling extremely embarrassed. He could only pretend to remain calm and gently press down on the small foot. 8th senior sister, excessive drinking is harmful to the body. Why do you drink so much again? 8th sister slowly jumped down from the tree. Of course it's because of you. Your spiritual roots have been reborn. Now 8th sister is hope. I have to inspect the goods first, to get information about the Emperor Zhu Dragon's bone. Yixuan could only come to the 8th sister's courtyard to inquire. But unexpectedly, he was pinned down by the 8th sister, who wanted to cultivate together. After a period of exertion, the 8th sister fell into a deep sleep, leaving Yixuan completely dumbfounded. Just as he was about to leave, he heard the 8th sister talking in her sleep, saying that the Emperor Zhu Dragon's bone is a treasure of the immortal realm. After absorption, it can reshape the bones. At this point, the young man finally understood the purpose of the royal bones. However, he completely overlooked the rest of the sentence from the drunk 8th sister. It should not be absorbed hastily, otherwise the meridians will be destroyed. 3 days later, the illusion of Mount Zhongnan will open. On the square, there was a sea of people. A large group of outer disciples surrounded a man, completely obeying his every command. The man was Yu Zi. He was a direct disciple of Yuanji. He came with numerous magical treasures. Firstly, he was tasked by UNG to target Yixuan. Secondly, he wanted to obtain the heaven-class cultivation technique for himself. At this moment, he looked towards the inner disciples with a sinister expression. He seemingly unintentionally spoke loudly. He declared that he would definitely obtain the heaven-rank martial art. If anyone dared to snatch it from him, he would show no mercy. The inner disciples, hearing this, dared not speak out in anger. After all, UNG's protectiveness wasn't a new thing. Moreover, UNG's own strength was indeed formidable. But at that moment, a voice rang out, "What's ahead, elder to me?" reaching everyone's ears. UNG looked around, but found nothing. Yixuan, however, slowly descended on his second sister's flying sword. He immediately made a friendly gesture. He told UNG not to bully others with his power. UNG was unwilling to yield. He immediately started cursing, ready to teach Yixuan a lesson. In the next moment, a fist as large as a pot appeared in front of him. As expected, it's truly typical of the Yuan family. Even their stance when getting hit is exactly the same. Then the second sister seemingly equally interrupted this farce and began announcing the rules of the illusion. This trial allows combat, but only to a limited extent. Anyone who kills a fellow disciple will be expelled from the sect. If you encounter a life-threatening situation, you can crush the teleportation jade slip to return. Once everyone fully understands the rules, Huang Yurong also waved her hand, opening the barrier. A small world appeared before everyone's eyes. Looking at Xuan slowly entering, Yuanzi, who followed behind, showed a cold and sinister expression. His uncle had already made a plan before entering. This time, Yixuan and those women would pay the price. Unaware, Yixuan had just entered the illusion, when he was soon caught up by Yuanji and his men. Yixuan instinctively wanted to tease them a bit more, but he noticed the sinister undertones in Yuanji and the others' words. It was clear they intended to kill him within the illusion. He never expected to be surrounded so soon after entering. A body-tempering cultivator against so many Kai refinement cultivators, it was quite dangerous. Unexpectedly, Yuanzi, despite his numerical advantage, didn't attack. Instead, he took out a sound recording jade slip from his person. It turned out Yuanji knew he was no match for his elder sister. He actually came up with using dirty tricks to ruin my sister's reputation and force her to step down as the leader. Your close family member is facing a public relations crisis. Option 1, kneel and admit defeat to gain the punching bag nickname, which reduces the chance of getting hurt. Losing half, but if the other half is found, its power increases greatly. Option 2, teach him how to behave. Losing half, but if the other half is found, its power increases greatly. Slay UNG and the others. Losing half, but if the other half is found, its power increases greatly. Obtain the innate Bagua mirror. Is there really any need to choose? I choose number 2. Yixuan unexpectedly traveled to a cultivation world. He now has 9 senior sisters who care for him deeply. Now someone actually wants to use him to deal with the eldest sister. Yixuan subtly motioned with his finger. He indicated that if anyone wanted to hear gossip, they could only come alone. UNG didn't suspect any trickery. After all, the difference in strength was right before their eyes. Unexpectedly, Yixuanfei took off with a big pengbird spread of wings. While his opponent was still stunned, he grabbed his hair and delivered a flurry of punches. Yu Wenji, who was being beaten senseless, quickly called for his underlings to help. But Yixuan kicked him into the crowd with a go. Then, taking advantage of the chaos, he smiled and slipped away. Yu Wenji was furious and embarrassed. He ordered his men to do whatever it took to kill Yixuan right here. He watched as his underlings rushed toward him. Yixuan knew that no matter how extraordinary his talent was, he probably wouldn't be able to withstand being ganged up on by so many people. However, he had already thought of a countermeasure. There were various martial arts techniques hidden in the Zongnan illusion. The key was that the restriction on each technique's world only allowed one person to enter the trial. Just as Yixuan found a small world and prepared to enter, Yuanji's figure also caught up. Seeing that the opponent was about to enter the small world, Yuanzi quickly summoned his treasured fishbone sword in an attempt to kill Yixuan at the world's entrance. The powerful magic treasure's flying speed was indeed beyond Yixuan's capability. In an instant, the flying sword pierced through his body. However, Yixuan gritted his teeth and lunged forward, finally entering the small world at the last moment. But the transmission jade slip he carried with him fell to the ground. UNG, you can't kill me today, but I will repay you tenfold in the future. Before the young man could finish his boastful words, a huge shadow appeared behind him. Turning around, he saw a gigantic elephant, with a pair of golden horns growing from its head. Moreover, its defenses were incredibly high. Even the treasured fishbone sword couldn't break through the skin after several strikes. Helpless, Yixuan had no choice but to summon Linger. He used an illusion technique and quickly escaped. Hiding behind a stone wall, Yixuan flipped through the basic information Linger had provided. Suddenly he thought of something. Time flows 10 times slower inside the restriction compared to the outside. If he absorbed the royal bone to reshape his roots and then continued cultivating, it wouldn't be long before Yu Wenji would no longer be his opponent. Thinking of this, Yexuan directly began absorbing the imperial bone. However, after a while he noticed something was wrong. What's going on? Why do my muscles and bones hurt as if they were about to break apart? I didn't expect the imperial bone's backlash to be so powerful. Yexuan almost couldn't withstand it, but in the end he managed to absorb the imperial bone, supported by his belief in becoming stronger. He succeeded in absorbing the imperial bone. Wen's physical strength has directly increased to the mid-grade level. Although her cultivation isn't high, her body's physical strength has already far surpassed that of ordinary Kai refining practitioners. Taking advantage of the fact that the dragon elephant herd is asleep, Yixuan arrived at the mountaintop and planned to jump down for a sneak attack, but unexpectedly as something entangled his legs. Turning around, he was surprised to find a little loli, holding her little leg and nibbling on it while humming. Even if he lifted her high, she still insisted on eating the immortal treasure. Yixuan only said that he wasn't an immortal treasure. This angered the little Lolita, who puffed out her cheeks. She immediately used her dragon claw hand to wash Yixuan's face. The two, losing their balance, fell off the cliff. They landed perfectly on the dragon elephant, thus began a relentless pursuit, until Yixuan escaped into a narrow crevice. From Linger, Yixuan learned that the little girl was actually a spirit nurtured by the Zhongnan illusionary realm, but she would weaken to a childlike state as her lifespan neared its end. She thought he possessed a spiritual treasure because she saw him absorb the emperor's bone, but in reality, the immortal treasure she needed was the rejuvenating fruit. Eating it would allow her to regain her youth, and he had this item in his own system mall. It only cost 30 contribution points. As long as Yixuan provides a system with enemy kills or other valuable items, he can obtain a large number of contribution points. Hearing this, Yixuan thought it was that simple. He quickly asked Linger how many enemy kills were needed for 30 contribution points, but he was told that even killing all of Yuan Ji's men might not be enough. Hearing this, Yixuan was dumbfounded. Wasn't it supposed to be easy to obtain? Just for this little glutton, he had to risk his life. It doesn't feel worth it. The next second, Zhao started acting cute. She pouted her lips and called out, "Brother," in a trembling voice. As a Lolican, Yixuan couldn't handle such an onslaught. Damn, that's too cute. 30 it is then. To save the loli, I'll do it. So Yixuan put Zhao down. He told her to wait for him here obediently. He said he would kill the elephant, and then take her to find the immortal treasure. Unexpectedly, upon hearing this, the little girl patted her belly. She also pointed at her abdomen. Then she stuck out her tongue, feigning death. Yixuan instantly understood that the weakness of the 13 dragon elephants lay in its abdomen. The subsequent battle immediately became much simpler, with the enhancement of his Cullen arm and the weak points indicated by Xiao Zhao. Several dragon elephants fell under Yixuan's sword, and Yixuan successfully acquired the 13 dragon elephant skill. Next, those bastards from the Yuan family must be getting impatient, right? Who would have thought that the illusionary Loli, whose life was near its end, could revert to a child and become a 30-60 busty girl? This happened after Yixuan escaped into the small world. Under the order of Yuan Zi, everyone firmly guarded the exit, preparing to catch him in a trap, but as time passed day by day, no matter how high Yuan Ji's prestige was, he gradually couldn't suppress everyone any longer. Moreover, he himself needed to set aside time to find the martial arts technique. However, Yixuan couldn't just ignore the situation here, but he quickly came up with a solution. Prepare, have everyone continue waiting in place. I will go first to select the appropriate cultivation method. Anyone who stays behind will be compensated with a book of profound rank cultivation method after I leave. It is said that as long as one stays behind, they can acquire the profound rank cultivation method. Everyone had no choice but to agree. After all, not only would there be consequences for disobeying the order, but even if they left, they might not be able to find something better. Yuan Ji saw that everyone had agreed. He immediately took a step forward and moved ahead. Not long after he left, Yixuan emerged from the small world. In the moment of landing, he killed 2 low-level disciples. The system immediately notified him with 4 contribution. Before anyone could react, Yixuan rushed toward the Xuanzi secret realm. Seeing this, the crowd hurriedly moved forward, trying to chase and stop him. However, many disciples were blocked outside due to insufficient cultivation. The 3 people inside saw Yixuan right in front of them. Countless attacks shot towards him. Yixuan dodged by twisting and turning, but in the next second, the boy's body began to shrink continuously. In the end, he transformed into a panicked figure, fleeing in a hurry. Meanwhile, in the illusion outside, Yixuan began the slaughter of lower-ranked disciples. Contribution points too. With a swift motion, the disciples were transformed into contribution points, which were then collected. It turns out Yixuan never intended to fight multiple opponents at once. That's why he made Zhou Zhao take on his appearance, leading away several Xuanji disciples first. Only then could he defeat them one by one. Soon after, Linger appeared and took the disciples' bodies away. She said they could be used to help upgrade the system. Yixuan was stunned when he heard this. Isn't this destroying the body to conceal the crime? Several disciples who came out of the Xuanji world found that the vast open space was completely empty. Before they could react, they were severely injured by Yixuan. The few who were about to die tried to use the sect rules to suppress Yixuan, but Yixuan directly killed them. His contribution points also soared to 30. Having obtained enough contribution points, Yixuan immediately exchanged for a rejuvenation fruit. Xiaozhou's eyes shone with golden light as soon as she saw it. Ming swallowed it in one gulp. Her whole body instantly transformed into a green sphere. Countless sounds of the great Tao surrounded her. As the light flashed, Xiaozhou transformed from a lowly into a busty girl. The system immediately issued a quest. Have Xiaozhou wear a custom-made uniform. Reward with a piece of the ancestor dragon's royal bone. Otherwise be a true gentleman. You will be trapped in the illusion forever. Isn't that nonsense? For the ancestor dragon's royal bone, being a true gentleman can go to hell. The cultivator girl actually wore modern J clothes. Her shy look and perfect figure. Yixuan, the old lecher, almost had his soul ascend to heaven from what he saw. But at that moment, a huge shadow completely covered Yixuan. Luckily, Zozo was quick-witted, instantly using the vine summoning secret technique to pull the boy away. Where Yixuan had been standing, a bronze lion stood. If he hadn't dodged quickly, he would have become meat paste. Yixuan still wanted to ask Ling what this was, but the elf said that she had never seen it before. A cold voice came from the sky. Yixuan, you dare to slaughter my outer disciples? Today is the day you die. Although the words were said, at this moment Yuanzi didn't dare to be careless at all. Yixuan, I don't know how he did it, but he wiped out several key condensation disciples in just half a day. I can't afford to capsize in a small gutter. Thinking this, Yuanji instantly hurled the bronze seal in his hand, transforming into a small mountain that flew towards the two. Zirzao saw this and quickly warned Yixuan, explaining that she couldn't attack the trial participants due to the rules. But the self-pack could hold that bronze seal. Yixuan understood upon hearing this. Taking advantage of Xiaozhou using a secret technique to block the bronze seal for a moment, he immediately drew his sword and charged toward Yuanji. The lightning-fast strike caught Yuanji off guard. A shallow cut was left on his face by the blade's wind. Enraged, Yuanji drew his sword intending to slay Yixuan. However, after several rounds of fighting, he realized that close combat was not Yixuan's opponent. He was even caught off guard and kicked out of the air. Seeing Yixuan thrust his sword, his life was in imminent danger. Lying on the ground, Yuanji formed hand seals, screaming ding with all his might. The bronze seal in the distance instantly grew larger, breaking free from the vines. Seeing the bronze seal about to fall on him, Zhou closed his eyes in despair. But as the bronze seal fell, Zhou found that he felt no pain at all. Opening his eyes, he discovered that Yixuan had used his own body to block the blow for him. Brother, why are you so foolish? Using your own body to block the bronze seal. It's nothing. You call me brother. Protecting you is what I should do. Hearing this, Zhou instantly burst into tears. I'm just an elf. Even if I really did, the illusion will still give birth to something new. Before Zhou could finish speaking, Yixuan smiled casually. Even if it's something new, it won't be you, Zhou. Be careful now. Stay behind me. Seeing that Yuanji was desperately activating the bronze seal again, Yixuan also pretended to hold on, forcing himself to rise. However, his body truly seemed to be failing. Zhou, who was behind him, saw everything clearly. She gently wrapped her arms around Yixuan. This time, let Zhao protect you, brother. Yixuan, defeated by Yuanji, suffered serious injuries. At the critical moment, he was held by Zhao and fell off the cliff. Yuanji looked at the endless abyss and sneered repeatedly. There's only one day left until the illusion closes. He only needs to guard the cliff and prevent Yixuan from coming up. Then when the illusion closes, Yixuan will be doomed. But Yixuan and Zhao, who fell off the cliff, arrived before a large lake. Ling's eyes widened at the sight of the large lake. She exclaimed, "This is the Mountain Marrow Spirit Spring. It's the convergence point of spiritual energy in the entire Earth's veins. That stinky boy really got lucky." Yixuan understood the benefits upon hearing this. As long as he absorbed the Spirit Spring, leveling up would be like having a turbo boost. The system then sent a random task. 101011001001001001. Absorbing the Spirit Spring grants a divine enlightenment and celestial fate. 0101001110110110110010, or simply ignore the Spirit Spring. 0100100010. Linger told Yixuan he was happy to get it early. Although the Spirit Spring is a great opportunity, it is only for cultivators in the metamorphosis stage. For someone like Yixuan, a mere body tempering stage cultivator, he rashly absorbs it, he will inevitably be backlashed and die from a burst body. This system task has no penalty, so it's fine if I don't accept it. But Yixuan wouldn't listen. Even if it wasn't for himself, he would still fight for his sisters. Thinking this, Yixuan poured countless spirit herbs from his spatial ring, throwing them all into his mouth regardless, hoping to reduce the probability of his self-destruction. After taking the pill and the Spirit Spring water, Yixuan immediately began his cultivation. Linger, seeing his determination to die, let be. Sure enough, as the medicinal power gradually permeated, Yixuan's whole body began to ache intensely. His facial expression was one of extreme pain. Blood flowed continuously from his 7 orifices. The next moment, cracking sounds came from his body. It seemed as if all the bones in his body were fracturing under the impact of the medicine. Xiao, standing beside him, witnessed this. She understood that this was a critical moment for Yixuan. Immediately she silently chanted an incantation. Condense the soul within the body. My soul, all things of heaven and earth, become one with me. Linger beside her was shocked and pale. Little fairy, you were gonna die if you do this. Zuzou didn't pay any attention. She now in her spirit form gently kissed Yixuan. Brother Xiaozhou will definitely protect you. At this moment Linger stood frozen in place. She never expected that the illusion fairy would be willing to give up her own physical body, using his own spirit body as a medium. He connected Yixuan's meridians to the entire illusion. In that case, Yixuan's physical body should be approaching the golden core stage. Yixuan, his condition restored, looked at his hands in surprise. He hadn't expected the absorption to be so successful. His physical body was now incredibly strong, and all his previous injuries were completely healed. But then Linger threw cold water on the situation, questioning Yixuan's appeal, wondering how he could have charmed the illusionary spirit into sacrificing itself for him. Hearing this, Yixuan stood there dumbfounded. A life for a life? Did he really deserve Xiaozhou's sacrifice? But then Linger comforted Yixuan, saying that thankfully Xiaozhou had eaten a rejuvenation fruit. A trace of her soul remains. She'll return after recovering in 100 years. Yixuan clenched his fist tightly. Zhao will meet again in 100 years. By then I will protect you for life. 00110. At this moment, the system signaled the completion of the task 01101010. 0101100110110010 indicates that Yixuan has exceeded the task requirements. 01100110101001 extra reward 1 robbery talisman 0100100010 1010011000100001. You can grab any item 1001011001. Yan stood up angrily. A snatchman. Interesting. Yuanji, you're gonna pay for this. The girl sacrificed her life to save Yixuan. In the end, only a sliver of her primordial spirit remained. Upon waking, Yixuan heard the news. With the plunder token just rewarded by the system, he was ready to seek revenge on Yuanji. After jumping off the cliff, he immediately saw his opponent. He launched a triple hit of love right away, followed by a series of dragon subduing and dog-beating fist moves. Yuanji, almost stunned from the beating, prepared to try the same old trick again. Little did he know Yixuan had already prepared and coldly smiled. Have finally willing to use it, huh? System, use the snatching talisman for me. A golden light radiated from Yixuan's body. A huge rescue talisman appeared behind him. With a wave of Yixuan's large hand, several golden chains surged forward, locking the bronze seal of Yuanji tightly. They quickly pulled it back and placed it in Yixuan's hand. Yuanji had no idea what had happened. How did my treasure become someone else's? Yixuan was not polite at all. He wielded his new treasure and struck with a move as heavy as Mount Tay. However, after moving it away, he found that Yuanji had already disappeared without a trace. It seemed like he had escaped into the heavenly stairway's restriction. Inside the restricted world, Yuanji was lying on the ground, panting like a dead dog. Even if that wasty Yixuan improved his cultivation, he could never enter this heavenly stairway. I will crush the teleportation jade slip and send it out now. I must have my uncle unite all the elders of the outer sect to punish him for the massacre of his fellow disciples. But the next second, the teleportation portal emitted an unusual fluctuation. Yixuan actually walked in, smiling and holding the bronze seal. Seeing this, Yuanzi was so frightened that he kept retreating. He quickly said that as long as Yixuan didn't kill him, he would agree to anything. Yixuan watched the green butterfly flitting through the air, his expression momentarily lost. The girl I raised with my own hands? You destroyed her. Do you think I'll let you off the hook? Congratulations, host, you have successfully slain a late-stage key condensation cultivator. Contribution point 77. Have a piece of innate bagua. Meanwhile, at the entrance to the Jiangxian sect's teleportation array, the disciples who have already obtained opportunities are all stepping out one after another. Yuanzi still hasn't shown up. Yuanji casually glanced at Huang Yurong beside him. He acted as if nothing was wrong. He frankly said Yuanzi's spiritual root and aptitude are extraordinary. He must be waiting to obtain the heavenly rank martial arts before he will appear. However, that old bastard is also uncertain. To kill someone as insignificant as Yixuan, he's actually wasting so much time. I wonder if Zier has encountered trouble. As time, the portal started showing strange fluctuations. It looks like the trial period is almost over. The illusion is already preparing to close. Yuanji quickly grabbed Huang Yurong and urged her to stop the boundary from closing. Although second senior sister was worried about Yixuan's safety. However, it was announced that the illusion's time limit had expired. Once the portal was closed, no one could stop it. But just as the portal was about to close, a figure suddenly flew out from within. It landed steadily in the center of the plaza. When they saw that the person was Yixuan, Yuwenji revealed an expression of disbelief. His dozen disciples, along with the exceptionally talented Yuwenzi, they never returned. And the illusionary portal opens once every century. There's no way they could have survived. Since that's the case, I can't let them die in vain. This matter must be blown out of proportion. With that in mind, Yuwenji firmly accused Yixuan of slaughtering the disciples, harming fellow disciples within the illusion, and the other outer elders all echoed in agreement, determined to capture Yixuan, to seek justice for their disciples. The second senior sister waved her fan. She coldly said, are you planning to rebel? Yuwenji didn't care about that at this moment. He said that slaughtering fellow disciples was a grave crime. Even Huang Yurong couldn't protect him. Today Yixuan must be brought to justice, but at this moment a seductive voice suddenly came from behind. Greetings, Elder Yuan. What impressive authority you have. I heard you're shouting all the way from my cave dwelling, but I'm the enforcement elder. Is it really up to you to punish the disciple? Yixuan returned to the sect after avenging his great grievance, but was targeted for arrest by Yuwenji under the pretext of killing fellow disciples. Although the appearance of third sister temporarily eased everyone's anger, Yuwenji clearly had no intention of letting Yixuan go. Is the sect's injustice going to force me into rebellion? Dongfang Saifeng and Huang Yurong knew that the old thief was using this as an excuse, but they were helpless. After all, my eldest sister is still in seclusion. Thus the inner and outer sect forces were at a standstill in the central plaza. Yixuan also knew that this wouldn't do. He then pretended to be relaxed and called out to Yuan, little brother. The old thief was instantly furious. At his age, someone actually dared to call him little brother, and it was his biggest headache to boot. However, the outer sect elders beside him expressed, Yixuan is the former sect leader's direct disciple. In terms of seniority, we are indeed his juniors. Facing formidable opponents in a useless team, Yuwenji felt like killing someone at this moment. Yixuan patted the old thief's shoulder. He said that with second sister's powerful cultivation, she only needs to open a crack in the illusion. Then you can use your sensing technique to investigate. The elder by the side took out an item upon hearing this. He claimed to have a treasure. It could break all illusions and see through everything. Yixuan saw the treasure and realized it was the same as the reward from the system. He quickly understood it was the other half of the Bagua mirror. He then said directly that if Yuan and the others couldn't find any evidence of murder, they would have to give him the treasure mirror as compensation. After agreeing, the second sister also activated her secret technique. He forced open a tiny crack in the illusion. The elder immediately commanded the treasure to fly into the illusion to investigate, but no matter what, they couldn't find the outer sect disciples. Yuwenji's face changed drastically. Over a dozen people. How could they just vanish into thin air? Yixuan, suggesting they might have overestimated their abilities. He died in the forbidden world where the martial arts techniques were collected. The outer sect elder tried to refuse to hand over the precious mirror when he saw this, but was directly seized by the third sister using a secret technique. Thus the illusionary contest came to an end. In the evening, Yixuan, soaking in the hot spring, stared at the combined precious mirror. He studied it for a long time but couldn't figure out its use. He was thinking of showing it to the second sister, but then they noticed bubbles rising from the spring on one side. Oh my! Third sister, what are you doing here? When did the hot spring appear? Dongfang Saifeng smiled warmly and hugged Yixuan. You've got so many secrets, huh? Did you kill those people from the Yuan family? Yixuan was about to explain, but she directly abandons any sense of fairness. With a single move like a monkey stealing peaches, she wants to know what tricks the young man has up his sleeve. In an instant, Yixuan dodges, countering with a dragon claw strike. But to his surprise, he grabs nothing but air. Third sister's figure appears mid-air. She delivers a fierce whip kick. Yixuan takes the blow head-on. His body doesn't budge. Dongfang Xiyu was greatly shocked. I didn't expect that you just reborn your spiritual root. Your physical strength has already reached the marrow-washing realm. No wonder you could kill Yuwenji and the others. The upcoming 5 Absolute Swordsmanship Conference isn't completely hopeless. Hearing this, Yixuan's face was full of disbelief. Wait, isn't that a matter of foundation establishment? What's the deal with a little guy like me participating in the body forging competition? Lin Wally from the Wanjian League in the east, the #1 badass in the 4 seas and 8 desolates, and in the west, Zhang Hao from the Tianxia sword mainer, who needs to be relentlessly beaten by women to improve his swordsmanship, and in the north, the Jian family are all lunatics. For years, I haven't understood their methods. Fighting their disciples is a mess. You don't even know how to write the character for death. You've earned the title of deserter, forfeiting your next choice. But what must come will come. Please make your selection, host. You've earned the title of deserter, forfeiting your next choice. You've earned the title of deserter, forfeiting your next choice. Face the demonic genius in the 5 Masters Swordsmanship Tournament. Please, host. You've earned the title of deserter, forfeiting your next win. First place, 200 contribution points or 1 specified treasure. You've earned the title of deserter, forfeiting your next. Otherwise, you will receive the title of deserter. You've earned the title of deserter, forfeiting your next choice. For 200 contribution points, Ixuan risked his life to go into battle. Third sister blushed deeply. You're quite ambitious, huh? Once you reach the pinnacle of the 5 absolutes, I'll give you the chance to cultivate together with me. In order to cultivate with third sister as soon as possible, Ixuan agreed to participate in the 5 absolute sword tournament. Once the news spread, it shook the entire martial world. You should know that the other families have sent out only the elites of the elites. When Sword Alliance is long, peak of the Foundation Establishment stage with a heavenly tier 5 elements spiritual root. Sword Extreme Pavilions Meng Janfi. Peak of the Foundation Establishment stage of the mutated Earth and Metal Dual spiritual root. World Sword Manners Shuya. Peak of the Foundation Establishment stage with an exceptional water elemental spiritual root. Even the weakest of the sword family Xiao Godo. He's also a Foundation Establishment cultivator, a bone spirit root cultivator. However, Yixuan's inferior grade body refining cultivation naturally attracted everyone's attention. They all sent people to investigate Yixuan's origins. However, our protagonist Yixuan didn't care at all. He was only thinking about getting a handy weapon before the 5 absolute swordsmanship tournament. Arriving before Mount Hoshin, Yixuan opened his throat and shouted Madame Nangguo. But it was deathly quiet all around without the slightest reaction. The boy understood that the fool was probably refining something again. He had no choice but to use his trump card. Then Yixuan walked to the edge of a lava flow. He took out a doll and pretended to throw it in. Sure enough, a loud shout came from afar. A stream of light sped towards Yixuan from the distance. Brother, you bad guy. You even dared to throw such a cute doll into the volcano? Yixuan quickly explained that he had no choice but to resort to this desperate measure. The girl glanced at Yixuan. She discovered that the boy's spiritual roots had actually recovered, and his muscles seemed to have become stronger. The key was that his left arm felt particularly powerful. Could it be the legendary single-handed Kirin arm? Then let's have a fight? Yixuan was speechless. How could I forget Six Sister is a complete violent maniac. Whenever she encounters someone with decent cultivation, she has to pick a fight. Hastily, I raised my hands in a surrender gesture. I indicated that there's an important matter to discuss today. Upon hearing this, the violent loli stopped her actions. I let out a deep breath. I told her I was going to participate in the 5 extreme sword debate, but I wanted to ask Six Sister for help in merging the mirrors I had. Six Sister looked at the boy in surprise. You're actually representing the Sword Immortal sect in the 5 absolutes. After receiving Yixuan's affirmative answer, the girl suddenly flew into a rage. You little brat into the 5 absolutes. Won't our Sword Immortal sect lose face on our home turf? Let me kill you first, then you won't disgrace the sect. Hearing this, Yixuan was terrified. Lion repeatedly said that as long as the mirror is fixed, she would never disgrace the Sword Immortal sect. However, just in the next second, Six Sister's big hammer still heavily struck Yixuan. Yixuan, who was hit hard, flipped over and found that there was no pain. The broken mirror, however, had completely fused together. As expected of Six Sister, she fixed the mirror without a sound. With this thing, my victory is assured. Spirit Rebound Mirror, medium-grade spiritual treasure, can break any illusion or illusionary realm below the nascent soul stage, can fully rebound any attack below the Foundation Establishment stage 3 times. Six Sister gazed at the mirror, deep in thought, indicating that this magic treasure is good, but it lacks a rare spirit stone as the weapon's soul. Otherwise, it could be used more times. But this time, the 5 Absolute Swordsman tournament will be held in Yunming's. I've been there before. If Yixuan sees it, remember to collect it. At this moment, a melodious bell rang out above the Sword Immortal sect. Yixuan understood. The great bell summoned. It seems the 5 Absolute Swordsman tournament is about to begin. Six Sister excitedly patted the boy's shoulder. Brother, you have to do your best in the competition. Yixuan looked helpless. Alright. Where did you get that incredible strength? On the Maimyo peak of the Jiangshan sect, many elders and disciples were gazing into the distance. At this time, Yuan came to cause trouble again. This means the sect leader has appointed Yixuan to participate in the 5 Absolute Swordsmanship tournament. I won't say much myself, but for the sake of harmony within the sect, I recommend that outer sect disciple Xia Haomao participate as a supporting member. This disciple possesses a rare lightning spirit root, with astonishing talent. He reached the peak of the Foundation Establishment stage after only 15 years of cultivation. Huang Yurong and Dongfang Xifeng could only sigh upon hearing this. Each sect sends 2 disciples to compete. Yuanji's request is reasonable and we cannot refuse it on our side. At this moment, a dragon's roar echoed from the clear sky. The first to arrive was Meng Jianfei, the leader of the Sword Extreme Pavilion. A small member of the Sword family silently appeared on the steps. Only the Wanjin Alliance is the most dominant. As soon as Tong Dejiang, their leader, arrived, he demanded that the Sword Immortal Sect's master come out and kneel in greeting. When Dongfang Xiyu tried to speak to him, she was humiliated in return. Yixuan also appeared without any courtesy. Where did this old dog come from? What are you barking for? The 5 absolute sword debate begins today. The last to arrive, the Myriad Sword Alliance, is arrogant and domineering. They even demanded that the Sword Immortal sect's leader kneel to welcome them. Unable to bear it, Yi Chen mocked them under pressure. Tong Dejiang fell straight to the ground. The powerful internal energy shook the ground beneath his feet, causing it to crack. Yek showed no fear. He immediately called out the One-Jian Alliance's hegemonic behavior of bullying the weak. Some even speak of morality but secretly engage in underhanded tactics. Upon hearing this, the leader of the One-Jian Alliance, Lin Wanli, who was watching from afar, directly sent a voice transmission. He ordered Tong Dejiang to kill Yek Xuan. This brat must not be allowed to keep spouting nonsense. Upon receiving the order, Tong Dejiang immediately formed a sword gesture with one hand. With a single strike of 10,000 swords returning to the heart, he directed it toward Yek Xuan. In an instant, a red fire wall appeared blocking all the spiritual swords. A cold authoritative female voice was heard from the side. Tong Dejiang, if you dare to act recklessly again, the next sword will take your head. Looking at Nan Kongmo, who had reached the peak of the nascent soul stage, cold sweat started to bead on Tong Dejiang's forehead. It seems the rumors outside are true. This time during the 5 absolute sword debate we can't act rashly. The disciples of the Sword Immortal sect saw their sect leader forcefully emerge from seclusion. Each of them appeared triumphant. Even Xiao Gudo and Shui Yunqi felt the pressure mounting. Yuxuan, completely unharmed, smiled cheekily beside them. My sister so domineering, truly worthy of being my woman. Before he could finish his sentence, Nan Kongmo sharply covered his ears. I heard you've stolen something of mine recently. But since you wished for my breakthrough to the peak this time, I'll let you off. However, in this sword competition, you must help me win the championship. The rules for the 5 heroes sword competition have been announced. Each sect can send a maximum of 2 disciples to participate in the competition. Their cultivation must not exceed the peak of foundation establishment. The venue will be in Yunming's, at the foot of the Sword Immortal sect's mountain. The trial content will be to slay demon beasts. The higher the level, the more points you get. All points are validated by demon pills. Tong Jiang of the Wanjin sect waved his hand. He proposed an additional rule for his sect's participation. Disciples can fight and seize points from each other. No sect is allowed to intervene or seek revenge. This move was clearly aimed at the useless Yek Xuan. Nan Kongmo asked Yek Xuan for his approval. Once Yek Xuan agreed, the competition officially began. He then formed hand seals, releasing a massive barrier above Yunming Marsh. Disciples from various sects flew on their swords. Only Yek Xuan proceeded unhurriedly. Long Ku at the forefront had a grim expression. He muttered to someone, once we reach the trial grounds, don't rush to grab the demon pills. Kill him directly. I want that. He won't survive the night. None of you Wenji's men are easy to deal with. The one recommended this time, Xiao Mao, is even more malicious. After following Yek Xuan deep into Yunming's, he immediately took out a flare from his chest. The flare exploded like fireworks. Yek Xuan turned around and coldly stared at Xiao Mao. Nephew, to whom are you signaling? Are you colluding with outsiders to betray our Jiangxin sect? The 5 Absolute Swordsmanship Conference should be a matter for young people. But that old scoundrel Tong Dejiang coming here, it certainly isn't a coincidence. If they wanted to kill me, they wouldn't need him. Could it be you intend to attack my elder sister? Sai Hamo saw that the situation was exposed, and stopped hiding, drawing the sword from his back. He admitted that in this duel, as long as he killed Yek Xuan, Long Kai would protect him and make him second in command. His older sister had long been chosen by Lin Wanli as a furnace companion, and his master would be the next sect leader. Yek Xuan looked at Exahamo as if he were a fool. With the corrupt nature of your outer sect, guess why I brought you here? Before Xiahamo could react, Yek Xuan slammed his foot down hard on the ground. The originally smooth ground instantly cracked open with a large gap. Countless demon beasts flew out from beneath the earth. Their blood-red bodies emitted an eerie, otherworldly glow. It was actually a swarm of the infamous Legion blood ants. However, Yek Xuan had brought along the disguise potion from Fourth Sister. Just spray it on yourself, and you can disguise as one of your kind. As a result, all the flying ants rushed toward the only outsider in the arena. Xiahamo could only swing his sword, cutting down the ants while trying to flee. The blood-splattered flying ants that were killed turned into demon pills and dropped to the ground. Yek Xuan, his head spinning, began to frantically collect them. This made Xiahamo explode in rage. But in the next moment, a terrifying pressure caused Yuan's face to turn purple. The blood-flying ant queen appeared behind. It dared not move, keeping a fierce watch on Yek Xuan. The young man immediately played his part. He claimed that his brother's remains were nowhere to be found. He could only collect demon cores and reminisce about his fallen ants. And the culprit was right in front of him. He would never let it go. Seeing the blood-flying ants attack growing more fierce, Sayama had no choice but to take out a speed talisman. He forcefully increased his speed to kill Yek Xuan. However, his full power strike was easily blocked. Instead, Yek Xuan pulled out the bronze seal and slammed it hard into his face. Sayao, his face bloodied and bruised, fell to the ground. His right hand trembled as he reached into his bosom, searching for something. The next second, thunderclouds gathered in the sky. A bolt of lightning struck Sayo directly. Sayahamo, whose face was contorted, slowly stood up. He had originally prepared this move to compete with Long Kai for the championship, but now it was forced out by Yixuan ahead of time. Then you shall die. Yixuan smiled slightly as he looked at the powerful lightning attack. He took out a mirror from his chest. Spirit Light Mirror recoiled. Yixuan's mirror could actually reflect any attack. Even Xiahou Mao's hidden assassin Tong was no exception. Watching Xiahou charge with his sword, the boy lightly uttered a counterattack, causing Xiahou Mao to die on the spot in the northwest. Yixuan touched the cracked Bagua mirror, heartbroken, only to use his left. He must hurry to Yunmeng's and find the Kuai Soul Stone. Then Linger appeared and wanted to collect Xiahou Mao's body. After some bargaining, they actually sold 70 contribution points. Looking at the blood-flying ants under the ground, starting to move their supplies and evacuate, Yixuan suddenly remembered what his sisters had said. After the blood-flying ants suffer heavy losses, to prevent surrounding beasts from attacking, they will actively relocate. However, there must be a large amount of spiritual treasures and spiritual minerals in their nest. The young man who had leapt down stared wide-eyed at the scene in front of him. Such a large... I'm afraid it might make me the richest in the sect with just one leap. And on the ground, there's actually a dragon ancestors royal bone. I don't know what kind of luck I have today. This is simply a windfall. Yixuan immediately took out the concealment scroll given by his elder sister and hid the entire blood-flying ant nest. These things cannot be known by others. I will cultivate here for a while first. Once I absorb the 2 ancestral dragon emperor bones, I'll go out and play with you all properly. Not far above the lair, Long Kai and the others who had rushed over after hearing the news looked at the blood-flying ants on the ground, investigating. There were no bodies on the ground. Not even a drop of blood could be seen. However, the blood-flying ants' bodies and demon cores were completely gone. I guess someone is taking advantage of Xiahou Mao's situation, but Yixuan definitely didn't die. Let's split up. We must find him and kill him. Meanwhile, Yixuan has absorbed the 2 dragon bones. His 13 dragon elephant skill has broken through to the 8th level. Realm. With one punch, the entire earth shattered. A roar of a demonic beast reached his ears. Yixuan clapped his hands together sharply. It's a good chance to test my skills. On the ground, Saigoto was wielding a sword larger than himself, roaring fiercely and fearlessly, delivering a heavy blow to the Tyrannosaurus. Yixuan, who arrived upon hearing the commotion, was completely dumbfounded. A third-order dwarf Tyrannosaurus. It's equivalent to a human in the Golden Core stage. This little brat is only in the middle stage of foundation building, yet dares to challenge alone. That's a bit too monstrous, isn't it? The injured dwarf Tyrannosaurus, seeing it was no match, hurriedly let out a long roar towards the sky. Instantly, a much larger Tyrannosaurus appeared. Looks like the younger one called in the older one. No bro. Don't run this way. The cat clinging to Xiaogu's side immediately latched onto Yixuan. No matter how he swung his arms, he couldn't shake it off. Then the cat sprayed an unknown liquid. It drifted on the wind and into the Tyrannosaurus's mouth. Yixuan wanted to die. Big brother, it really wasn't me. Go find that damn cat. Sabemia's true form is unknown. It can actually trigger the god-level choice system. Looking at the prompt panel in front of him, Yixuan expressionlessly extended his hand towards Xiaobai. Then with a burst of strength, he threw the cat towards Xiaogu. He himself quickened his pace, preparing to escape first. Seeing Yixuan do this, Xiaozi's anger surged. He violently broke free from Sagata's embrace. With a single leap, he landed on Yixuan's back again. The powerful force sent Yixuan tumbling to the ground. Quickly getting up, he flung Xiaozi away again. But the next second, the cat appeared behind him once more. After this happened several times, Yixuan finally remembered the fear of being dominated by Miamio. Exhausted, he collapsed to the ground and raised the white flag. He could see the Tyrannosaurus' enormous jaws closing in. Yixuan was about to take out the bronze seal for a last-ditch effort. Unexpectedly, at that moment, Little Bone appeared in front of him. One hand grabbed Xiaobei, while the other pulled Yixuan up. Carrying both of them, it flew away quickly. However, the Tyrannosaurus was not about to let them go. It released a terrifying energy wave from its mouth. By the time Saguto noticed, it was already too late. The energy ball had silently arrived behind them. Seeing no way to dodge, Saguto threw both the person and the cat out. But they took the full brunt of the attack. They rolled to the side, unable to move. Even the greatsword in their hands slipped away. Despite that, Aksaga still insisted that Yixuan take Xiaozi and escape. It's better for one person to die than for everyone to die together. Upon hearing this, Yixuan gently pressed down on Xiaogudu. You kid, watch carefully. Big brother, watch how I tame these 2 Tyrannosaurs. Before Xiaogu could respond, Yixuan instantly lunged forward. Watching Yixuan fearlessly face the Tyrannosaurs, a trace of warmth appeared in the boy's heart. Perhaps he isn't as worthless as the rumors say, but the slap to the face came so quickly. I saw Yixuan pull out a bright red bellband from his chest. He shook it in front of the 2 raging dinosaurs. While muttering, "Come and smell it. It's a personal item of a peak nascent soul expert. Ordinary people aren't qualified to see it." Meanwhile, the eldest sister, who was meditating in her cave, suddenly felt a chill. I involuntarily sneezed. I wonder how Ixuan is doing now. Why did he have to steal that of all things? What Nankangmo didn't know was, at this moment, Yixuan was showing off her belly band. Using a trace of Yuanying energy, he frightened two Tyrannosaurus into trembling. Under Yi Bapai's threats and inducements, they handed over their demon pills. Then they fled in a panic. At this time, Sugyu stubbornly walked over. Without a word, she thrust the cat into Yixuan's hands. She also took out a bone flute, saying that if he needed help in the future, he should blow the bone flute, and she would definitely come to his aid. After saying this, Xiaogu turned and left, not giving Yixuan any chance to respond, and Yixuan successfully completed the system task. Not only did he earn the title of Poop Scooper, but he's also rewarded with an evolving celestial treasure and a portable cat house. Yixuan lifted Xiaobei, looking at it over and over, completely clueless about what it actually was. Little Bone actually said it would feed on high-level demon pills. Could it be that he's raised a father? The little creature, whose fur was standing on end from being lifted, immediately shot out an unknown substance, and it landed squarely on Yixuan's foot. Angry Yixuan summoned the bronze seal, intending to teach Xiaobai a lesson. However, during the chase between the person and the cat, they failed to notice a man in the sky. He was riding a giant eagle watching them. Lonkai found him. Hurry up and come. Although Xiaobai really enjoys bullying Yixuan, won't tolerate others interfering. After all, in a cat's mind, it is the big brother of its human. So when Shinyi's eagle swooped down, Xiao sensed the danger. Quickly adjusting its posture to face backward, it then charged back with the force of a tiger descending a mountain. Immediately following was a flurry of cat punches. Shinyi and his eagle were left covered in scratches. One moment of carelessness and it fell off the side. Yixuan saw this perfect opportunity. He immediately prepared to end it once and for all with a flying sword. However, halfway through, Shinyi noticed the flying sword coming at him. He made a hand gesture. He directly merged with the giant bird and transformed into a giant bear. However, the flying sword swerved and fell right in front of him. Shinyi blushed. Where's the supposedly skilled Jianshan sect disciple? This guy doesn't understand swordsmanship at all. I haven't exercised caution for a bit. Just as Shinyi was stunned, Yixuan, holding a bronze seal, descended from the sky, landing squarely on the giant bear's head, leaving behind 4 large characters. Quarantine pork. Shinyi's also a bit stunned. Wasn't it agreed that the opponent was only in the body refining stage? Why is his physical strength so terrifying? If it weren't for my high defense, I probably would have died right there. Seeing Yixuan disregard martial ethics and charge again, Shinyi immediately began counterattacking to defend. With a heavy and powerful strike, he knocked the opponent back. Unfortunately, Yixuan is just too agile. Instantly activating the 13 Dragon Elephant technique, countless bronze seals struck the giant bear. But unfortunately, Shinyi's defense was simply too strong. After attacking for so long, he was completely unscathed. Seeing that he couldn't gain an advantage, Yixuan didn't linger. After one more attack, he immediately prepared to escape. Unexpectedly, Shinyi transformed into a spirit deer form again. In an instant, he caught up to the boy's rear. Tier 3 Demon Beast, Great Horned Deer. However, in the next moment, Yixuan saw a surprising scene. Countless great horned deer were lining up on the vast grassland, forming a group of demon beasts. At that moment, Yixuan suddenly had an idea. Holding a branch, he separated all the deer. Then he introduced the spirit deer, which was closely following to the group. The great horned deer herd, seeing the spirit deer transformed by Shenya, was so moved. They could no longer contain their excitement. They all galloped toward Shenya. Damn, guys. Who's the goddess? I'm a guy, don't look at me. I never expected that a bird egg stolen by Xiaozi would provoke the anger of a golden core dragon. Not long after Yixuan shook off Shenyi, he encountered Long Kai and Shui Yunqi, who were in the middle of a fierce battle. Enemies meeting are always a red-hot affair. Long Kui directly threw Shui Yunqi aside and lunged with his sword. Xiaozi on his shoulder seemed to have noticed something. He left Yixuan and darted into the woods alone. Long Kui's sword appeared behind him like a venomous snake. Yixuan was just about to use the bronze seal to fight back when Shui Yunqi appeared behind him. With a single strike, he severed Long Kui's sword in two. Then he spun his sword in a graceful flourish. Long Kui, you'll be facing me. Yixuan, seeing someone help block his enemies, slipped away and ran. After all, his top priority was finding the soul stone first, but Yixuan rejoiced too soon, just as he was about to dash into the woods. If he hadn't trained before, he would probably be split in two like that tree. Yixuan was still thinking of slipping away from the other side, but found Shenyi appearing before him. He stood trembling, clutching his bottom. Yixuan had a mischievous smile on his face. Young man, you've got quite the constitution. Don't you want to lie down and recover for a few days? Shenyi's anger flared up upon hearing this. The recent experience would be a lifelong trauma for him. He would not be able to ease the hatred in his heart without tearing Yixuan's body into pieces. In front of him is Shenyi from the 10,000 Swords Alliance, and behind him is Meng Jianfei from the Sword Extreme Pavilion. Yixuan knew that the situation was grim, but at this point, there was no way for him to avoid it. A battle was inevitable. However, at that moment, the earth trembled with a thunderous roar. From the nearby grass, Xiaobai, kissing an egg, swiftly darted out. After jumping onto Yixuan's shoulder, it pointed behind and meowed. The young man was speechless. You didn't just disturb some divine beast's nest, did you? Speak of the devil, and the devil appears. A golden dragon python instantly appeared in front of everyone. The terrifying pressure caused everyone to start fleeing. The beast master, Shinyi, recognized it as the savage dragon. It is the snake-like demon beast most likely to evolve into a dragon. Although this one is weak in strength, it is at least at the peak of the golden core stage. It is far beyond what the few of us at the foundation establishment stage can handle. Moreover, its golden scales are extremely unusual. It is likely that it has rare treasures within its body. Yixuan, who was running at the front, fell into deep thought upon hearing this. Ever since the dragon python appeared, the ancestral dragon's royal bone inside him has been subtly responding to it. Could it be that there is a royal bone inside that giant body? And on top of that, Xiaozi stole its egg. It's likely that it can sense there's something valuable on me. It will probably attack me first. If that's the case, I might as well hide behind Long Kuai. Let them fight it out to the death. As expected, after the dragon python locked onto Yixuan's position, it swung its massive tail and charged this way. The dragon blocking Yixuan's path mistakenly thinks that the tail is being swung at him. He jumps up and attempts to cleave the snake's tail. However, he underestimated the dragon's strength. His full force strike was ruthlessly deflected, sending him flying. Seeing how troublesome the dragon was, Long Kai had no choice but to propose a temporary alliance to jointly kill the dragon. However, Yixuan must strike the dragon first. With a plan already in mind, Yixuan immediately agreed. Jumping with Sabai is just a punch. Longa Daddy's here. The dragon in the golden core stage strikes powerfully. The 5 Extremes disciples are forced to team up to resist. Yixuan takes the lead and shows his stance, but unexpectedly he is directly swallowed by the dragon. The other disciples watching all show expressions of surprise. Even Shui Yunqi, who had the most faith in Yixuan, is momentarily speechless. Yixuan, who was swallowed, found himself in the dragon's stomach. The full stench made both him and the cat feel nauseous. But unexpectedly, a flash of golden light appeared in the distance. As they got closer, they saw countless treasures and magical items. Among them, the shining stone was the soul stone he had longed for. He never expected it to come so easily. Yixuan quickly took out the Bagua mirror. He carefully embedded the soul stone into the mirror. Ding, the counterattack light mirror has been successfully refined. Attributes are fully enhanced. It can reflect any attack below the golden core stage. The reflection effect is 5 times stronger. It can be used once per day. Yixuan looked in new mirror, overjoyed. Although it can only be used once a day now, the reflection effect has greatly increased. Make sure that I can still fight against someone in the golden core stage. As for the remaining treasures, I naturally won't hesitate to take them all. The other saw Yixuan being swallowed, and rushed forward, preparing to kill the dragon python. Of course, this doesn't mean that they have good intentions to save Yixuan, but because they covet the heavenly materials and earthly treasures inside the dragon. The dragon python took the initiative to attack first. Countless attacks struck the dragon python's head. The final blow directly targeted its vital point. Seeing this, the giant python clamped down on the sword, preventing Long Ku from moving. Then everyone else also attacked the giant serpent. Shui Yunqi was still thinking about helping Yixuan escape. He leaped high, intending to cleave the giant serpent in two. But at that moment, a sudden change occurred. The sword, which had been lodged in the dragon python's mouth, it completely vanished without a trace. Long quickly retreated backward. Freed Long opened his mouth wide. His tongue tightly wrapped around Shinyi and his mount. In the next moment, the tremendous force of the bite sent Shinyi flying. Shui Yunqi and Meng Jianfei were also flung away by the dragon's tail. They crashed hard into a tree, spitting out blood. Taking advantage of the moment, Long Qi gathered all his strength and struck down fiercely. He actually split the dragon in two. Only then did Meng Jianfei realize that Long Qi had been hiding his strength all along. The aura he now emanated was clearly that of a golden core cultivator. Standing on the dragon, Long Qi was ecstatic. Now all the treasures would be his. But the next second, the dragon's corpse suddenly exploded. An incredibly fast figure suddenly appeared before him. Before he could react, a fierce slap struck his own face. Yixuan, sitting on the ground, wore a smile. He asked, "Are you surprised? Didn't expect it, did you?" Indeed, there was a royal bone inside the ancestor dragon. And it was the most important bone, the skull. In an instant, all the beasts in Yunmeng started to riot, only to seize that masterless object. Such a noisy presence instantly reached the sword Immortal sect. Nan Kamo stared at the distant Yunmengs, lost in thought. He then instructed Dongfeng Saifeng to send someone to investigate. If something goes wrong, we must first ensure Yixuan's safety. Behind him, Yuan and Qing gazed ahead with serious expressions. The life jade tablet of Xiao Mao in their hands had already shattered. This disciple of mine is exceptionally talented. How could he possibly lose to Yixuan? It's clear that Nankong used some means to kill my disciple. Tong Deijiang, standing to the side, couldn't resist adding fuel to the fire. He claimed that Nankong Mo killed his beloved disciple. Clearly he was suppressing the outer sect elders. Blinded by hatred and power, Yu Wenji immediately declared that he would join forces with the Wenjian sect to seize control of Nankong's position as sect leader. Inside the Amingzi, Yixuan jumped high and was about to take the skull. Long Kai, who's beside him, actually arrived first. He reached out, trying to snatch it before Yixuan. Fortunately, at the critical moment, Yixuan activated the ring in his hand. It directly absorbed the skull into his pouch. Seeing the cook duck about to fly away, Long Kai drew his sword and fiercely slashed. Yixuan immediately summoned the bronze seal to clash. After a violent collision, both fell to the ground. Yixuan immediately sensed something was wrong. He felt a dull ache in his internal organs. It seems this kid really has some skills. At this time, Shui Yunqi on the side shouted, "Watch out!" Meng Jianfei was actually trying to take advantage of Yixuan's distraction to launch a sneak attack. Yixuan, having dodged the hidden sword, shouted, "Meng Jianfei is a true lick-spittle. Longku is a man motivated only by profit. He even harms his fellow disciples. Xinyi's just now is the best example. It's better to join forces with me. After killing Longku, we'll split his treasures 70/30ths. Meng Jianfei said he wouldn't be provoked, but his sword slowed involuntarily. Shui Yunqi secretly admired him. Yixuan's defection strategy is brilliant. Even if Longku and Meng Jianfei fight side by side, they will still suspect each other. Their strength will decrease by at least 20 to 30%. Although I have no grievances with Yixuan, in the 5 Absolute Swordsmanship tournament, eliminating the strongest first is the way to victory. Therefore, when Yixuan invited Shui Yunqi to fight together, he readily agreed. Long sneered. "Just the two of you? Not even enough to sharpen my knife." Yixuan smiled upon hearing this. He took out a bone flute and began to play. A figure suddenly appeared at the foot of the mountain in the distance. It was Jane family Saoge arriving. Thus the strongest disciples from both sides of the 5 Absolute Swordsmanship competition were all present. Yixuan directly launched an attack on Long Kai. The huge bronze seal slammed down like a mountain. Although Long Qi easily blocked the strike, Xiu and Shui Yunqi's attacks followed closely. This forced Long Qi to continuously defend and retreat. Seeing how difficult the three were to deal with, Long Kai felt a bad premonition arise in his heart. He then threw a pill towards Meng Jianfei in the distance. This is the 3 clear return elixir. Once consumed, it can greatly improve one's cultivation in a short time. If Meng Jianfei helps him this time, all other matters can be disregarded. Meng Jianfei held the elixir and thought for a moment. He still swallowed it without hesitation. Yixuan watched as Meng Jianfei stood up in the distance. He realized that his plan to sway him was ultimately useless. Immediately had Xiao Gato and Shui Yunqi hold off Long Kai, while he went ahead to deal with Meng Jianfan. During their ensuing struggle, Yixuan ran into the jungle. The beast tide was about to arrive. He had to find a quiet place to deal with Meng Jianfei. Only by absorbing the royal bone along the way could he feel secure, and only by absorbing the power of the skull could he have a chance to fight Long Kai. At this thought, Yixuan stopped in his tracks. Meng Jianfei also stopped and mocked him. He suggested that this place was probably where Yixuan would meet his end. Yixuan sneered contemptuously. "I'm just concerned for you." Looking up to the end with nothing to gain. Upon hearing this, Meng Jianfei was struck at his weak spot. He raised his sword and jumped down from the high ground. Yixuan. The 5 Absolute's disciples never expected that the Jian family heir Little Bone was actually a woman. Just now, Yixuan led Meng Jianfei to a secluded place. Meng Jianfei at that moment intended to rely on his superior cultivation to crush Yixuan, but unexpectedly, he couldn't keep up with the other's speed. Instead, he was irritated by Yixuan's verbal attacks. In a moment of carelessness, Yixuan seized the opening. The bronze seal smashed heavily into his face. The following combo hit Meng Jianfei so hard that he was disoriented. He had no power to fight back and was taken as a contribution point by Yixuan. Yixuan then took out the skull and numerous spiritual treasures. Sitting down, he began refining them immediately. With the successful refinement of the ancestor dragon's skull, Yixuan successfully advanced to the early stage of key refining. The demonic beasts in Yuming Marsh stopped their rampage after losing the skull's aura. On the other battlefield, Shuyan got up severely injured. He could only watch as Little Bone, a Foundation Establishment mid-stage cultivator, stubbornly resisted the Golden Core stage Long Core. But Little Bone was surprisingly holding their own, truly a monstrous talent. However, after this clash, Little Bone's body finally couldn't hold on any longer. Long Qi was panting heavily. The bastard Meng Jianfei. How can he be so slow? Could he have run off with the ancient dragon bones all to himself? It looks like I'll have to use my trump card, quick and decisive. With a single hand gesture, Long Qi cast a spell. A razor-sharp flying sword appeared before him. Particles of fire element swirl around me in the wind. This sword is called Burning Heaven. It's a spiritual treasure bestowed upon me by the Alliance leader, Lin Wanli. To die by this sword is an honor you should be proud of. Having said that, Long Qi unleashed a Burning Heaven strike. Powerful sword energy, accompanied by the wind's roar, surged towards the two. Exagudu and Shui Yunqi were sent flying tens of meters away without the slightest resistance. Exagudu still struggled desperately to get up. Long slowly approached. After a careful examination, he discovered that Exagudu was a woman. However, he showed no mercy whatsoever. With a wave of his hand, he was about to kill the young woman. As a gust of wind blew past, Long felt something wrong with his sword. Yixuan, arriving just in time, saved Xiao Gudo. Long chuckled darkly. Yixuan, you actually didn't die. What about Meng Jianfei? Yixuan didn't hide anything. He directly said that Meng Jianfei had long since become a soul beneath his sword. Moreover, thanks to him, he had successfully absorbed the skull and entered the QI refining realm. Upon hearing this, Long was filled with uncontrollable rage. You've done everything for others. Then repay it with your life. Having said that, Long raised the burning heaven and struck down, but he completely missed Yixuan's erratic figure. Instead, Yixuan leaped high, raising the bronze seal and smashed it down. Long, let's see how you dodge this. Just how monstrous is Yixuan after absorbing 5 Emperor bones? Even a full-force strike from a primal spirit treasure can be easily blocked. Long Kai looked at Yixuan in disbelief. What is the level of your physical body? How can it be so powerful? Yixuan did not respond. He gripped the end of the burning sky sword. With one hand, the bronze seal directly slammed into Long Qi's face. The words quarantine pork clearly appeared. It caused the little bone and Shui Yunqi beside him to burst into loud laughter. They looked at Yixuan, who was full of pride. Long Qi was filled with deep humiliation. He immediately raised the burning sky sword in his hand. Countless sword lights materialized, surrounding him. Then he swung it forward. Yixuan showed no sign of nervousness in the face of such an attack. She simply took out a mirror from her chest. She softly muttered a word of recoil. In an instant, Long Qi's sword light was completely absorbed. Then it was reflected back with even greater ferocity. It directly pierced Long Ka, leaving him riddled with holes. The two onlookers couldn't help but burst into laughter. Luckily, they had chosen the right side. Otherwise, their fate would have been the same as Long Qi's. Yixuan gripped the bronze seal and was about to strike Long Qi. Unexpectedly, a powerful shockwave erupted from the opponent's body. The massive bronze seal slammed into a red energy sphere, unable to penetrate. Long Kai screamed frantically. Yixuan, you've forced me to use this treasure. Today I admit defeat. I'll crush the teleportation jade slip right now. The Sword Immortal sect will have to face the wrath of the Myriad Sword Alliance. The little bones on the side and Shu Yunqi could only watch this scene helplessly. Once Long Kai returns to the Myriad Sword Alliance, it will be hard to kill him. Releasing a tiger back to the mountain will surely bring future troubles. Yixuan's eyes were filled with mockery. Letting the tiger return to the mountain is impossible. System. Exchange something that can break through the shield for me. Yixuan was heard muttering to himself. Long Kai thought it was just a desperate move. But unexpectedly, the protective shield shattered the next second. The massive bronze seal slammed down. Meanwhile, atop the Jianshansek mountain, Yuan confidently declared that Long Kai would surely win the 5 Supreme Masters competition. Furthermore, if Yixuan were killed, Nankong Mo and the others would be thrown into disarray. He could then seize the opportunity. At that time, the One Sword Alliance will need to provide strong support. Tong Dejian had been smiling and saying good things just a second ago, but in the next moment, the dragon-shaped jade pendant in his hand shattered. Tong Deji knew that at this moment Long Kai had already perished. He glared fiercely at Nankong and the others behind him. This matter must be explained. To his surprise, Lin Wanli from the One Sword Alliance came personally to kill. He didn't know if it was because of the destroyed Long Kai's revival. At this moment, Yixuan was still haggling with Linger. After all, the shield had already cost 300 contribution points, but Linger was only willing to offer 100 contribution points for Long Qi's body. However, with the addition of Long Kai's treasures and the task completion reward, it was barely acceptable. Shui Yunqi and Gutu hurried over. They congratulated Yixuan. After all, with Long Qi's death, Yixuan had firmly secured the top spot in the 5 Supreme Sword debate. This time I really bet on the right person. Yixuan was still thinking of sharing Long Qi's treasure with the two of them. After all, killing Long Qi was no small feat for them either. But to his surprise, Shui Yunqi directly refused. He said the treasure rightfully belongs to Yixuan. He only had one small request. That is, the Sword Immortal sect, the Sword family, and the World Sword Manor should join forces to resist the 10,000 Sword Alliance. Upon hearing this, Yixuan was overjoyed. After the Wanjin Alliance absorbed Jiangji Pavilion, its power became immense. Having another ally would naturally be very beneficial to the Jiangshan sect, so they readily agreed. However, Exegutu's attitude surprised the two of them. He neither agreed nor disagreed. He simply said, take care of Xiaozi, and then left. Afterwards, at Shui Yunqi's invitation, Yixuan returned to the Jiangshan sect on a crane. On the way, Yixuan's mind was full of thoughts about the reward his older sister promised, but unexpectedly the eldest sister's voice calling someone a shameless person reached their ears. The young man was so frightened that he trembled. However, upon closer inspection he realized, on the Sword Immortal Sect's plaza, the eldest sister was competing in internal energy with Tong, Dejiang, and Yu Wen. Dongfang Saifeng was about to step forward to assist, but Huang Yurong grabbed her immediately. The eldest sister is a natural genius. It's not something a few old dogs can defeat. If you don't believe me, just wait and see. Sure enough, the next moment, the energy in the arena began to violently collide. The huge shockwave forced Tong Dajiang and the others back. Nankang Mo wielding a spirit sword looked heroic and imposing. The 3-foot-long green peak pointed directly at Tong Dajiang's throat, a vital point. All the disciples in the square were stunned and rooted to the spot. A mere woman has actually defeated 3 great Yuan Ying masters. The Nine Heavens' profound phoenix spiritual root is truly terrifying. Tong Daijing, whose vital point is being held, acts without fear. Nankang Mo, are you willing to go to any lengths to wage war against my myriad swords alliance? What is so good about that Yixuan boy? At this moment, Yixuan finally understood the situation. He hurriedly and gently leaped off the celestial crane. Put your arm around Sister Lo's shoulder. Sister, please don't be angry. Leave everything that comes next to me. Nankang Mo looked at the man in front of her, smiling gently. Strange warmth rose in her heart. She was about to say something, but Yixuan grabbed her little hand and pulled her forward. Yuanji, standing nearby, immediately began to cause trouble. It seems that the Sword Immortal sect is really in chaos. I can't stand it. This Yixuan and the others, such as Nankang Mo, have an unclear relationship. They have tarnished the reputation of our Sword Immortal sect. I hope the 10,000 Sword Alliance can uphold justice. Hearing this, Tong Dajiang pretended to show off his authority. He even asked Yixuan if he knew his crime. Yixuan let out a chuckle. We are all part of the 5 Absolutes Alliance. It's not like we're superiors and subordinates. Who do you think you are? What gives you the right to interfere with our Sword Immortal sect? To put it simply, it's none of your business. Upon hearing these words, several top experts were extremely outraged, but they were unable to act due to the presence of Nankang. Yixuan immediately spoke again in a righteous manner. If you want to unify the 5 extremes, let your leader come personally. Otherwise I'll treat him like Zex. Upon hearing this, several of the sisters couldn't help but laugh. Tong Dajiang was so furious he caught up old blood. However, no one expected it. At that moment, a cold wind suddenly swept across the Sword Immortal sect square. Lin Wally appeared before everyone. Ignorant child. Look who's here. The Sword Immortal sect faces its greatest crisis yet. Lin Wally of the Myriad Swords Alliance has arrived in person to kill. Tong Dajiang and the others immediately kneel and pay their respects. Yuan is a traitor. He actually invited Lin Wally to dispense justice. Lin Wally readily accepted. He declares himself the leader of the martial arts world. They unilaterally declared that Yixuan's heart technique is evil and sinister, and that he is unworthy of staying in the 5-Sword Alliance. Upon hearing this, the eldest sister's expression darkened. She countered by asking what would happen if the Sword Immortal sect refused to comply. Lin Wally smiled with hidden malice. He stated that if the Sword Immortal sect did not comply, not a single one would be spared. However, there are other options for Nankang. That is, the Sword Immortal sect can merge into the 10,000 Sword Alliance. Nankang becomes Dao partners with himself. In that case, the letter can be lenient and give Yixuan a way out. Before Nankang could respond, an 8 trigrams formation rose up in the center of the square. Angry shouts echoed in their ears. The 9 sisters appeared together in front of them. Lin Wally's face grew even darker. It seemed that the 9 fairies were willing to fight to the death to protect Yixuan. At this moment, a teleportation portal suddenly appeared behind Lin Wally. It turned out to be the Sword Extremity Sect Master coming to assist Lin Wally. At this time, Nankang also sensed something was wrong. Even with the protection of the mountain's great formation, facing 2 peak nascent soul elders, he would likely still be no match for them. Facing such a dire situation, Yixuan also started to panic. After all, he was just a low-level Kai refining cultivator. Even with the system's help, I can't defeat an opponent 3 levels higher. I can only ask Shui Yunqi for help. Shui Yunqi was about to say something, when countless swords in the sky formed a portal. Zhang Hao of the Heavenly Sword Manor here to assist. Lin Wally gritted his teeth. Zhang Hao, are you sure you want to fight us? For the fairy I admire. Of course I'd be delighted. Lin Wally was about to take action, when suddenly, a powerful force shot down from the sky, landing directly in the center of the plaza. As the surrounding dust cleared, a huge sword stood upright. 7 large characters were inscribed on the sword's blade. Yixuan, friend of Little Bone? The crowd in the plaza was astonished. I didn't expect even the elders of the Jan family to come and support Yixuan. Looks like life and death are uncertain now? Yak smiled faintly. Both sides have arrived with their full strength. If that's the case, Lin Wally, if you want to fight, then let's fight. Seeing this, Jane Woi was deeply worried. The leaders of the 3 major sects joined forces. Even if he joined forces with Lin Wally, there would be no chance of winning. Before he came, Blood Demon Ancestor had told him that the matter was already settled. The turmoil in the Sword Immortal sect would happen tonight. After hearing the secret message, Lin Wally looked into the distance. Very well, today will be the day the Sword Immortal sect is destroyed. Just as the battle of the 5 absolutes was about to erupt, a tall tower appears in the distant sky. This precarious state is clearly alarming. Nankang Mo's face instantly changed. That's the Janxian sect's prison tower. It was personally built by the Jianshan ancestor. Inside are many powerful monsters at the Yuanying stage. If the 5 great masters fight now, and the prison tower is damaged, then there's no need for Lin Wanli to take action. The Sword Immortal sect will also be bathed in blood. Seeing the situation was so dire, Nankang Mo didn't waste any words. His 3-foot sword pointed straight at Lin Wanli and the others, declaring that the Sword Immortal sect had made up its mind to withdraw from the 5 absolutes. If you want to fight, my entire sect will accompany you to the end. Seeing the beauty in front of him so forceful, Lin Wanli also gave a dry laugh and said that the Jiyu Tower was a major matter. He understood the concerns of the people. He suggested that Nankang should handle the internal affairs first. After saying that, he turned and left with Jian Wei and the others. Upon seeing Lin Wanli had already left, Chang Hao also cupped his fists and excused himself. Yixuan suddenly remembered what his third sister had said. Zona seems to have improper intentions toward the eldest sister. He immediately pulls the eldest sister over, claiming his territory. Unexpectedly, Zhongha smiles warmly at the sight. He explains that due to his cultivation method, his affection for Nankang Mo is merely a focus for cultivating his swordsmanship. On the contrary, if he really won the goddess's affection, he would actually be unable to progress. Yixuan heard this and wasn't sure whether it was true. I had no choice but to wave goodbye and let Chang Hao leave. As he was leaving, Chang Hao couldn't resist delivering one last blow. He mentioned that countless strong figures in the immortal realm are after Tai Hang Nangong. If you really want to possess it, you will have to become stronger. Upon hearing this, Yixuan was speechless. You old number 6, you were trying to damage my Dao heart, aren't you? Seeing everyone leave, Nankang Mo began to clean up the sect's trash. Yuan Jie directly abolished the position of elder and expelled them from the sect. They would never be allowed to enter the Sword Immortal sect again. Upon hearing this, Yuan Jie immediately panicked. He drew his sword and ordered the outer sect to help him suppress Nankang Mo. However, the other outer sect elders just laughed it off. One by one they acted oblivious. But Nankang Mo had no intention of letting any of them off the hook. The fire phoenix shall scorch the plains, and all the outer sect elders with their disciples should get lost. Seeing that the situation in the square had calmed down, Dongfang Saifeng stepped forward to speak about the matters concerning the prison tower. After all, as soon as Lin Wanli arrived, the prison tower began to collapse. It would be hard to deny the connection between the two, and around the prison tower, countless chains started to snap. Huang Yurong's repairs were clearly too late. The chains in her hands instantly shattered. Fortunately, Nankang Mo arrived just in time. She grabbed the iron chain and began to reattach it. Huang Yurong, seeing her elder sister arrive, let out a deep sigh. She explained that she had tried to repair the tower body earlier, but with no effect. It seems the problem lies within the tower. It's impossible to restore it from the outside. Hearing this, the sisters began to discuss amongst themselves. They could go in themselves, but with enemies surrounding them, if someone caused trouble, lacking manpower to suppress it would create an even bigger problem. And if they didn't send anyone in, the trouble would likely be even greater. Everyone else was also feeling a headache. Only Xuan pointed to himself and weakly asked, "Sisters, how about I go in and take a look?" To help the sisters solve their problems, Yixuan, the old pervert, was also willing to do anything. He actually decided to go to the boundary prison tower alone. His sisters all voiced their objections. The 8th sister even hugged Yixuan to prevent him from going to his death. After all, the 10-year agreement concerns their lives. However, the usually calm eldest sister expressed support for Yixuan. Although the boundary prison tower is fraught with danger, it's also an excellent place for cultivation. Yixuan has made countless enemies outside. If a fight breaks out outside, I'm afraid I'll be the first to suffer. If we go to the boundary prison tower, we won't have to worry. Then the eldest sister took out another cultivation technique and gave it to Yixuan. She said Yixuan's spiritual root is extremely strong and yang. He should diligently cultivate this technique. It will be very useful to the sisters later. Hearing this, Yixuan couldn't help but recall certain scenes in his mind. Because the cat sister wasn't very pretty, I skipped over it directly. At this time, Yixuan excitedly made an gesture. I understand what Big Sister said. This cauldron is destined for me. I'll go in the tower now. After bidding farewell to the sisters, Yixuan confidently strode into the tower. However, he fell into an endless abyss as soon as he pushed open the tower door. Yixuan looked at the ever-changing objects around him. He suddenly understood that this was the Sumru Cave Heaven. This grand creation was truly worthy of being the immortal treasure personally constructed by the ancestor of the Sword Immortal sect. At this moment, Linger suddenly shot out from his body. She mentioned that there was an aura deep within the prison tower similar to the system's. She advised Yixuan to get as close as possible to the deepest part if he could. Just as the two were still talking, Yixuan also landed at the bottom. However, there seemed to be something off about the feeling underfoot. It felt as if he had stepped on something round. Upon closer inspection, he discovered countless pairs of blood-red eyes glaring at him. Yixuan jumped up and summoned the bronze seal. Linger explained the creatures below were blood barbarian flying zombies. They were once cultivators. Their souls were devoured by the demons of the tower sect, transforming them into zombies. They have no special abilities, but their bodies are incredibly strong. That's equivalent to the peak of human Kai refinement. Hearing this, Ixuan's head grew a size larger. Their cultivation is so much higher than mine, and there are so many of them. There's not even a place to set foot. What do I do? In his hasty escape, Ixuan found himself at a dead end. Countless flying corpses followed closely, pouncing on him. With no choice, Ixuan had to summon the spirit light mirror. Using the repel demons technique, he killed the swarm of corpses. Although the spirit mirror was used up at the beginning, it still brought Ixuan over 2,000 contribution points. After the smoke and dust cleared, there was actually a dwarf lying on the ground with a conical hat. Ixuan thought it was just a stray enemy. He was about to use the bronze seal to crush him, but unexpectedly the man suddenly opened his blood-red eyes. He let out a strange scream and pounced fiercely at Ixuan. I never expected that the short, thin old man was actually a junior disciple of the sword Immortal. At this moment he was charging toward Ixuan with a fierce speed. Before he could react, he quickly came to a stop. A strange maniacal laugh escaped his mouth. I never expected that after a century of solitude, a living person would finally enter the realm prison tower. Immediately after, a flying sword streaked past Ixuan's head. In the blink of an eye, the old man floated up onto the flying sword. His bloodshot eyes stared fiercely at Ixuan. Boy, what's your name? Quickly reveal your identity. Ixuan broke out a cold sweat. From the old man's skill, he was at least as strong as sister, if not stronger. I might be imprisoned for another 100 years. I wonder if the name of the Sword Immortal sect is enough to deter him. Then Ixuan revealed his sect and name. The old man retreated repeatedly upon hearing this. His entire aura became extremely agitated. You are indeed that person's disciple or descendant. I will kill you. I'll tear you limb from limb and eat your flesh. Before he finished speaking, the old man thrust his sword straight at him. Ixuan's mind went blank. Kill just like that? That was too sudden. Quickly think of his weakness. Then Ixuan had a sudden idea. The peculiar shape and aroma truly captivated the old man. He stared intently at the pig's trotters. He even boasted of having tasted dragon tendons and phoenix marrow. It smells better than anything drifting for miles. Ixuan was sweating profusely. He thought to himself that it was lucky he had bet right. This old man was indeed a foodie. His cooking skills, brought from another world, were a unique treasure in the cultivation realm. At this moment, Ixuan raised the pig's hoof high. He kept teasing the old man, and proposed to exchange 10 questions for the pig's hoof. The old man agreed without hesitation. However, the first question made him hesitate. Ixuan unexpectedly asked about the old man's grievances with the sword Immortal ancestor. The old man didn't want to answer this, but Ixuan completely disregarded the rules. He opened his mouth as if to put a pig's hoof in. With no other choice, the old man reluctantly said that his name was Jian Su. He was once a junior of the sword Immortal ancestor. Speaking of this boundary prison tower, he and the ancestor built it together. He even captured most of the demons and monsters himself. But just because their cultivation philosophies differed, the ancestor sword Immortal actually imprisoned him in the boundary prison tower as well. He suffered endless ridicule in the tower all these years, hearing such explosive gossip. Ixuan immediately threw the pig's trotter from his hand and asked his second question. What is causing the unusual situation inside the Hell Tower? The old swordsman said that recently someone has been causing trouble in the chain gang layer. However, Ixuan's cultivation is too low. He can't even enter the top 10 layers of the Disha level. It wouldn't be of any use to tell him. Ixuan thought for a moment upon hearing this. In the end, he still wanted the old swordsman to give him the information from the tower. But the old man said there was no benefit in doing so. I've already had my share of pig's trotters. Ixuan will have to figure out the rest himself. I'm already giving him a lot of face by not killing him. Ixuan let out a long sigh. He took out a green bottle from his bosom. Looks like I have to use my trump card. There are countless fine wines in the immortal realm, but nothing beats a good bottle of Meeping San Godo. Just as Ixuan twisted the bottle cap open, a mysterious fragrance of wine wafted in the sword elder's nose. The old man could no longer hold back. He jumped up and snatched the wine bottle away. After leaving behind the secret chronicles of the Boundary Prison Tower, he vanished without a trace. After absorbing the secret chronicles, Ixuan finally understood the origins of the matter. It turned out that the Boundary Prison Tower itself was a powerful immortal treasure. It was divided into the 72 Earthfiend levels and 36 Celestial Gang levels. Every level is guarded by a powerful demon along the essential paths. Moreover, there is a repair mechanism every 9 levels. Originally, the maintenance mechanism was supposed to be activated every 10 years. However, 10 years ago, the sect leader and all the core disciples perished in battle, and my sisters, having just married into the sect, were completely unaware of this. No wonder the people inside the tower took the opportunity to launch an offensive. But there's nothing I can do about it for now. I can only charge ahead through the first 9 levels and see if I can activate the first mechanism. Ixuan continued forward. 2 dark figures closely followed behind him. However, given the vast difference in their strengths, Ixuan didn't notice anything unusual. Meanwhile, in the Great Hall of the 10,000 Sword Alliance, an old man was bowing and kneeling before Lin Wanli. It was Yu Wenji, who had been expelled from the Sword Immortal sect. He had come this time seeking to attach himself to Lin Wanli. There is still hope to return to the Sword Immortal sect and seize the position of sect leader in the future. Lin Wanli spread his hand. You're quite a clever person. Then let the alliance leader see your sincerity. After saying that, Lin Wanli snapped his fingers. The curtain behind him slowly pulled open. A shocking sight appeared before their eyes. A blood-red orb floated in midair. Countless dying men lie on the ground. And in the center of the blood pool, a body is emitting an incredibly powerful aura. Yuanji immediately understood upon seeing this. This is a blood demon formation, using the living as bait and blood as a sacrifice. It seems Lin Wanli and the blood demon ancestor have been colluding for a long time. I'm afraid the unrest in the Jiyu Tower is also related to them. Lin Wanli watched Yuanji's face change drastically and smiled darkly. Elder Yuan, this formation is closely linked to the Boundary Prison Tower. It requires more living sacrifices. Are you willing to alleviate my worries, Alliance Leader? Upon hearing this, Yuanji immediately understood Lin Wanli's meaning. He wanted to cling to this powerful figure. He must first cut off his own arm. Then he looked at the many disciples who had come with him. Disciples, I have not treated you poorly in usual times. Now it is time for you to make some contributions to me. Before the disciples could respond, Yuanji suddenly unleashed his internal strength. He sent all the disciples present into the great formation. The formation, now fed with fresh nourishment, became even brighter with a vivid red hue. And at the center of the blood sphere, the blood demon ancestor, his already strong life force grew even stronger. Yuanji's eyes were bloodshot. Jiangxian sect. Nangkong Mo. Iki. I will grind you all into dust one day. Meanwhile, inside the Boundary Prison Tower, Yixuan was locked in a fierce battle with a green jellyfish. The poison toxicity is so extreme it even corrodes the land. Sabai suddenly spoke up, saying the jellyfish's demon pill is extremely delicious. He said he'd reserved it for himself after killing it. Yixuan instinctively blurted out a curse. Then he immediately realized that Sabai could actually talk. But Sabai said that he wasn't just eating and drinking for himself. What's so strange about evolving a little? And if Yixuan becomes my follower, the benefits will be enormous. After saying this, Xiaobai affectionately rubbed against Yixuan's cheek. A surge of magical power flooded the boy's mind. Instantly, all the information about the mutated jellyfish appeared before Yixuan. Seeing that the jellyfish feared gold-type attacks, Yixuan immediately took out the bronze seal and stepped forward. With a simple strike, he directly gained 50 contribution points. When Xiaobai saw the jellyfish die, it happily ran over to start devouring it. However, just then, a voice calling him a despicable thief suddenly reached his ears, followed by a fire element attack. Yixuan hurriedly took out his seal to block it, but he was still knocked back several meters. The entire arm was trembling uncontrollably. With the flash of fire, a man resembling Neza appeared before him. I'm Xing Ming, the inspector. I come here by order of the Demon King to take you. I didn't expect the organization inside the Tower of Hell to be so tightly structured. Yixuan has only killed the guardian beasts on the second level. This led to the so-called Tower Inspector's appearance. Without a word, they tried to capture Yixuan and bring him in. Fortunately, the door to the lower levels happened to open at that moment. Seeing this, Yixuan didn't hesitate and rushed in. However, right at the entrance to the third level, a massive three-eyed black tiger lay in ambush. Upon seeing Yixuan enter, it launched a fierce attack. In a critical moment, Yixuan leaped and narrowly avoided it. The black tiger couldn't stop its advance and directly knocked Xing Ming over. Caught off guard by the sudden attack, Xing Ming instinctively pushed the black tiger away. Using the heavenly eightfold silk, he restrained it. Then with a swing of his spear, he split the black tiger in two. However, upon seeing the tiger's head on the ground, Xing Ming quickly realized this was clearly his own little demon. The human had completely vanished without a trace. From behind, Yixuan didn't forget to add insult to injury. The Inspector General helps himself to swiftly eliminate the enemy. You really do make a great demon. Upon hearing this, Xing Ming was immediately moved to tears. This is a major work-related mistake. Not only will they dock my pay, but my bonus for this year will be completely forfeited. Looks like the only solution is to kill Yixuan and redeem myself. Facing the Inspector General's fierce assault, Yixuan could only helplessly dodge. But in the end, he made a critical mistake. The Hunchenling shot straight towards his face. At the crucial moment, countless pink lights flashed from the side. They managed to neutralize the attack of the Hunchenling. The inspector beside him was extremely astonished. He didn't know what kind of demonic magic had been used. His magic treasure had disappeared without a trace. Self-cultivation for a day. Tomorrow I'll come and take Yixuan's life. Seeing that the star's fate had already withdrawn, Yixuan clasped his hands and looked into the distance. Thank you for the secret help, strong earth. Can you come out to meet me? But after waiting for a long time, there was no response. Only a flash of pink light appeared in the distance. It disappeared instantly. Xiaobai, seeing this was settled, immediately lunged at Hiu's body, intending to devour the demon pill. However, Yixuan grabbed him by the head, demanding that Xiaobai reveal the star spirit's weakness. Then, seizing the moment before the next level's entrance opened, Yixuan diligently cultivated. The next morning, Xingming arrived as promised. He swung a sharp axe towards Yixuan, while Yixuan pulled out the real Xiaobai. Strange liquid shot out. It was so painful that Xingming couldn't even open his eyes. It turned out that just yesterday, Xiaobai had told Yixuan that his urine was a strong acid to the demon race. That's why I did this today. Then Yixuan abandoned Xiaobai and took out a brick, planning to strike while the iron is hot. But he didn't expect to be instantly bound by the Hun Xinling like a rice dumpling. Yixuan suffered a heavy blow to the chest. He fell to his knees in a pool of blood. Sister 8 appeared beside him in an instant. Yixuan, you dat? Yixuan, that old pervert, is starting to take advantage of Big Sister again. It's unclear which expert is helping him. Yixuan decided to purposely show a weakness to the patrolling messenger. He pretended to be injured and unable to fight back. Big Sister watched anxiously from the side. In a panic, she rushed out to check on Yixuan's injuries. To her surprise, Yixuan was perfectly fine. His chest only had a hard, stiff mirror, but the inspector bled profusely. He howled in pain. Sister 8 immediately realized she'd been tricked. She raised her tiny fists to strike Yixuan's chest, but Yixuan caught her in his arms. After some sweet talk, Sister 8 revealed the truth. It turned out that Big Sister was worried Yixuan might encounter danger in the tower, so she secretly sent Sister 7 and Sister 8 to help him. Seeing 7's sister appear, the two were just so sweet, now separate like elementary school kids. 7's sister, Duamu Fu, is the most mysterious assassin of the Sword Immortal sect. The cat felt its soul freeze just from her gaze. Its whole body, including the soul, became rigid and cold. Then 8th sister asked about the situation inside the tower. 7th sister's face darkened. She said that there was a demonic blood formation operating beneath the boundary prison tower. It has eroded the original protective array of the Hell Tower. If no one enters the mechanism layer to reinforce it, I'm afraid it won't hold for much longer. Yixuan was greatly shocked upon hearing this. The Blood Demon Array is a formation created by the Blood Demon ancestor. It seems this matter is definitely connected to that old thief. But I believe that as long as the three of us join forces, we'll make sure to beat him until he begs for mercy. Who would have thought that 7th sister and 8th sister would unanimously oppose, saying that Yixuan's speed is too slow? They decided to go ahead on their own. 7th sister is in charge of the 36th floor of the Qian Gang, while 8th sister and Yixuan are responsible for the 72nd floor of the Dixia. After giving Yixuan a transmission jade slip, Yixuan and the other two parted ways. The old swordman hiding on the side murmured as he watched this scene. I was thinking, how dare this kid venture into the tower alone? Turns out, there are 2 immortal cultivators in the Yuan Ying stage following him. But none of this concerns me. I'll just wait for this kid to die. Then I can loot those rare and exquisite treasures. At this moment, the news of Xingming's death was sent back to the Earth Fiend Hall. The Demon Emperor of the Earth Fiend lair picked his wolf-tooth club. I'll see for myself. Just who is this audacious person to dare trespass into my boundary prison tower and kill my patrol boy? I never expected the hulking Earth Fiend Emperor to have such a beautiful demon daughter. Seeing the Emperor about to depart for battle, Yukinkian quickly approached her father, coquettishly stating that she would finally return to cultivate within the tower. Finally, an outsider has arrived. Let me go out and kill him to relieve my boredom. The Demon Emperor showed a look of difficulty. You know, the inspector died at Yixuan's hands. If anything happens to my precious child, it will be a big problem. Seeing her father hesitate to agree, the girl turned around and acted angry, saying that if her father ignored her, she just ignored him. The Demon Emperor had no choice but to agree reluctantly. Let Yukinkian go and have fun, then. Hearing this, the girl happily jumped up. She immediately transformed into a streak of light and flew out of the house. The Demon Emperor's face darkened. He called out to a spirit to protect her from the shadows. After all, she was his own daughter. It's impossible to say I'm not worried. After separating from his sisters, Yixuan summoned Linger to collect the bounty. He not only earned 3,000 contribution points, but his God-level choice system also upgraded to level 3. Yixuan immediately asked Linger if there were any treasures after the upgrade. After all, the boundary prison tower is extremely dangerous. More trump cards mean more chances of survival. Linger immediately began to chat casually. Although the items in the system shop are good, she still suggested that Yixuan first spend a little contribution to appraise the bronze Great Seal. This thing clearly looks like a treasure. It would be a waste to use it as a brick. Moreover, it only requires 1,000 contribution points to appraise. Yixuan thought that Linger made a good point. He didn't have anything valuable on hand. Let's appraise this only treasure I have. If it helps me break through this level, it'll be a huge gain. Thinking this, Yixuan could only agree. After receiving the contribution, Linger didn't waste words. She immediately began the appraisal. But as energy flowed in, Linger suddenly noticed something amiss. Immediately her figure grew slightly larger. Endless spiritual power began to surge into the bronze seal. Yixuan became nervous upon seeing this. Sister, you don't have to work so hard to make money. It's not worth risking your life for it. Linger gasped for breath. Do you think I want this? I only discovered after probing that there is an ancient restriction from 9 Immortals Mountains Guang Chengzi on it. If I stop halfway I will be backlashed. As the energy round dissipates, the identification of the bronze seal is finally complete. At this moment, the name of the bronze seal has become the Fanchen seal. It is 1/10 of the fragment of an ancient artifact. This artifact was originally the entire Mount Buzo, refined into a seal by Guang Chengzi. Afterwards, Guang Chengzi gave this seal to his disciple Yin Zhao, ordering him to descend the mountain and destroy the Shang dynasty. However, unexpectedly Yin Zhao assisted in tyranny. The Fanchen seal was used to harm the common people. In the end, Guang Chengzi descended the mountain to meet it. But he was struck by his disciple with this seal and his soul was scattered. This object then shattered. Its broken pieces were lost throughout the 3 realms. If the fragments are gathered, more divine powers can be unlocked. Upon hearing this, Yixuan laughed heartily. This thing is actually an ancient divine artifact. If it ever gets fully gathered, wouldn't the cultivation world be able to dominate? In order to afford the cultivation method for the heaven-covering seal, Yixuan had to break through several levels of the Earth Fiend Tower. His contribution points reached as high as 7,000. He originally thought a cultivation method couldn't be that expensive, but the price given by the system left him dumbfounded. With no other choice, Yixuan actually gave Linger a tree thump. He thought that with his good looks, it shouldn't be a big deal to ask for credit. Linger immediately swung back with a slap. Get lost? If you want to buy it. Do you think I'm someone who's short on money? Seeing that his handsome tactic failed, Yixuan thought of a new plan and switched to a different approach. He wants to obtain the martial arts techniques through an advanced payment method. After thinking for a while, Linger said it's not impossible. However, the first 100 chapters of the Fanchen Heart Sutra require 10 million contribution points. That means one chapter costs 100,000 contribution points. But given your rate of progression, you should be able to repay the 100,000 contribution points. I'll go ahead and put the first chapter on credit for you. Taking the first chapter of the Heart Sutra, Yixuan immediately began to comprehend it. The laws of heaven and earth surged into Yixuan's body as if they were physical entities. A golden illusory dragon shot straight toward the heaven-defying seal. Looking at the seal in his hand as it transformed from bronze to pure gold, Yixuan wore a proud expression. The heaven-defying seal was taking shape. It was enough to make the monsters and demons in this realm's prison tower drink a whole pot. But after entering the 7th floor, Yixuan discovered that it was completely empty, with not a single monster in sight. Only a beautiful song echoed within the tower. However, after hearing the song, the person became drowsy and fell into a dazed state. Behind a tree not far away, a female demon cautiously peeked out her head. After observing for a while, she flew over to Yixuan's side. She kept poking Yixuan's chest with her finger. After confirming that the human in front of her was indeed unresponsive, the succubus excitedly turned around and called out to her sisters to come. Soon a group of succubi gathered around Yixuan. They wanted to turn his soul into a delicious treat to devour. However, at that moment, one succubus noticed that Yixuan's eyes were shedding tears. You see, if a human is unhappy, their soul becomes bitter. If that happens, it won't taste good. They had to find a way to make the boy happy. The leader of the female demons had no choice but to ask Yixuan what he liked in this life. Yixuan stood frozen for a moment. He actually took out a stack of photos from his chest. He said he most liked watching beautiful women dance in outfits like these. After discussing it, the female demons could only change into the clothes from the pictures. They all began performing a fiery, passionate dance. Seeing the scene, Yixuan instantly gave a thumbs up. Blood began pouring from his nose as if it were free. At that moment, a female demon saw that Yixuan was actually awake. She immediately shouted loudly, "Sis, stop jumping. We've been tricked." Unexpectedly, that Yixuan is so despicable. To repay his debts, he actually tied up all the female demons. He even had the audacity to claim he was capturing them to work for Linger. Seeing this, Linger unceremoniously accepted them, and generously credited Yixuan with 90,000 contribution points. At that moment, Xiaobai suddenly darted out from behind. Its nose was constantly twitching in the air. It seemed to have caught the scent of the ancestral dragon's royal bone, and it was just one floor below. Hearing this, Yixuan immediately set off. Having experienced the immense power the royal bone grants to the body, it was impossible for him not to be moved. In a hurry, Yixuan entered the 8th level and found himself in an endless desert. A red figure shot straight toward him from not far away. Before Yixuan could clearly see what it was, it sped past him, filling his mouth with yellow sand. Taobai roared loud. "Hurry, catch up with him. The ancient dragon emperor's bone is inside that golden winged Daping's body." Yixuan drew the burning heaven sword and took to the air. It tightly bit onto the back of the Great Peng. The golden winged Great Peng saw that it couldn't shake off the flying sword. It raised its hand and launched a fireball attack. However, after the intense explosion, Yixuan had completely disappeared without a trace. Just as the birdman was still confused, Yixuan holding the upgraded Fanchain Jie struck from behind. With a brick to the head, the birdman was sent straight to the afterlife. Yixuan looked at the fallen demon core and the dragon emperor bone, overjoyed. This heavenly brick is indeed useful, but it consumes spiritual energy too quickly. I fear I won't be able to use it much longer before I run out of spiritual energy. Just as Yixuan was about to store the dragon emperor bone and prepare to refine it, an attack suddenly descended from the distant sky. Fortunately, his arm had been refined with the dragon emperor bone. It was able to block the attack in an instant. Then a golden-haired demon girl appeared in front of Yixuan. She was staring at him without blinking. Your cultivation as a human is so poor, but your physical strength is similar to that of my demon race. I guess you're good enough to fight with me. Yixuan flicked away the suppressed golden wheel, feeling extremely frustrated. Is this ever going to end? This is the crucial moment for refining the imperial bone. Why did a pursuer show up? And it's a peak golden core cultivator. Looks like they're no ordinary person. Linga suddenly sways and appears beside me. A divine level choice is triggered. Facing an unprecedented strong enemy, your choice is to counter and beg for mercy. The system will immediately teleport you out of the tower, or repel the demon princess. Reward 1 piece of any intelligence. Yixuan looked at the demon girl in front of him. His brain began to work rapidly. When she spoke earlier, the demon girl kept mentioning human race and demon race. It seems she places great importance on bloodline. Then the 36 stratagem Sempti Fort strategy will surely have a miraculous effect. Thinking of this, Yuan slowly sat down. Miss, may I ask your name? Unexpectedly, the Yazoo princess is such a naive sweet girl. Clearly, Yixuan had no spiritual power left, like a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. But Yu Qingqian actually started talking about the spirit of chivalry at this moment, allowing Yixuan to return to his peak state and fight her. Yixuan suppressed his joy and turned his head to the side. There's such a good thing. This guy must have never experienced the harsh realities of the world. He was probably born within the boundary prison tower. He's innocent and doesn't know how cruel people can be. Just as Yixuan was full of wicked ideas, an attack came from the side. Mei Ling, secretly protecting the princess, finally couldn't hold back and made her move. Missing her attack, she stood to one side with her sword. Yixuan silently complained in his heart. Why is there suddenly a beautiful woman, and she's at the Golden Core stage? At this moment, Mei Ling held her sword with both hands and greeted the princess. She stated that she was here to assist under the Demon Emperor's command. Yu Qingqian was used to it. Her father just doesn't trust her. Forget it, let him be. Mei Ling raised her sword and shouted loudly, despicable human race. Let me execute. As soon as the words were spoken, Yu Qingqian's expression turned extremely ugly. It was as if she were about to burst into flames. Yixuan saw all of this. He slowly stood up and asked Mei Ling why she harbored such deep hatred for humans. Was she abandoned after being led on by someone? Upon hearing this, Mei Ling blurted out, saying that it was absolutely impossible. How could a lowly human be compared to our demon clan? Yu Qingqian behind me, after hearing Mei Ling's words, became even more gloomy. But it was clear she was desperately restraining herself. Yixuan saw this. The little girl opposite, upon hearing Mei Ling slander the human race, instantly changed her expression. Plus, she places great importance on bloodline. Could she be a human-demon hybrid? If so, then things will be easier. Today I must make him understand what society is. Very simple. The complexity lies in people. Then Yek started asking Mei Ling provocatively, where exactly is the lowliness of the human race? Mei Ling, as expected, wasn't thinking clearly. She blurted out, angrily insulting the human race's weak cultivation. Their corrupt morals. They're all a bunch of XXX types. No one in any aspect can be on equal footing with my demon race. After Mei Ling finished speaking these words, the entire desert suddenly fell silent. Only the distant wind and sand continued to roll. Yu Qingqian's face darkened, as if it were the sky before a storm. It sent a chill down one's spine. Mei Ling shuddered and turned, kneeling down. Princess, I was not referring to you. Why am I stupid? I even forgot that the princess's mother is also human. Didn't my words just now insult the princess as well? It's all because of this human stirring up trouble. I'm going to kill him right now. However, just as Mei Ling's sword swung towards him, Yixuan remained calm with his arms crossed in front of his chest. Because he knew that in the next second, someone will help him block this fatal strike. Yu Qingqian coldly stared at Mei Ling. Whether human or demon, what does it matter? As long as the power is strong enough, even if mixed-blooded human and demon, I can still roam between heaven and earth. His life today, I will take it. Yixuan truly deserves the title of King of Trash Talk. With just a few words, the demon princess helped him block the blade. However, Yu Qingqian soon had Yixuan give her a reason, so she wouldn't kill him. Hearing this, Yixuan immediately used reverse psychology. He said that he had just fought a battle and was low on spiritual energy. If the noble demon princess were to take advantage of his weakness, there was nothing he could do about it. Yu Qingqian's face turned ashen, her killing intent surged. Very well, I've never seen such an arrogant Kai-refining stage cultivator. I'll give you a chance to adjust. If you can't defeat me within 3 moves, I'll let you go. While Yixuan began meditating to recover, Yu Qingqian summoned a full set of tables and chairs. She leisurely began to sip her tea. Mei Ling still wanted to speak to persuade. Yu Qingqian, however, expressed that her mind was already made up. If there's nothing more to say, she suggested he should just go back to the emperor. At that moment, Yixuan suddenly spoke up. He mentioned that all his spirit stones for cultivation had been used up. He asked if Princess could take him all the way to the west and provide him with some spirit stones. Yu Qingqian was speechless beyond measure. She had never encountered such a shameless person. I've been generous and gave him plenty of time to recover, and he still expects me to give him spirit stones. The enchanting spirit beside him couldn't hold back any longer. She drew her sword, ready to challenge Yixuan. Yixuan turned his face to the side. Teach, I should have known that the demon race is full of devious characters. They even said they would fight again at their peak. How can I recover to my peak without spirit stones? Yu Qingqian is naive and inexperienced in the world. How could she withstand Yixuan's provocation? She casually took out a pouch of 100,000 spirit stones and gave it to Yixuan. However, this Yixuan was still not satisfied. He kept saying that a dignified Yazoo princess only had 100,000 spirit stones. Meng Jie said, it seems the Yazoo is nothing special. Yu Qingqian was about to go crazy. Shameless human, you're pushing your luck, but killing him now wouldn't be a fair fight. I must make him die convinced. Yu Qingqian took out another bag of 500,000 spirit stones. Yixuan looked at the mountain of spirit stones before him, almost unable to stop smiling. Once I've recovered to my peak, I will definitely have a passionate battle of hundreds of rounds with the lady. Sister Fu said that at the entrance of the 36 Sky Pillar Lair, only a Pikuanying demon dragon is patrolling the area. Fortunately, 7th Sister's invisibility technique is quite impressive. She quietly slipped in without a sound. Then she hurriedly set off towards the front. Meanwhile, on the 45th Earth Fiend Lair, 8th Sister is facing off against a skeleton king in a fierce battle. Both of them had the same thought in their minds. Quickly repair the mechanism to save Jiangxin sect from the fire and water. After absorbing the Emperor's bone and a mountain of spirit stones, Yixuan, his physical body has actually reached the Yuanying stage, and his Danshin feels full. It seems a breakthrough in Kai refinement is imminent. Yu Qingqian looked at Yixuan, who stood up, full of fighting spirit. Mei Ling on the side wanted the princess to be careful, but Yu Qingqian didn't care at all. Golden Core cultivators versus Kai refinement cultivators, what is there to fear? Just as Yu Qingqian was about to attack, Yixuan started playing games again. He said that since it was a crushing victory, he wanted to propose a few conditions. If he could withstand 3 attacks without dying, then the Yao Huang's subordinates could never harass them again. And after receiving the next strike, if I take another blow without dying, the Demon Emperor will allow me to venture another layer. Also, I survive 3 strikes. I have the right to stop at any time. Upon hearing this, Yu Qingqian didn't hesitate. The moonlight wheel flew from her hand. Settled then. Little thief, die. I didn't expect Yu Qingqian to be so troublesome. The moment the moonlight wheel flew out, it split into 9 pieces. They rushed toward Yixuan from all angles. Yixuan dodged repeatedly, but it was of no use. A spinning wheel struck him hard from behind. He instantly collapsed onto the ground. The Dimas bows with both hands. She expresses the princess's might. I was indeed overthinking earlier. I hope the princess won't take offense. Just as the two were talking, Yixuan, with blood at the corner of his mouth, actually crawled up from the sand. The demon princess really is something. If it weren't for my physical body having cultivated to the Yuan Ying realm, I really would have died. Yu Qingqian saw Yixuan get up, and without hesitation continued to throw the flying wheel. But Yixuan directly seized the opening. With a bend at the waist, he dodged the flying wheel, and immediately accelerated, tightly embracing Yu Qingqian's waist. The little girl, who had never been in contact with the opposite sex, blushed. Bastard, what are you doing? Let go of me. Yixuan, you only said 3 moves to take my life, but you never said I couldn't fight back. Hearing this, Yu Qingqian became furious with shame. She immediately raised her jade palm. A palm strike filled with boundless power followed, sending Yixuan flying deep into the earth. Looking at the fallen opponent who couldn't get up, Yu Qingqian and Mei Ling both thought the matter was over. The two of them turned and were about to leave. However, at this moment, a voice reached their ears. Why are you in such a hurry? I meant not dead. Seeing the scene, Mei Ling found it simply unbelievable. What exactly is Yixuan's body made of? Even though I am at the peak of the Golden Core realm, there's no way I could fully escape unharmed from the princess's powerful strike. Yixuan paid no attention to it. He raised a hand, pointing at Yu Qingqian, and said that 3 moves had passed. Wasn't that enough for him to be considered the winner? Yu Qingqian frowned slightly. It is clear that Yixuan won. He promised to wait for him on the 10th floor. However, Yixuan said that the matter was not over yet. He still wanted to continue challenging. Yu Qingqian was really angry upon hearing this. Clearly Yixuan had room for counterattack, but he had been pretending to be weak all along. This kind of behavior, I must also give it my all. Yu Qingqian was seen making a hand gesture. Incantations were muttered from her mouth. Sparse shadows slant across the clear water. A faint fragrance floats in the dense moonlight. Mulet realm opened. In an instant, Yixuan found himself in an illusionary realm. The surroundings were empty, only a full moon hanging high in the sky. Damn, are we not even allowed to play anymore? Is this the legendary Jingya? This girl can comprehend it at the Golden Core stage. That's really too against the heavens. If this girl were to belong to our human race, her future would truly be limitless. At this moment, Yu Qingqian was sitting high on the Yua wheel, glaring at Xuan with an unfriendly expression. Human, are you ready to die? Xuan raised his hand. With a smile on his face, of course I'm ready. I've decided to give up. This move immediately left Yu Qingqian frozen in place. Mealing swung her sword at him. Kid, you're actually trying to fake it? You've seen all my princess techniques, yet you suddenly conceded. The next moment, Yu Qingqian landed on the ground. Enough? We of the Yao race keep our promises. I'll be waiting for you on the 10th floor. I'll definitely take your life then. Seeing the princess say so, Mei Ling could only helplessly follow the princess back. And in the golden-winged rock's nest just now, Xuan also discovered countless heavenly treasures. Not only were there Qi San King pills usable for cultivation, there was also a top-grade light body skill, the Bi Ming Kunpeng. My strength and stamina are fine. I just lack speed. This skill came at just the right time. And in the Blood Sea, the Blood Demon Ancestor keeps absorbing fresh nutrients. The situation in the prison tower is becoming precarious. The eldest sister stands at the top of the tower, guarding it with a sword. Yet a single tear falls from her eye. Xuan, you must take care. I will kill millions of demons inside the tower. I will bury you with them. The 3 flowers gathered at the cauldron are but an illusion. The clouds beneath my feet also turn real. Just as Xuan swallowed the 3 purities pill, a tearing pain spread throughout his body, but when his eyes opened and closed, it seemed as if he saw a golden flower about to bloom. Looking at the strange visions scattered in the sky, Linger felt it was unbelievable. I never thought this kid could actually achieve the 3 flowers gathering at the apex. Meanwhile, inside the Grand Hall of the Earth Fiend Demon Emperor, Mei Ling was reporting everything that had just happened. Upon hearing Qin's unusual reaction to Xuan's action, and suspecting she had fallen for him, the Demon Emperor's eyes widened in shock. He paced back and forth restlessly. After a moment's thought, he ordered Mei Ling to keep a close watch on the princess. How dare those despicable human beings approach my daughter? Just wait, I'll tear him apart. And at that moment, an unusual sight appeared in the sky with countless petals falling. The Demon Emperor looked up in surprise. I didn't expect that the Tower of Hell would trigger such a phenomenon. Could it be that annoying kid who snuck in? Meanwhile, in the desert, Xuan collapsed onto the ground. Although my cultivation level hasn't changed, my dance has expanded dozens of times. The accumulation of spiritual energy is even more profound. The activation of the Fanchen seal can finally continue without stopping. As the earth begins to shake, Xuanming's destruction of the prison tower is still ongoing. My top priority is to quickly repair the mechanism. Arriving at the 9th floor, Xuan looked at the broken mechanism with deep emotion. This must be the reason why the prison tower collapsed. Large mechanisms require rare spirit stones to operate, and if there's a backup spirit stone warehouse, it must be nearby. Just as Xuan was about to enter a house that seemed like a warehouse, a few powerful auras suddenly attacked from behind. It turned out to be 3 humanoid demons attacking, but in an instant Xuan disappeared without a trace. None of the 3 monsters managed to stop. They all collided directly into each other. Xuan, riding the Fanchen seal, watched the wind demon with a smile. I wondered why there were no guards. Turns out, they were all on the 9th floor, preparing to ambush me. Seeing one of the birdmen flapping its wings and charging toward me, Xuan slammed the Fanchen seal out of his hand, but it was dodged by the birdman with a quick move. To everyone's surprise, the target of the Fanic seal was not the birdman. It was the Lion Man and Elephant Man underground. Xuan, hovering in midair, was slightly surprised. As expected of the Demon King of the 9th layer, it took the full force of the Fanic seal and still left no injury. Fortunately, I practiced the Peng Kun North Sea technique. Then I'll take down this birdman first. Xuan put all his strength into the Dragon Elephant Fist. He threw a powerful punch straight at the birdman, before the birdman could react in any way. The entire sky was filled with a rain of blood. Under the pressure of the Fanchen seal, the Lion Man and Elephant Man were devastated. They had just struggled to rise when they charged directly at Xuan. However, they were still crushed by the Fanchen seal, their bodies and souls destroyed. The Elephant Man saw the situation was grim. He ran away without a word, but Xuan intercepted him with a flash. Before he could react, the Elephant Man fell to his knees with a thud. Grandpa, don't kill me. Don't you need rare spirit stones, your majesty? I can offer you a large quantity. Please spare my life. Xuan looked at the spirit stone in his hand with a smile. He was about to say something, when the Elephant Man was cut in 2 from behind. The rare spirit stone fell into that person's hand. Looking closely, it was Mei Ling, holding a sword pointed at Xuan. Little thief, we meet again. The princess isn't here. Let's see how you'll save your life. All it takes is a loving hug to make the enemy surrender. All you need to do is marry. Is this the power of the heavenly Tao spiritual root, no hug? At this moment, Mei Ling was smiling at Xuan. Little thief, you may have fooled Princess Yu, but you can't fool me. No matter what happens today, I will take your head. Yixuan silently stared at Mealing. What he feared most were people like this brute. Without a word he attacked. I had no choice but to avoid the vital points. Blood splattered everywhere. The sword, meant for my heart, deflected to the left. Man was momentarily surprised. In just one day, this little thief's cultivation has improved again. But it doesn't matter. I will kill him immediately. A cry of butcher rings out. Countless ghosts swarm from the spirit sword. Yixuan agony. He's already low on spiritual energy after battling the 3 demons. He can only activate the heaven-turning seal one more time. He mustn't fail. Thinking this, Yixuan abruptly looks behind Mei Ling. He mutters an incantation. You Kinkin, you finally arrived. The demon spirit was indeed tricked by the words. She quickly turned her head to look behind her. However, just at that moment, Yixuan instantly moved forward. He grabbed the demon spirit tightly by the body. The demon spirit's face turned red. She muttered, go to hell. Her palm struck straight toward Yixuan's channeling bone. But just at that moment, a sudden change occurred. A tingling sensation started from the dantian and spread outwards. Mealing's eyes sparkled with little love hearts. What exactly did you to me? Yixuan looked at Mealing's reaction with great satisfaction. It seems this is the power of the heavenly Tao spiritual root. Now combined with the 9 mysterious Yang skill, it's even more effective. This cultivation method had been omitted. It was given to Yixuan by his eldest sister before entering the tower. Taking advantage of the fact that Mealing had not yet recovered from this sensation, Yixuan quickly summoned the bronze seal to suppress it. After regaining his composure, Yixuan even had the nerve to flirt with the Mei Ling. He even praised her, saying that although she wasn't as beautiful as King Khan, she still had a certain charm. It would be a pity to kill her. Mei Ling was furious upon hearing this, but a beauty plan formed in her mind. Therefore Mei Ling instantly changed her expression. She showed a submissive attitude towards Yixuan. She made it clear that Yixuan would be her master from now on. The succubus tribe only worships the strong. Any race that can defeat us can make us acknowledge them as our master. Upon hearing this, Yixuan smiled widely. Are you really willing to accept me as your master? The little succubus blushed shyly. Willingly, I, the slave of desire, am willing to acknowledge you as my master. Upon seeing this, Yixuan directly dropped a drop of blood onto Mealing's forehead. At this moment, Mealing still didn't know what had happened. She only felt a momentary daze in her consciousness. Master, what did you just do? Yixuan retracted the bronze seal. Nothing. I just completed a procedure for transferring ownership. It turns out Yixuan already knew that Mei Ling was pretending to submit. However, he could turn the situation to his advantage, because one day earlier, Yixuan had already bought the exclusive master contract for the succubus from Linger. Of course, the conditions for successfully signing the contract were quite strict. First, Yixuan had to defeat Mei Ling personally. Second, she had to willingly acknowledge Yixuan as her master. Third, he had to leave a mark on her with his blood. Only then would the succubus master acknowledgement ceremony be complete. At this moment, Mealing was sitting foolishly on the ground. Her eyes looking at Yixuan were filled with love. Master, Mealing, I am willing to give you everything I have. The first thing Yixuan, the old pervert, did to subdue Mealing was actually to make her undo her clothes. Just now Mealing had fully regained her senses. How did I just sign a contract with this little thief? But as long as I kill him, the contract will end, right? But reality is just that cruel. Yixuan simply muttered and lay down. Then a force immediately pressed Mealing to the ground. The unwilling girl struggled to get up. Yixuan just shouted retreat. Mealing was then blasted away several dozen meters. Unconquerable tears rolled down the girl's cheeks. If that's the case, I'd rather die. But a swiftly thrown stone knocked the spirit's sword away. Yixuan slowly walked up to the spirit. Do you know why your demon race created this master-servant contract back then? It was because they were afraid that future generations would not be willing to cut off their tails to survive and ensure the survival of their race. How come when it comes to you, you can't bear a little hardship? Mei Ling felt a mix of emotions upon hearing this. She remembered how back then, her talent was extraordinary. Even the demon emperor wanted to form a contract with her. As she grew older, she devoted herself to rigorous cultivation. She became the strongest among the younger generation of the succubus clan. What she desired most was to eventually be free from any contract. To be truly free to be herself. Upon hearing this, Swan withdrew Mei Ling's flying sword. Very well, remember your ambition. Maybe one day, when you break through to the god transformation stage, you might become strong enough to kill me. Mei Ling gazed at Yixuan absentmindedly. Aren't you afraid that one day that might really happen? Yixuan responded confidently. So what? If I can really be killed by a female slave I've contracted, then so be it. So it's because I'm not strong enough. Mei Ling watched the confident young man, her thoughts swirling. Maybe it's not bad to follow such a master after all. But the next command left Mei Ling utterly shocked. Yixuan actually ordered her to unbutton her top. Receiving the command, Mei Ling couldn't resist. Sure enough, he's a filthy, shameless human male. He thinks about nothing but dirty thoughts whenever there's an opportunity. Yixuan actually found the Mei Ling's movements too slow. He directly stepped forward and used his sword hilt to pull open the charm's top. His purpose in doing so was merely to retrieve the rare spirit stone that had just fallen out. Then Yixuan walked to the damaged mechanism. He steadily inlaid the spirit stone into the formation. The next second, the entire mechanism began to operate again. At that moment, the Fanchen seal on Yixuan's chest stirred restlessly. It flew out directly regardless of the consequences. After absorbing the energy emanating from the mechanisms nearby, it flew back into Yixuan's hand. Although its size hadn't changed, it had gained at least 10,000 jin in weight. Moreover, 3 more dragon scales had appeared on the golden dragon's body. Could it be that the change in the sky-turning seal is related to the prohibition of the boundary prison tower? If that's the case, I really need to explore this properly. I never expected that among the earth fiend beasts, there would be someone skilled in divination. With just a blink of their eyes, they calculated everything about Yixuan. After discovering the secret of Meiling's betrayal, the earth fiend demon emperor fell into deep thought. Little Meiling and his daughter Qingqian grew up together. Though not related by blood, they were like sisters. What should he do now? Just now. After Yixuan repaired the mechanism, he was about to leave. But Meiling grabbed his little hand. I have already fallen into this little thief's clutches. How could I possibly drag the princess down? To prevent the two from meeting on the 10th floor, Meiling came up with a plan. She found a shortcut to the 11th floor. Yixuan, however, said he didn't need any help for now. He told Meiling to go lie in wait beside the princess. At that time, he would look forward to her performance. Knowing she couldn't resist her master, Mei Ling still pushed Yixuan into the shortcut with an angry face. Meanwhile, inside the Yozu Grand Hall, the Dishio Hong was announcing that within a month, the tower's restrictions would disappear. Yazu will finally regain our freedom. At that moment, the Grand Hall violently shook. A pig demon immediately began to flatter, saying the demon emperor was wise, saying the restriction broke as it should, saying the good days were about to arrive. Unexpectedly, the flattery fell flat. The demon emperor with a dark face slowly stood up. You fool, this is not a sign of the boundary prison tower collapsing. It's a mechanism on a certain level that has been repaired. The little demons look at each other in confusion. What should we do? We won't be trapped here, will we? The demon emperor turns to face the crowd of demons. This matter concerns the fate of our demon race for 1,000 years. Where's Yan Qingli? A woman slowly steps out from the group of demons. Your Majesty, what is it that you call me for? The demon emperor gazes at the woman. You are a divine calculator of the demon race. Tell me what exactly has happened. Hearing this, Yan Qingli took out a 1,000-year-old tortoise shell from her person. Immediately she floated in mid-air. Deep and obscure incantations echoed through the air. After a moment, Yan Qingli suddenly opened her eyes. She indicated that she had ascertained the truth. It turns out that the 9th-level mechanism was repaired by that human boy. All 3 of the demon kings guarding that area have been killed, and he has obtained a shocking secret. Princess Yu's trusted subordinate Meiling has already betrayed her. She has now sided with the little thief and become an insider. If she threatens Princess Yu's safety in the future, it would be better to eliminate her first. Who would have thought that these words would bring the demon emperor's wrath? He grabbed Yan Qingli by the throat and lifted her up violently. You poisonous woman, Meiling and King Qian were raised by me. You are not the kind of villain who can slander them. Don't even think about using me to kill them. But at that moment, a loud roar suddenly reached their ears. A teleportation array appeared in the hall. The arrival was none other than the heavenly gang Yao Huang Biobing. He immediately blames his younger brother for his incompetence. Back then, he had to kill 3 Sky Commander Demon Kings to rise to power. But now he can't even deal with a mere Kai-refining human. Yan Qingli, who was standing by, saw the opportunity and quickly stepped forward. He immediately offered to be of service. The Sky Commander Emperor agreed right away. After all, he'd heard that the two had a previous conflict. Sending an opponent now was just right. Disha Huang's heart skipped a beat. If that's the case, isn't Mei Ling doomed? In a gazebo outside the main hall, Yu Qingqian was regretting letting Yixuan exploit her. Turning around, she found Mei Ling standing behind her, deep in thought. Thinking of something, Qingqian suddenly questioned Mei Ling. Did you disobey my orders and try to kill Yixuan? Mei Ling, heartbroken and wronged, knelt down and cried. Yu Qingqian was startled. What happened? Did she lose a fight? Mei Ling couldn't bring herself to explain. She had not only lost the battle, but also herself. While weeping, Mei Ling tried to persuade the princess not to pursue Yixuan. However, the self-righteous princess misunderstood her. I understand now. Do you have feelings for him? If the identity of the traitor in Mei Ling is exposed, then where will the once inseparable sisters of the demon tribe go? Should they let go of past grievances and spare each other? Or, for the sake of their missions, should they clash swords? This question arose after Mei Ling expressed that she no longer wanted to chase and kill Yixuan. Yu Qingqian mistakenly thought that Mei Ling had fallen in love with the other person. However, after Mei Ling clarified that it wasn't the case, she then thought that Mei Ling couldn't save face after being defeated by Yixuan. Such wild guesses left Mei Ling speechless. At this moment, the entire demon clan land began to shake. Yu Qingqian's eyes widened in anger. This is the sound of the entrance mechanism to the 11th layer being triggered. But that little thief hasn't even reached the 10th layer yet. How did they get around it? And the only secret passage in the Boundary Prison Tower is only known to us, the royal family of the Yao Tower. So there must be a traitor among us. A million curses ran through Meiling's mind. The word traitor felt like a heavy mountain pressing down on her. Before she could react, Kinkin grabbed her hand and they ran. At the entrance to the 12th floor, a cat demon and eagle demon were playfully fooling around, completely unaware of a figure swiftly slipping into the exit to the 11th floor. Yixuan's heart was full of pride. He hadn't expected such good fortune. He could get to the 12th floor so quickly. What surprised him even more was that the demon king on the 12th floor turned out to be someone who thrived in chaos as well. He was actually hiding behind a large rock fast asleep. Yixuan directly summoned the Fanqian seal and gave it a good beating. Afterwards, he didn't forget to call Linga to clean up the mess. At this time, a clamor reached his ears. After sensing the presence, Yixuan smiled slightly. It turned out to be those two. Sure enough, Yu Kinkin took the lead. Pointing at Yixuan, she began to scold him. Little thief, I really underestimated you. I didn't expect you to defeat Mei Ling. Even activate a repair barrier. Upon hearing this, Mei Ling silently complained. It's not just about defeating me. I lost complete, okay? Yi Kinkin gripped the Yuo wheel in her left hand. She quickly activated the spell. Die, little thief. Yixuan used the Penkin technique just in time to dodge. This girl came at me with full force right from the start. It seems she is treating me as a formidable opponent, but I'm no soft target either. I want to be so easily controlled by her? Yu Kinkin grew even more enraged upon seeing this. The last time I saw him, his movements weren't this powerful. This kid really is hiding something. He immediately called on Mei Ling to suppress Yixuan together. Mei Ling, without a second thought, drew her sword and slashed at the boy. Yixuan, with a sidestep, he dodged Mei Ling's long sword. Mei Nu, are you trying to turn against your master? Hearing this, Yu Kinkin stood there dumbfounded. What does Mei Nu even mean? But once she regained her composure, she just thought Yixuan was trying to intimidate her. She and Mei Ling quickly blocked all possible movements. At that moment, Yixuan shouted Mei Nu again. Attack now. To everyone's surprise, Yu Kinkin's deadly strike was blocked by Mei Ling. The young girl stood there stunned. Mei Ling, it's me, Kinkin. What happened to you? I never expected that the former close sisters would really turn against each other. Mei Ling tightly gripped the sharp dagger in her hand. Princess Go, I really can't control myself. Yu Kinkin immediately understood upon hearing this. It must be that Yixuan used some method to control Mei Ling. But just then, a melodious, bell-like ladder rang out from the side. Then a purple vine shot out suddenly. It tightly bound Mei Ling. A seductive woman appeared. It was the famed diviner Yan Qingli. Her move was the Demon Emperor's binding lock. Anyone who sees this lock would feel as if the Demon Emperor himself had arrived. Yu Kinkin recognized it immediately. She knew Yan Qingli must have stirred trouble in front of her father. Otherwise, this item wouldn't have been summoned. At this moment, Yan Qingli revealed a sinister smile. I declare by order of the Heavenly Gang Demon Emperor that the Phantom will be killed on the spot. Yu Kinkin was greatly startled. Things haven't even been clarified yet. Absolutely cannot hand over the charm. Even if the Heavenly Gang Demon Emperor arrives personally, I must demand explanation. But in a flash, suddenly a net woven from spiritual energy appeared above Yu Kinkin's head. She was completely bound. An unknown force pulled her upward into the sky. Mei Ling knelt on the ground, her heart filled with despair. So it's true. The Heavenly Emperor, the Ya Huang, truly wants me dead. Even the Disha Huang can't protect me now. Yan Qingli sneered from the side. Little Mei Ling, no one can save you now? Do you know why I want to make things difficult for you? Because you hold the key to my breakthrough. Among all the demons, you are the only direct descendant with the purest blood of a succubus. And I just happen to have a secret ritual that can use your blood to help me break through to the divine transformation stage. At that point, I will become the true ruler of the demon race. Now come and be the stepping stone on my path to divinity. But Yixuan, the master, remained unmoved. He looked at the appearing prompt panel with a faint smile. I'm sorry to interrupt your career planning, but there's a small problem with your plan. This charm, the effect of the Immortal treasure necklace is so powerful. The charm, simply by wearing it, possesses the formidable strength of a golden core peak cultivator. Just now she was still just a pawn under Yan Qingli. Even the earthly fiend Demon Emperor couldn't protect herself. In the end, it was still thanks to Yixuan using the Ping-Kun technique to forcibly seize it. Watching his little servant injured by the previous force, Yixuan gently stroked Mei Ling's cheek with tenderness. Mei Ling's face turned red. She hadn't expected that in a moment of crisis. The only one who would show concern for me was him. At this moment, Yan Qingli cared less about the deep bond between master and servant in front of her. The whip was fiercely lashed towards Yixuan. However, Yixuan managed to dodge it swiftly using the Ping-Kun technique. After prolonged attack with no success, Yan Qingli grew increasingly irritated. Although she was at the lower level of Golden Core, it was still troublesome to deal with someone at the QI refining stage. If word gets out, it would damage her authority. She then split the whip in two with a single motion. They transformed into two giant serpents and fiercely pounced towards Xuan. Miling quickly spoke up to remind him. This creature is called the snake. It is in the mid-stage of the golden core. When two of its kind join forces, they are comparable to the nascent soul. Xuan chuckled upon hearing this. Every family has its pets. Sao Bai come out and scare her. Unexpectedly, the summoned little Z was fast asleep. No matter how Xuan shook or shouted, it was useless. This scene made Kingly almost laugh herself crazy. Even a stupid cat dares to show off. Why she swallowed them? Xuan was furious. Does pretending to be asleep mean you don't have to work? Then, regardless of little Z's life or death, he threw it directly into Bei Shi's mouth. Kingly laughed madly. His entire body collapsed onto the ground. The charm spirit also lowered its head. It seemed that this unreliable little thief still wasn't up to the task. At that moment, something unexpected happened. The snake suddenly began to thrash wildly. In the end, it completely ignored everything and started attacking its master. Kingly kept dodging. You bastard little thief, what the hell did you do to the Basha? Xuan, what's there to be nervous about? It's just a small clash between spirit pets. Kingly, who was flustered by the Basha's pressure, was furious. Useless fool. To think he was controlled by someone, he can't stay any longer. Having said that, she swiftly cut the basilisk in two. Seeing such a ruthless woman, Xuan felt a sudden surge of pressure. He turned to look at Mei Ling and was about to unlock the shackles, but a cold laugh from Kingly came from behind him. Only I have the key to this lock, and you'll never find where I hid the key. Seeing. Xuan was holding the small white cloth that was wet. He had the set of missing keys in his mouth. Then Xuan unlocked Mei Ling's enchanted lock. He received a reward, a celestial treasure collar. After putting it on, he felt spiritual energy flooding in. He broke through to the peak of the golden core stage. Kingly, today either you die or I perish. I didn't expect the divine level system to have such a twisted sense of humor. The maid nurse outfits and everything are all available. After Mei Ling put on the divine collar, her cultivation instantly surged to the peak of the golden core stage. Kingly gritted her teeth and glared at the opposite side. Just 15 minutes ago, she had brought the token and magical artifact to capture Xuan and Mei Ling, forcefully driving Kinkian away. That was such a moment of glory. But now she had been outwitted and was at an absolute disadvantage. This roller coaster of life is moving a bit too fast, isn't it? At this moment, Mei Ling raises her 3-foot-long Kingfing sword and charges forward. Meanwhile, Xuan is observing the system panel from the side. He unexpectedly discovers countless new outfits in the god-level selection system. These can be used on the female slaves he has captured. Evil, this is really evil, but I really like it. He gently taps with his finger. Suddenly, a nurse outfit appeared on the spirit in battle. The pervert Xuan was overjoyed. It really worked. Next, let's try a maid outfit or a spider suit. The spirit looked displeased at Xuan, who was watching from the sidelines. For some reason, that guy's expression was so lewd. Is there something strange about how I fight? Never mind. This poisonous woman before me is my true enemy, the one I must avenge. I must end her today. Kingly saw Mei Ling raise her sword, about to take her life. She loudly cursed Mei Ling for betraying her master and seeking glory. These words stunned Mei Ling. Unexpectedly, Kingly seized the opportunity to slash Mei Ling's leg. She then loudly mocked Mei Ling for her shamelessness. To actually serve a human man as her master. Taking advantage of her shame and anger, she jumped up and tried to kill him in return. Xuan watched from the side, speechless. This little maidservant's strength is acceptable, but her mentality really needs improvement. So Xuan directly started berating her, even calling Kingly a worn-out shoe, who only obtained her golden core by fawning over the Demon King. The enraged fortune teller couldn't be bothered to chase and kill Mei Ling. He raised his sword and charged toward Xuan. Unexpectedly, Mei Ling seized the opening. With a swift strike, she pierced Kingly's heart. At the same time, Xuan seized the opportunity to take out the Fanchian seal and smashed it down. It seemed the battle was over. However, Mei Ling mentioned that the old witch had a life-bound treasure. It wouldn't be that easy for her to die. Sure enough, Kingly raised the 1,000-year-old tortoise shell high. He forcefully lifted the Fanchian seal. Then with a turn, he tried to escape. Seeing this, Xuan used the Peng Kun technique to catch up. Unexpectedly, Kingly suddenly accelerated. He directly pierced the young man with a claw. After kicking him down, he didn't forget to deliver 2 more fierce claw strikes. Thus the male protagonist fell. The book it. Xuan, the old pervert, wouldn't be so easily defeated. Only Kingly secretly rejoiced at that moment. He turned his head to look at the panicked Mei Ling. When I return with the demon army, I will surely tear you apart. That will vent my anger. With that, the strategist turned and left. Unexpectedly, a huge Fanchian seal appeared above. A shadow suddenly lunged from behind. Both hands tightly pulled Kingly into an embrace. Kingly was shocked and terrified. Xuan, you're not dead? How is that possible? I struck you with so many swords. That was just me pretending to be weak. I'm tough as nails. While they were talking, the enchantment charged forward with her long sword. Yixuan kicked the unkingly out of the way. The enchantress swiftly struck down, ending the diviner's wicked life. Then the markings on her body began to fade. She faced Yixuan and softly said thank you. The old lecher chuckled. Fighting was so tiring. Why don't you give me a back rub? Mei Ling immediately began her attentive service. She thoughtfully asked Yixuan if the pressure was enough, but after massaging for a while, she noticed something was wrong. Why was she so obedient? Yixuan, he said that the reward should be proportional to the effort. The collar grants you immense power, and I am your master and the master of the collar. Do you think you can only take and not give back? One must learn to be grateful. Mei Ling stood there dumbfounded. Tears welled up in her eyes involuntarily. My lord, I pledge my allegiance. Then Mei Ling made a humble request. I can only protect my master, but I won't kill the Yazoo. I hope my master will grant this. Yixuan broke out in a cold sweat. You think you're Guan Yu? Surrendering but still clinging to the submit to the hand, not Cao principle. Forget it, forget it. After all, the biggest difference between you and that she-demon is loyalty. But what is the use of this 1,000-year-old turtle shell? It looks like I can only go back and show it to Eighth Sister. As the two of them began to run at full speed, the swordsman hidden behind the large rock reappeared. It seems this kid is about to reach the 18th level. I must prepare quickly. I can't let him ruin my grand plan. The demon archers are countless. Medusa's daughter takes up half. After Yixuan brought Mei Ling to the 18th floor, he found that the demon clan, which was supposed to be guarding here, had completely vanished. Instead, a clear sound of a bowstring echoed in his ears. Yixuan quickly picked up Mei Ling and fled desperately. To his surprise, two sharp arrows, like bone shrimp, followed closely. Yixuan dodged and leapt high into the air, but he had fallen right into the ambush of the hidden archer. The last arrow struck Yixuan's thigh squarely. Luckily, he still had the strength to use the penkin technique and hide behind the wall. However, the situation was far from optimistic. The arrow in his leg didn't hit anything vital, but the arrowhead contained a potent poison. It spread rapidly in the blink of an eye. Mei Ling then revealed that this Yo Wang was Chun Yu of the Snake Clan. He was most skilled in disguise, poisons, and archery, and those 18 levels are probably all tunnels he dug. The two of us definitely can't catch him. I'll go first, the master leads the charge. Mei Ling appears just Yixuan is at a loss. Level up. You may suffer fatal injuries or even death. I'll go first, the master leads the charge. A god-level choice unexpectedly appears. Level up. You may suffer fatal injuries or even death. I'll go first, the master leads the charge. Mei Ling's favor increases. Danger warning. You may suffer fatal injuries or even death. I'll go first, you must defeat Chun Yu within a short time. I'll go first, the master leads the charge, otherwise you will face the powerful reinforcements of the Yazoo. Level up. You may suffer fatal injuries or even death. I'll go first, the master leads the charge. Mei Ling's powerful reinforcements appear, favor increases. Level up. You may suffer fatal injuries or even death. I'll go first. Ascends the enchantress to lure the enemy. Her strength decreases by 1 for every arrow she takes. I'll go first. Your strength will decrease by 1, but you can protect yourself. I'll go first. The master's morale will increase if they take the lead, boosting affection. You may suffer fatal injuries or even die. I'll go first. The master's morale will increase, and your Valor rating will improve, boosting affection. You may suffer fatal injuries or even die. I'll go first. But you may suffer fatal injuries or even die. Affection will increase, but you may still die. I'll go first. You will receive a crucial lead to the Tower of Hell. Your price will increase, boosting affection. You may suffer fatal injuries or even die. Seeing this, Yixuan didn't hesitate and chose B. He then expressed to the enchantress that, as the master, he would take the lead. I must lead from the front. If I die, the contract is void. She only needs to live well. With these words, Mei Ling's favorability soared. But unbeknownst to anyone, Yixuan was thinking, this group of women, one keeps pushing me into danger, and the other keeps worshipping me and risking her life for me. Sooner or later, I'll die at their hands. As Yuan appeared, countless arrows swarmed toward him. Before he could react, an arrow struck his abdomen. The powerful force pinned him firmly against the wall. More arrows followed, pinning Yixuan's limbs tightly in place. Not far away, a large bow was being aimed. Kid die? Watching the arrows flying towards him at high speed, Yixuan suddenly opened his eyes and shouted loudly, Chun Yu, do you want to become the Demon Emperor? I have treasures that can make you the Demon Emperor. The Sky Gang Demon Emperor has a violent temper and kills without hesitation, but now he's actually worried about Yu Kinkian's safety. I wonder what kind of trick he's up to. Just now, Yu Kinkian, who was captured by the Celestial Net, had an argument with her father. It was clearly her own failure that caused this great mistake. How did it end up dragging Mei Ling into this? The Disha Huang fiercely slammed the wine cup onto the table. Stop talking. Mei Ling was sentenced to death by your uncle. I couldn't oppose it. I could only risk my life to protect you. That's my limit as a father. Yu Qingyan was incredulous. How can my uncle be so unreasonable? Bai Hong let out a long sigh. Daughter, you don't know? These past years, your uncle has become a completely different person. He's violent and prone to murder. The Tian gang layers piled high with bones. Although he's still impressive, but he's no longer the big brother I knew. Yu Qingyan still wanted to reason, but her father's sharp stop it cut her off. He forbade any further mention of the human thief and the phantom, and Yu Qingyan was placed under house arrest, starting now. She was not allowed to leave, but as he stepped out of the gate, a little demon came to report that the Heavenly Gang's demon emperor was waiting for him in the main hall. Upon entering, he heard of Yan Qingli's death. The Earthly Finn's demon emperor immediately knelt down. That human thief has grown so quickly. He himself will personally go to suppress him this time. The Heavenly Emperor softly hummed in response. Then he said that he hadn't seen you for many years. I miss you so much. A great change is coming soon. The command is to send you to my side. I will send General Ying Zhao to pick him up. After saying that, the divine thought vanished like a wisp of smoke, dissipating into the world. Bio Bing called for his subordinates to bring the princess. While thinking endlessly in his mind, Big Brother has become more and more tyrannical over the years. He has never asked about Yor. Now suddenly he wants Yor to go. There must be an unspeakable secret behind this, but I can't disobey my older brother's orders. She's my only precious daughter. What should I do? At this moment, Yu Qingyan hurriedly arrived at the main hall. Bai Ying didn't waste any time. He pulled his daughter over and whispered to her. Then, without hesitation, he pushed her out. His older brother's men would be here soon. You need to leave now. And finally, he reminded her to stay hidden at all costs. No signal, absolutely no coming out. A moment later, a sudden uproar erupted in the main hall. News of Yu Qingyan's escape spread. The Disha Huang immediately mobilized everyone to pursue her. Meanwhile, Yu Qingyan took the opportunity to blend into the demon crowd. A meteor flashed across the distant sky. It was Ying Xiao, the great general of the Qin gang Ya Huang, arriving. However, he also received news of Yu Qingyan's escape. The Disha Huang was preparing to personally meet Yi Xuan. Hearing this, Ying Zhao had no choice but to go with him. Bai Huang felt a surge of joy. He'll team up with him to deal with that boy. It's perfect for letting King Khan run far away. Two birds with one stone. Just as Yi Xuan was hit by several arrows, his life hanging by a thread, he finally revealed the secret of the Zulong Emperor's bone. Upon hearing this, Chun Yuyan quickly stopped the arrows in midair. As a member of the Snake Clan, Chun Yuyan naturally knew that the dragon bone could grant an immortal body to a demon king. However, Yi Xuan's subsequent proposal left her in a dilemma. The two of them must have a fair duel, or Yi Xuan would self-destruct the dragon bone. Upon hearing this, Chun Yuyan finally slowly crawled out from the shadows. Waiting for Yi Xuan to send away the charmed spirit, it quickly darted to Yi Xuan's side, sniffing continuously. Indeed, it's the true dragon's aura, and the spiritual root is incredibly powerful. If it weren't for the demon emperor's order, I really wouldn't want to kill you, young master. Then Chun Yuyan pulled out the arrows from Yi Xuan one by one, and began the duel, keeping their promise. Yi Xuan launched the Penkin technique for a fierce attack, but unexpectedly, the snake woman's movement was even more agile. After a quick dodge, she drew her longbow. 5 sharp arrows were aimed directly at Yi Xuan. Left with no choice, Yi Xuan could only brace himself. He guarded his chest with his arm. Chun Yuyan sneered coldly. Since he didn't, he did. Then 5 more arrows. In the end, Yi Xuan was hit by several arrows and fell to the ground, unable to get up. But the snake demon was unusually cautious. Immediately afterwards, it fired several more arrows. After confirming that Yi Xuan had no reaction at all, it drew a small knife and was about to harvest the dragon bone. At the very last moment, as the blade pierced towards Yi Xuan's face, Yi Xuan's eyes suddenly opened. His left hand firmly pressed down on the snake woman's hand. His right hand lifted the vanishing heaven seal and slammed it towards her face. Then with another kick, he sent the snake woman flying. The vanishing heaven seal expanded with the wind. It hit Chun Yuyan heavily. Yi Xuan, the level really is high enough. The vanishing heaven seal can't even kill you. But it's alright. Kneeling behead him. Seeing that his life was about to end, Chun Yuyan hastily began to beg for mercy in a panic. He claimed that he knew the 18th level spirit stones had been taken by the Sword Elder. He begged the young master to spare his life. He promised he could make the young master pleased. However, before Yi Xuan could speak, the spirit directly became displeased. With a single strike, she beheaded the snake woman. Yi Xuan sat calmly to the side and began detoxifying. At the same time, he started thinking about what to do next. It's only the 18th floor, and they're already fighting for their lives. How should they deal with the demon kings ahead? But for now, the priority is to find the Sword Elder. With that in mind, Yi Xuan took something out of his chest. Sword Elder, it's time to eat. The Sword Elder of the Sword Immortal sect actually sold himself for a pig's trotters. Just as Yi Xuan pulled the pig's trotters from his sleeve, a figure suddenly flew from the distance. With a simple flip, he took the pig's trotters and ate them. Mei Ling was startled. It really is the Sword Elder himself? However, the way he's eating does not reflect the demeanor of a master. The old swordman sighed after finishing his meal. Spicy flavor is still the best. Seeing this, Mealing quickly stepped forward. I didn't expect the old gentleman to be familiar with my master. Before she could finish, she was directly interrupted. He bluntly said that Mealing had bad luck with people, like a pearl hidden in the dark. Embarrassed, Mealing couldn't even respond. Yixuan immediately stepped forward to resolve the situation. He explained that he was looking for the Sword Elder to find the mechanism Spirit Stone. The Sword Elder grinned upon hearing this. He had indeed underestimated Yixuan. He hadn't expected him to make it to the 18th floor. However, the Spirit Stone could never be handed over to him. Upon hearing this, Yixuan immediately stretched out his index finger. He offered to exchange it for 3 pigs' hooves, facing the Sword Elder who was about to strike. He then said that if it doesn't work, add 2 more plates of spicy large intestines. The Sword Elder's eyes started to burn with fury upon hearing this. Do you take me for a fool? Impossible, absolutely impossible. Then add a spicy rabbit head, and cover it with plenty of fragrant green onions. The Sword Elder's eyes lit up upon hearing this. Scallions. Love scallions the most? However, in the next moment the old swordsman realized, how could he betray his principles and activate the restriction just for a mere delicacy? He was a man determined to break out of the Inferno Tower. The deep hatred waiting for him outside still needed to be avenged. Helpless Yixuan had no choice but to use his trump card. 1 order of spicy hot pot. Extra spicy, rich flavor, super large portion. No dryness, no deal. You said it's dry. Take the Spirit Stone. Quick, hand over your food. Yixuan will honor the deal and hand over the food. He then walks toward the mechanism, holding the Spirit Stones. As the spiritual stones slowly embedded into his hand, the entire mechanism began to activate. The Heaven Seal also flew out from Yixuan's chest. After absorbing the spiritual energy, it gained 4 more golden scales. It seemed that with each seal restored, the Heaven Seal grew stronger. He also felt more confident in facing the upcoming fierce battle. At that moment, a furious roar suddenly came from the sky. Don't try to deceive people, little thief. You're full of lies. Your double restriction has been restored. I must kill you. Mealing saw the princess's blade about to fall, and quickly shielded Yixuan. Seeing this, Yakinkian had to stop her blade. She exclaimed that Mealing had been completely brainwashed. I should have killed Yixuan with a single sword strike back then. While they were arguing, Sabai suddenly darted out from Yixuan's embrace. The sword sage spoke calmly. I presume you've sensed it as well. 2 peak nascent soul experts are fast approaching. Yakinkian immediately understood. It's Father Ning Zhao. But what is it really for? The taste of being caught in a human sandwich. I guess only Yixuan could enjoy that. Just now, Yakinkian heard that the Demon Emperor and Ying Zhao were coming. She froze in place immediately. Yixuan immediately noticed this detail. Why did the Demon Emperor lead the charge personally? The princess wasn't unhappy at all. Instead, she looked panicked. Something's fishy here. But no matter what, it's best for me to leave first. Yakinkian felt helpless at this moment. If Yino sees me, my father's painstaking efforts will be in vain. Seeing Yixuan greeting the charming spirit to jump into the hole, Yakinkian immediately had an idea in her mind. So after Yi steadily caught the charming spirit, a pair of beautiful legs suddenly appeared above him. They landed squarely on Yixuan's head. Confused little Yixuan reached out his small hand and pinched something that was fragrant and springy. Then a sharp scream pierced Yixuan's eardrum. Suddenly there's a duel on my face. Yakinkian covers her chest with both hands and retreats repeatedly. Yixuan covers his face and shouts angrily, Cat, why are you hitting me? This is completely uncalled for. Yakinkian curses loudly. When has this princess' pure and innocent body ever been touched by anyone, let alone by a vile thief like you? Seeing this, Yixuan brushed the dust off himself. He asked Yakinkian why she had followed. The proud princess directly stated that her father, the emperor, was leading the expedition. The cat spirit said that since her father had personally taken charge, she naturally had to watch over Yixuan for him. While they were speaking, the passage suddenly shook violently. It was the demon army arriving. He watched the slowly operating mechanism. The Earth Fiend Emperor was annoyed and frustrated. Ying Zhou, the little villain, didn't forget to mock him from the side, saying that his rule was poor and his management incompetent. Huang Bao coldly glanced at Ying Zhao. It's none of your business, you brat. Then Huang Bao looked towards the underground passage, understanding that Yixuan and the others must have escaped into the cave. With a wave of his hand, he ordered the little demons to find them, even if it meant digging 3 feet into the ground. However, Ying Zhao couldn't shake her worry. This search is bound to have some oversight. It would be better to directly scan with divine sense. Bao Huang, feeling helpless, had no choice but to activate his divine sense search. To his surprise, he discovered that Yakinkian was also below. In order to avoid exposing his daughter's presence, Bao Huang could only helplessly state that there were no living beings below. However, his evasive attitude aroused Ying Zia's suspicion. After the army had moved far away, Yixuan and the others crawled out from the tunnel. However, Yakinkian immediately turned hostile. She believed that the matter between them wasn't settled yet. Yixuan, with his short temper, was not willing to back down. He rolled up his sleeves, ready to fight. However, at that moment, a tremendous pressure suddenly descended. Kid, I heard you're going to mess with my daughter? The fate of the spirit is hanging by a thread, danger is imminent. Could the second Zozo be about to appear? Just now the demon emperor appeared behind Yixuan. Yixuan pretended to wave his hand, trying to laugh it off, but in reality he turned and fled. However, how could a transformation realm expert be so easily deceived? A giant ghostly hand instantly struck. Even though death was imminent, Yixuan didn't forget to engage in his verbal sparring. Does the demon emperor want to become a son-in-law, staying here like this? Although Yu Kinkin is very beautiful, her temper is too bad, so it's better to forget it. Hearing this, Huang Bao was filled with rage. He directly crushed the ghost hand. The immense shock force slammed Yixuan to the ground. Seeing Yixuan sprawled on the ground, the demon emperor suddenly understood. So this guy's physical strength is extremely high. No wonder the previous demon kings couldn't stop him. Swan slowly got up. Damn it. With my 5 dragon bones and the body forged by the 3 pure ones Kai and 2 immortal destinies, I almost got killed in one hit. How am I supposed to fight now? Huang Bao slowly spoke. Kid, if you hadn't ruined 2 important things for me, I would actually admire you. But even if I like you, I can't let you continue to wreak havoc in the boundary prison tower. Die. Seeing the giant ghostly hand attack again, Yixuan was completely helpless. His physical body definitely couldn't withstand a second attack. At that moment, a figure suddenly appeared. It was Xiao Miling who blocked the fatal strike for Yixuan. Seeing his female servant being sent flying by the demon's claws, Yan stood frozen in place. Then he rushed toward Miling like a madman. Even Yu Kinkin ran over. Miling tightly held the young lady's hands. Princess, don't be sad. Do you remember the time we watched the sun rise together? I really hope there's an afterlife, so I could be myself free and unrestrained. Then the small hand that was tightly held slowly fell. Huang Bao stepped forward leisurely. Kid, this time you have an even more unavoidable reason to die. The death of Mi Ling is on your head too. Yan stood up angrily. Wasn't it you who killed him? Ji said coldly with a sneer. If you hadn't killed Bo Ren wouldn't have died because of you. In the end, it's because you were too weak. Yixuan's face remained expressionless, his aura rising dramatically. So what if you're the demon emperor? Even if I have to sacrifice this rotten body, I will bring you down. Just as the two were on the verge of a clash, bright lights suddenly appeared in the sky. It was Yingzhou making a surprise return. What great acting, the demon emperor! He actually personally took the princess to put on such a great show. Huang Bai's expression turned sore. Yingzhou, you dare follow me? Yingzhou seemed quite pleased with himself. He smiled, saying, how dare I? It's just that my spiritual sense scan detected something unusual a moment ago, so I was just being cautious. Then Yingzhou slowly flew in front of the two. With a bow, he invited the princess to go to the Qiangang realm with him. Yu Kinkin trembled behind Han Biao, shivering with fear. She expressed that she didn't want to travel far. Yingzhou's expression darkened. She attempted to leap over Huang Bao with her long whip, but the demon emperor directly knocked the whip away. Yingzhou, you've gone too far. If you want to harm my son, then step over my dead body. After that, both sides immediately began a fierce battle. Yixuan watched dumbfounded. It seems the demon tribes within the prison tower are not harmonious. There's serious internal division, but the top priority is to rescue Mei Ling. This time, I absolutely won't let someone important leave me again. A life-saving pill. At this moment, the god-level system is triggered. Life-saving pill. The situation is critical. Even with a life-saving pill, you'll be hard-pressed to match them. Mingdan, you have restarted 2 forbidden formations. By doing so, you have triggered a pursuit. You can still be saved and make a great contribution by delaying time for the Sword Immortal sect. By triggering the pursuit, know when to stop and you will be saved. By triggering it, you will obtain a portal to be teleported out of the tower and be saved. The pursuit is limited to you and can only be used for your own salvation. 0101 Fight fiercely, the true face is majestic heroic. 01010 Fight fiercely, the true face is majestic heroic. Face the pursuit of death directly. Is this the power of the system's elixir? Just 1 pill and it brings the spirit back to life. Not only are all injuries healed, but even the level of the demon core has increased. 00101 Full throttle, continuing 010010. Just now EX face the divine level choice 01010. 01001001010. Without hesitation he pressed the button with determination. Linger exclaimed that Yixuan had gone crazy. He is about to face 2 ancient transformation experts directly. Having said that, Linger still took out a spirit pill, saying it was a demon god pill, guaranteed to work immediately if she wasn't already dead. The Sword Elder, arriving hurriedly, let out a long sigh. Her life essence, her innate demon pill, is already damaged. Even if a Delu Jinxian descended, it would be difficult to save her. Mei Ling struggled to support her weakened body. The princess bid farewell. Master Sword Elder, take care. Before the words were finished, Mei Ling felt something enter her mouth. Without hesitation, she swallowed it. Sword Elder and Yu Kinkin immediately began to scold her, but were stopped by Yixuan's loud shout. He then carefully observed Mei Ling's condition. The previously weak pupils of the demon spirit suddenly regained their shine. Her entire body was enveloped in endless flames. The demon spirit let out a loud roar. It's so hot. There's some power inside me that's healing my wounds. With a surge of mysterious power, the demon spirit's injuries were completely healed. Even the grade of her demon core was upgraded to an immortal grade demon core. The princess and the sword elder on the sidelines were dumbfounded. The sword elder shouted, "Impossible! How could his demon core's grade have improved?" Jin Yukinkian didn't understand. The sword elder explained that demon cores are like human spiritual roots corresponding to 12 grades. And this girl originally had a 7th grade demon core. Now it's broken through to 9th grade. His future achievements will be at least above the level of a terrestrial immortal. Hearing this, several people looked at Yixuan with strange expressions. The sword elder stepped forward and grabbed Yixuan's collar. "Boy, what kind of spirit pill did you feed him?" Yixuan pondered for a moment. "I think it was called the demon god pill." Hearing this, Yukinkin and the sword elder completely broke down. "You must know that the demon god pill is one of the highest ranked pills of the demon race. Why does it seem like it's so common here with Yixuan?" Mailing was even more excited, hugging Yixuan's leg. "Master's grace, Mailing can never repay it." At that moment, a furious shout suddenly came from the sky. It was Yingzhou attacking. The demon emperor's speed was clearly not as fast as the others. He was left far behind. Only then did Ying release something from his hand. A mysterious energy surrounded several people, forming a square energy field. Then with a teleportation, Ying entered it. The arriving demon emperor looked at the cube helplessly. "This is the Heavenly Gang Emperor's treasure, the transformation of Mount Meru. Did he specifically give it to Ying to restrain me? You have to hold on. I'll break the restriction and save you right away." Meanwhile, inside the cube, Yixuan and Yukinkian watched as Yingzhou panicked. Facing a transformation stage expert, this is really a tough situation. No matter how lecherous Yixuan may be, when it comes down to it, he still has the responsibility of a man. Facing a transformation stage old monster with just Kia refining, it's like an ant trying to stop a chariot. But he still stood before Yukinkian without hesitation. "This girl, if I don't want you to take him away, you won't be able to." The domineering words made the princess blush. Yingzhou's face darkened. Energy gathered in his hand, transforming into a blue spear. Yukinkin shouted, "Be careful. The opponent has natural divine strength. The spear is exceptionally sharp. Be extremely careful." As the words were spoken, the blue spear flew straight toward them. It was like a meteor, coming too quickly to react. However, Yexuan was already prepared. He struck a classic pose from a certain flower arrangement style. He took the attack head-on with his chest. With a shout of spiritual light mirror recoil, the azure spear reflected back with even greater speed. Before Yingzhou could react, he was already shot. However, the price he paid was the complete destruction of the spiritual light stone. It seems the power of the divine transformation strike is truly formidable. Yingzhou's anger flared up. "I was actually defeated by a Kai refining cultivator. If this gets out, my reputation will be ruined." He pulled out his spear and was about to charge forward. "This time, I must crush this human cultivator to dust." Yixuan laughed calmly. "I can beat you once. I can beat you twice." Fanxian seal right. Yingzhou saw the massive seal descending from above. He quickly braced with his hand. Who exactly is this kid? A mere Kai refining stage human actually possesses so many treasures. As for Yixuan facing Yingzhou's resistance, the spiritual energy within him was depleting at a terrifying speed. Yukinkian also realized that this was a life or death moment. She immediately swung the Yuo wheel and charged up. Countless wounds were left on Yingzhou's body, but they could not harm him fundamentally. Yingzhou glared with fury. "You too shameless brat. I will tear you to pieces later." Meanwhile, Yixuan was beginning to struggle. The spiritual energy in his danchin was on the verge of drying up, but the demon emperor outside showed no reaction. It seems like he won't break through to the supreme treasure so quickly, and as the last of his spiritual energy faded away, Yixuan slowly fell to the ground. Yingzhou seized the opportunity and sent the Fanxian seal flying. Gripping a spear, he advanced rapidly. Yixuan collapsed on the ground, saw a series of fleeting images. The smiles and voices of his sisters seemed so close, as if right in front of him. "I don't want to die. Whether you're human or demon, what matters is loyalty in this world. Since you saved my life, then in your time of life and death, I will protect you with all I have." At the same time as Yixuan and Yingzhou are locked in a deadly battle, the demon emperor outside is also exerting all its strength to break the barrier, but every punch it lands shows no reaction. He recalled his late wife's words of advice. The demon emperor couldn't help but feel a little disheartened. Even the old swordsman beside him bluntly stated that so much time had passed. Yukinkian must have long been taken away. Only Mealing slowly stepped forward and approached the barrier. She was surprised to hear the sound of fighting coming from inside, and it seemed to be the unique sound of Princess Yu Alun. The old swordsman cried out, "Impossible. Yu knows her own abilities. Dealing with ordinary golden core cultivators is no problem. But facing Yingzhou, who's at the nascent soul level, she wouldn't have lasted this long." However, the demon emperor, regardless of the consequences for himself, directly burned his lifeblood essence. At the crucial moment, he punched a hole right through the barrier. The sight before them shocked the three of them. Ying Zhao, a nascent soul cultivator, was completely suppressed by Yixuan and unable to move. Seeing the arrival of the Yo Emperor, Yixuan put away the heaven-turning seal. Although he had advanced to the foundation establishment stage, the spiritual energy consumed to suppress a nascent soul cultivator was still enormous. Ying Zhao got up, his face expressionless. Boy, the shame of today? I will surely tear you to shreds. To prevent the Yo Emperor from stopping him, Ying Zhao immediately stated that he wouldn't take Yor today, but this kid will face 1,000 cuts if he tries to take her. Upon hearing this, the Demon Emperor felt conflicted. How should he choose between the righteousness of the martial world and the grand cause of the demon race? Seeing that the Demon Emperor remained silent, Ying Zhao slowly walked toward Yixuan. However, Yu Qingqian and Mei Ling blocked Yixuan's path. Although the demon race values strength above all else, but without trust nothing can stand, how can one betray a life-saving benefactor? The Demon Emperor's face remained dark after hearing this, but he didn't show any reaction. Just at this moment, Yixuan suddenly heard a transmission from Seventh Sister in his mind. He then slowly stood up facing Ying Zhao. You all step aside. This move of yours can't even scratch a hair on me. Ying Zhao doesn't get angry but instead laughs. He holds a spear and thrusts it toward Yixuan. Kid, your spiritual energy is almost depleted, right? Still daring to talk back? Yixuan faces a spear without fear. Ying Zhao, you are the guard of the 81st floor, aren't you? What if the mechanism you're guarding falls? Guess how the Demon Emperor of the Heavenly Gang will deal with you. Upon hearing this, Ying Zhao burst into wild laughter. In the Heavenly Gang realm, there's a checkpoint every 3 steps and a guard every 5 steps. You a little thief, dare to threaten this king like this? You truly are an idiot. But just as Yixuan snapped his fingers, the entire tower of the underworld began to shake violently. The Demon Emperor's expression changed again and again. As expected, the 81st floor of Chang'an has been restored. As the saying goes, a cunning rabbit will be killed, and a good dog will be cooked. Once the birds are shot, the good bow will be hidden. As the Demon King of the Earth Fiends, Huang Biao still understands this principle. So after the restriction on the 81st floor was inexplicably broken, Ying Zhao, in his embarrassment and fury, was about to kill Yixuan. However, this attack was blocked by Biao Huang. He then used the excuse of the Earth Fiend realm to brush off Ying Zhao. Ying Xiaming's reputation was completely shattered at this point, and Biao Huang now held a grudge against him. He immediately stood up and flew toward the Qin Gang realm. Before leaving, he didn't forget to issue a threat. Yixuan and the others were not afraid at all. Yu Qingqian even made a gesture of international friendship. Immediately after, Biao Huang, his face full of murderous intent, glared at Yixuan. He accused Little Yi of slaughtering his generals. He has once again broken the boundary restrictions of the underworld. He deserves to be cut into 1,000 pieces. Who would have expected that Yixuan would counterattack? He claimed that the Demon King was truly pathetic. He couldn't even protect his own daughter. If he hadn't stepped forward, Yu Qingqian would have been captured multiple times by now, living such a miserable life. Don't call me the Demon Emperor. Just call me a coward instead. Hearing this, Yu Qingqian and Mei Ling both broke into a sweat. He dares to talk to his own father like that. This kid Yixuan must be tired of living. But then Yixuan's demeanor suddenly changed. He actually started begging the Demon Emperor for mercy. What if something happens? I can still take care of Yu Qingqian a bit. The Demon Emperor's face darkened. But now that I've gone to great lengths, how could I easily let you go? Yixuan, being quick-witted, immediately understood. What you mean is, how can I find an excuse to let you go? It seems that Bai Hong is a perceptive person. In that case, I will give him an excuse myself. Immediately, Yixuan snapped his fingers again. An immediate sense of earth-shattering movement came. The mechanisms on the 45th floor were restored. That was Eight Sisters' preparation on the 45th floor. She was just waiting for Yixuan's signal. Yak smiled faintly. How about it, Demon Emperor? As long as we humans are still alive and kicking, as long as you still have some use, your elder brother will not easily turn against you. Biao Huang never expected that his thoughts would be so clearly seen through by the human kid. He could only sigh deeply and say he would go chase and kill the enemies on the 45th floor. Yu Qingqian still wanted to go along, but Biao Huang sternly stopped her. Let her stay with Yixuan. She doesn't have her own transmission. You must never leave Yixuan's side. Watching the departing Demon Emperor, Yixuan felt a nagging doubt in his heart. Why did his words sound like he was entrusting me with an orphan? Could it be that even the Demon Emperor himself couldn't guarantee his own safety? Meanwhile, inside the Heavenly Gang Palace, it was a scene of utter carnage. All the major demon kings guarding the 81st floor were dead. Only Yangzhou knelt on the ground, trembling with fear. At this moment, the Tian Gang Demon Emperor's expression was incredibly frantic. Biao, you actually don't trust me anymore? I didn't expect the Demon Emperor Biao Bing to have been taken over by the Blood Demon ancestor. No wonder in recent years, he's been incredibly irritable and has killed countless people. He even started to grow distant from his own brother. After driving away his subordinates, he entered a secret passage. Beneath the ground, countless blood energies coiled around him. The demon emperor's body occasionally displays the towering head. At other times the face of the blood demon ancestor appears. It seems the soul possession is not fully successful yet. However, as the blood-colored essence continues to pour in, the blood demon ancestor's expression gradually settles. Strangely, a pair of double pupils forms in his eyes. Looking at his powerful body, the blood demon ancestor still reveals a sense of dissatisfaction. I still prefer a body that's half human, half demon. Only then can it perfectly match my yin and yang. I don't know when I'll be able to catch that little ghost, you Kinkian. By that time my divine skills will be fully mastered. I must kill my way back to the sword Immortal sect. Only then can I avenge the grudge from back then. Meanwhile, Yexuan and the others were completely unaware of this. Led by Mei Ling and the princess, they took the secret passage to the 27th floor. The guardian here is a harpy. Although she is only at the early stage of the golden core, her numbers are overwhelming and extremely difficult to deal with. As soon as the harpies saw Yexuan and the others, they gathered together. They began chanting an unknown incantation. Noble god of thunder, Gunner, please bestow the power of lightning upon your faithful servant. Defeat the filthy humans. As the incantation came to an end, countless dark clouds gathered in the sky. The power of lightning was constantly roaring. Yexuan and the others took out their weapons, ready to respond. Unexpectedly, the next second, the bird cloud started to dissipate. The lightning power also vanished. Yexuan couldn't help but curse in his mind. Such a big spectacle just for a little fart. The demon queen chuckled. I calculated with my fingers. The mighty Thor is in poor health today. Wait until we return and pick a better day. Then we'll come back and wipe you out completely. And then they really did fly off in the blink of an eye. All I could hear from afar was just the sound of them passing by. What's even more outrageous is, they actually prepared spirit stones. Afraid that Yexuan wouldn't see them, they even placed a sign. Oldie and the others were left speechless. Baihuan, you really came prepared? However, just as Yexuan was about to insert the spirit stone, her small hands unexpectedly stopped him. Yukinkin slowly spoke. Yexuan, are you really going to cut off the path of freedom for my demon race? Don't you think this is cruel? He sighs deeply. Do you know that if the prison tower collapses, my sword Immortal sect will be doomed? And with your uncle's bloodlust, the entire world will be drenched in blood and carnage. Countless lives will be destroyed. Is this the freedom you want? Yukinkin was speechless upon hearing this. Half of the blood in her body is from the human race. Of course, she doesn't want to see such a sight, but she will be trapped in this tower forever, and live out the rest of her life here. Yexuan understood upon hearing this. He would stabilize the situation first. They are trying to find a way to have some of the kind-hearted demon species leave this place. However, the top priority is still to repair the mechanism first. I didn't expect there to be a phoenix hidden inside the Tower of Hell. One strike nearly caused Yexuan to die instantly. Just as Yexuan was restoring the 27th level of the mechanism, two streams of spiritual energy suddenly shot toward the Fanchen seal. Looking at the direction they came from, they should correspond to the 54th level of 8th Sister and the 90th level of 7th Sister. The Fan seal undergoes another evolution. Its power is unstoppable. Only Yu Kinkin stands by feeling depressed. This little thief is advancing at such a rapid speed. Could it be that the situation of the demon race is as bad as Father Emperor predicted? Moments later, Yexuan and the others arrived at the 36th floor through the secret passage. Unexpectedly, the little Zia, who was sound asleep, suddenly jumped onto their shoulder. It kept sniffing the air with its nose. As the intention was conveyed, Yexuan immediately realized that there was a great treasure atop the giant tree. Its value was likely no less than that of the ancestor dragon's royal bone. Yexuan immediately began to climb the giant tree with Xiao Bei. Xiao Bei wanted to say something, but Yexuan cut him off directly, stating that the treasure was the most important thing right now. However, halfway up, Yexuan noticed something was wrong. Why didn't the others follow? Only when he turned around did he realize Xiao Bei and Meiling were looking at him in terror. Yexuan immediately sensed something was wrong. When he looked back, he found that in the big tree, a phoenix had appeared at some point. Just with the flap of its wings, a wave of scorching heat swept over them. He almost got roasted to a crisp. Seeing this, Xiao Yesi quickly jumped down from the big tree. In a hurry, she led Meiling and the others to escape. She muttered, "Why didn't anyone tell me there was a phoenix?" Meiling and Xiao Bei were speechless. "Didn't you say you'd handle it and talk later?" Seeing the little thief who offended her territory trying to escape, the phoenix shook its body. Countless feathers flew out like sharp arrows. Yexuan turned his head and realized something was wrong. The phoenix's aura is no less than that of a nascent soul. Xiao Bei and Mei Ling are likely unable to withstand the feather arrows. There's no choice but to help block it myself. However, the phoenix's attack is not something to be taken lightly. One strike left one severely injured. Luckily, there was a cave not far ahead. Mei Ling quickly supported Yexuan and entered it, and I fed him countless spirit pills and elixirs. While my master was adjusting his breath, Mei Ling continuously observed the phoenix's direction at the cave entrance. But at this time, Xiao Zi appeared on Yexuan's shoulder again. Forgotten? Cultivation resources? This has been for thousands of years, and if he consumes the phoenix blood marrow, it can greatly enhance the physical strength. Bathing in the blood of the phoenix can refine the immortal body, forging the supreme Tao. And just at this moment, a divine level choice appears again. 01001, but this time, there is no punishment at all. 01001, on the contrary, killing the King Luan has immense benefits. He clenched his fist excitedly. It's just a big bird, isn't it? Watch me drain its blood and eat its flesh. The ancestor of the Sword Immortal sect reappears in the Hell Tower. Cao King Luan was left stunned. She immediately took out all her belongings, ready to leave with the ancestor. It was after Yixuan had accepted the god-level choice that he suddenly remembered that King Luan had been brought here by the ancestor. So what would happen if he impersonated the ancestor? Thus, amidst the ethereal celestial energy, an elderly man with graying hair and a maid appeared in front of King Luan. However, King Luan seemed somewhat confused. It looks like the appearance doesn't quite match. Mealing immediately activated her innate charm technique. Yixuan took the opportunity to step forward and impersonate the ancestor. It was Pork Xiaobai who kept fanning the air for the celestial aura effect. At this moment, it seemed that King Luan saw the scene from years ago in her eyes again. She couldn't even match that old man's sword strike. Yixuan immediately expressed that he was an incarnation. He had thought that after 1,000 years, he had cultivated his body and mind. He was ready to step out of the tower and share the bliss of the immortal realm. However, to his surprise, his irritable nature had not only remained unchanged, but instead intensified. Upon hearing this, King Luan's eyes filled with tears of regret. Her massive body knelt before Yixuan. Yixuan then seized the opportunity. He expressed that he could give it another chance, and that he knew the King Luan had just laid eggs. He asked it to take the eggs and fly outside the tower with him. Without a doubt, the King Luan immediately flew to its nest to retrieve the eggs. Seeing this scene, Yu Qingqian was left stunned. She confirmed that this was a divine beast. It actually trusted him so easily. The old sword master clasped his hands together. You don't know. That King Luan was thoroughly subdued by my senior brother back then. Now Yixuan is using illusion magic to impersonate my senior brother. Deceiving that foolish bird, it's foolproof every time. Look at how happy it is. It's been sold and is still counting money for the seller. The moment King Luan handed the bird egg to Yixuan, Mei Ling suddenly spoke from behind. Master, my illusion magic is about to expire. The next second, Yixuan returned to his true form. Looking at the boy holding his egg, King Luan immediately understood what was going on. Instantly, the aura around her began to rise. Yixuan and the others hurriedly started to run, but King Luan relentlessly pursued them from behind, releasing azure flames in hot pursuit. Fortunately, they found themselves in a narrow mountain gorge. The crowd used the geographical advantage to trap the King Luan tightly. Then Yixuan released the heaven-toppling seal, intending to suppress it. However, the enraged King Luan was struggling below. It was about to break free. Suddenly, 2 beams of golden light flew from the sky. They further strengthened the heaven-toppling seal. Only then was the large bird barely kept suppressed. Yixuan immediately understood. Sister 7 and Sister 8 have broken 2 more seals. Then Yixuan drew out the burning sky sword. With a powerful strike, he split the King Luan in half, and taking advantage of the moment when the phoenix's blood withered, he fed it the demon pill. With this, Yixuan's dragon phoenix sacred body reached perfection. No one below the nascent soul stage can match him. Yixuan bathed in phoenix blood and perfected his sacred body. From this point on, no one below the nascent soul stage can challenge him. Just as he was sharing the good news with his 2 older sisters, the 7th sister suddenly fell silent. Then Yixuan learned that the heavenly gang demon emperor had arrived in person, and the 7th sister's whereabouts were unknown, her life uncertain. Yixuan rushed out. Countless demons died along the way, but ultimately he was stopped at the entrance to the 71st floor of the earthly find. Fortunately, Yu Qingqian arrived in time. Under her command, the demons finally cleared a path. At this moment, the 8th sister contacted him telepathically. She said she was about to restore the 72nd layer of the mechanism. Afterward, she would head to the last layer of the Qin Gang realm. Yixuan's task was to immediately return to the first layer. Once all the mechanisms were activated, he was to return to the Sword Immortal sect. Yixuan was unwilling to listen. He urged the 8th sister not to act alone. I want to go with her. But Sister Bei's communication was cut off. She bravely charged towards the mechanism's location alone. Yixuan understood Sister Bei's intention. She used her own life as bait to buy Yixuan a chance to escape. As long as the 72 mechanisms are restored, then the heavenly gang Yao Huang will surely appear in person. At that time, the sisters will undoubtedly die. But no matter what, I still have to reunite with the sisters. Even if it means death, I will rescue the sister. At this moment, Yu Qingqian grabbed Yixuan and said that since Yixuan had made up his mind, she would take him to the Disha Demon Manor first. Maybe the sisters are still there. Then everyone followed the secret passage to the place where the mechanism was located. Although no one was seen, Yixuan with his sharp eyes discovered a hairpin on the ground. It was the hairpin that the 8th sister liked the most. It was covered in bright red blood. Yixuan picked up the hairpin and angrily shouted, wanting to find the demon emperor. but he was firmly restrained by Jansu, who covered his mouth with his hand. It is reported that someone is approaching in front of the main hall. Yukinkin quickly signaled everyone to enter the secret passage. She watched from the gap. The one entering is none other than the Qian Gang Demon Emperor. The hemp rope in his hand clearly holds seventh sister and eighth sister. How great is the love of a father! Even severely injured and on the brink of death, Biahuang still refuses to give up. I was afraid that my fight with Biaobing would damage the secret passage, thus exposing my daughter's presence. Just after Yukinkin led everyone into the secret passage, Biaobing's figure appeared in the main hall, dragging Ixuan's two older sisters in his hand. Close behind him came the Earth Fiend Demon Emperor, who knelt down as soon as he entered, saying that he had failed in his discipline. Please forgive your elder brother. Biaobing's fake brotherly affection was impressive, but none of that mattered. Then he turned his finger into a sword, and directly pierced Biahuang, leaving him cold to the core. Bing spat out blood. He looked at his older brother in disbelief. Yukinkin wanted to rush out of the secret passage and fight to the death. Fortunately, Mei Ling and Sword Old Man desperately pulled her back. At this moment, Biaobing was sneered maliciously. Fool, who is your older brother? Biahuang saw Biaobing's eyes turning into double pupils. He shouted angrily, who is it? Only Sword Elder seemed to recall something. He looked towards Biaobing outside in disbelief. He muttered to himself, this is impossible. All of this was witnessed by Yexuan. At this moment, Biahuang, despite his severe injuries, struggled to his feet. Just who are you? Why did you seize my elder brother's body? Why are you using our Yazoo demon race? Biahuang laughed heartily. Using your Yazoo? What I want is the 99 heavens. Your Yazoo are merely stepping stones for me. Before his words were finished, Biaobing, wielding a long sword, charged straight at Biahuang. Biahuang, holding his life-bound magic artifact, transformed it into a giant shield, but he couldn't even block a single strike. In an instant, Biahuang was sent flying, his shield shattered. Watching her father completely unable to resist her opponent, Yukinkin's tears flowed uncontrollably. At the moment Biahuang fell to the ground, he unexpectedly discovered his daughter was inside the statue across from him. Seeing this, the old father felt a surge of tragic determination. With tears in his eyes, he mouthed a hidden message. He knew he couldn't stay there. If Biaobing damaged the statue and discovered Yur, his daughter would be in mortal danger. Thinking this, Biahuang mustered his last ounce of strength. No matter who you are, you have the guts? Fight it out in the square outside. A generation of heroes has fallen. Who is the one behind this? Can Yukinkin avenge the great grudge? Can Yixuan save his sister? Just now after Biahuang discovered his daughter, he dragged his severely injured body and ran outside. He wants to subdue the person possessing the brilliant armor to save everyone. At this moment a god-level choice appeared before Yixuan. Continue hiding and receive the title of Cowardly Turtle. Rescue his sisters and receive a reward of 1,000 contribution points. Then a bold plan suddenly popped into Yixuan's mind. However, it requires Yukinkin and Mei Ling to cooperate with him. The Sword Elder angrily shouted at Yixuan for not knowing what's good for him. The person possessing the brilliant armor has a significant background. One finger could crush all of you. Yixuan, isn't it just your senior brother, the Sword Immortal ancestor of my Sword Immortal sect? Somehow he possessed Biaobing. Now was the Sword Elder's turn to be astonished. Why does this kid know everything? Yixuan continued, the Sword Immortal ancestor was born with double pupils. Inside the Sword Immortal sect, there are portraits. If he can't remember such an obvious feature, then he's a fool. But he's someone who started on this path halfway through, and has no respect for any ancestor. Besides, he's currently the Demon King who kills people. As for why he founded the Sword Immortal sect, and why he now intends to destroy it himself, he has no interest at all. My only thought was how to get Seventh Sister and the young miss out of the Boundary Prison Tower. Then Yixuan borrowed 3 9 Heavens illusory fox pills from Linger. He rescued Seventh Sister and Eighth Sister who lay on the ground, and he had Mei Ling and Yukinkin take the pills to transform into the appearances of the 2 sisters. He himself, along with Sword Elder, hid back in the secret passage. A moment later, Biaobing returned. In his hand, he carried Biahuang's head. It seems even a great warlord cannot escape death in the end. Transforming into Eighth Sister, Yukinkin silently shed tears. In her heart, there was only one belief. She was determined to kill this person, to avenge her father. Biaobing scanned the surroundings and found nothing unusual. The Sword Immortal sect's main force had been captured. Only a small thief remained no threat. At that moment, Biaobing's head swayed violently. Biaobing's original soul struggled to manifest. Looking at the head of his younger brother, the Heavenly Gang Demon Emperor was filled with grief and rage. Who are you? What do you want? Biaobing laughed heartily. Of course I'm here to take back my real body. As the 2 primordial spirits confronted each other, everyone finally understood what had happened. It turned out that the possessing spirit was actually the primordial spirit of the Sword Immortal ancestor. Back then, on the verge of ascension, the Sword Immortal ancestor's primordial spirit split into 2, representing good and evil. The ancestor used his great divine power to separate the evil spirit from his soul, and then built the Boundary Prison Tower to seal it away. And for the demon race, it was merely a trivial matter for him. The evil primordial spirit was unwilling to remain sealed at the bottom of the eternal tower. So one day it used a secret technique to send a fragment of its primordial spirit outside the tower. It allied with the blood demon ancestor to attack the immortal sword sect. Later, it even set up the blood demon formation beneath the tower, inciting the demon race to become wild and warlike, and Baying couldn't control his own desires. The malevolent primordial spirit seized the opportunity to enter. In the future, after I find Yukinkian, I will seize her body and make her my new vessel. Then my strength will be restored to at least 90%. At this time, the ferocious primordial spirit still tried to resist, but was suppressed by the sword immortal ancestor. Then the sword immortal ancestor used his divine sense to search for Yukinkian's whereabouts, but unexpectedly discovered her right inside the palace. As the ancestor slowly approached, Yukinkian's figure also appeared behind the statue. She immediately greeted them warmly. Her pretentious and flirtatious demeanor even left the ancestor overwhelmed. Lying on the ground, Yukinkian was about to explode with rage. This isn't over? Yukinkian actually tortured her two sisters. What exactly happened in between? It turns out that just now, Sword Immortal Ancestor brought the disguised Yexuan and the others back to Qingang Mansion. He originally wanted Yexuan to rest first, then he could properly interrogate them. But unexpectedly, Yexuan suddenly handed him a cup of green tea. He claimed he wanted to help the ancestor interrogate the two of them. He had already done his best. The ancestor, unable to bear the tea's fragrance, was reluctant to explode in anger. He had no choice but to leave, leaving the two feeling frustrated. Seeing this, Yexuan hurriedly returned to the house. He untied the bindings on Mei Ling and Yukinkian. Then from Yukinkian's mouth, he learned that there were 4 spirit stones required to activate the final mechanism. They were in the hands of the 3 great demon generals and the Sword Immortal Patriarch. However, the Sword Immortal Patriarch clearly didn't trust him. He even sent Ying Zhao to guard the door, to prevent her from escaping. Fortunately, Yukinkian often played here as a child. She knows all about the secret passages and such. However, Ying Zhao guarding the door is a big problem. Luckily, Yexuan has transformation runes on him. So when Ying Zhao opened the door to take a look, the scene in front of him shattered his worldview. The transformed Yukinkian was fiercely whipping the 2 fairy maidens, still shouting that you won't accept it. Seeing this, Ying Zhao was satisfied and closed the door. Looks like the princess has finally come to her senses. She doesn't plan to escape after all. What she didn't know was that Yixuan and the others had already escaped through the secret passage. They split up into 3 groups to search for the demon general. In a small group, a tiger demon was working out with a dumbbell. This demon is one of the demon generals who possesses a spirit stone. His Fey man. However, his greatest weakness is his lustful nature. So Yixuan revealed her graceful figure. She pretended to be bored recently, so she came to Qingang Mansion to have some fun. Under the night sky, she saw General Fei Man looking so mighty, and she especially liked the muscular type. Feman is no match for Yizan. With a little teasing, he'll probably forget his own name. Yixuan sees the opportunity. He says that when he first met Feman, he felt like he was his father's son-in-law. At these words, Feman is overjoyed. He immediately wants to take Yixuan back to his cave. It also indicates that the cave is well hidden. No one is likely to know about it. Yixuan said with a shy smile, I heard that your demon core is very special. It's quite popular among demon women. I wanted to see if it's really different. Fei Man hesitated when he heard this. Yixuan immediately stood up and flew up. Forget it. You're not sincere with me. You won't even let me see your little demon core. Seeing that the one she loved was about to leave, Fei Man hurriedly spoke up to stop her and forced the demon core out of her body. Is this your demon core? It's dark, the road is slippery, and society is complex. The monsters in the Purgatory Tower are so naive. How could they be Yixuan's opponent? The flying barbarian general only sensed a hint of the tea's aura, and obediently handed over his demon pill for Yixuan to examine. Oldie's unscrupulous. He directly drew his burning heaven sword and slashed at the flying barbarian. Saibai, seizing the opportunity, snatched the demon pill and feasted on it. Having lost his life-bound demon pill, the flying barbarian was no match for Yixuan. In just a few moves, Yixuan took the head of the person. After finishing off the demon general's body, Yukinkian holding a spirit stone hurried over. Looks like she succeeded as well. Seeing Yixuan holding the spirit stone, Yukinkian couldn't help but exclaim. She had half a charmed spirit root, which allowed her to enchant others and obtain spirit stones. But how did Yixuan manage to do it so quickly? Yixuan couldn't help but laugh awkwardly. It was actually pretty similar to what you did. Soon as the illusionary magic erase time limit was about to expire, Yixuan handed the spirit stones to Yukinkian. He then hurriedly rushed back. As soon as he entered the room, he realized all the runes had become inactive. Fortunately, he wasn't discovered by Ying Zhou outside. Just as Yixuan was about to rearrange the runes, he heard the conversation between the Sword Immortal Ancestor and Ying Xiao outside. With no other choice, Yixuan summoned Xiaobai for help, and after the Sword Immortal Ancestor entered the house, he found only Yixuan bound in the room. The other 2 women had already disappeared. Upon seeing the ancestor enter the room, Xuan immediately cried out that he had been ambushed. But Ying Zhao outside the house remained unresponsive. Hearing this, the sword immortal patriarch angrily turned his head. Ying Zhao, you're a worthless fool. You didn't even know that Princess Yu was attacked. Ying Zhao quickly knelt down to the ground. He said that he had checked several times. Princess Yu was perfectly fine inside the house. Xuan hurriedly explained that one of the two women inside was skilled in illusionary arts. What Ying Zhao sees outside are just illusions. The sword immortal ancestor turned to look at Ying Zhao. Fool! You fell for their illusion and still don't realize it. What use are you? Ying Zhao felt a chill in his heart upon hearing these words. This old monster clearly harbored murderous intent. Since that's the case, it's better for you to run first. Under everyone's gaze, Ying Zhao took off directly. He tried to rely on his swift speed to escape. The sword immortal ancestor sneered coldly. The inner energy in his hand condensed into a purple vortex. In the blink of an eye, he split the traitor in two. Then the ancestor pulled Yixuan's hand. You've been wronged. Now let's go a place with Uncle. Yixuan still wanted to find an excuse to slip away, but was firmly rejected by the sword immortal ancestor. Then the two of them arrived at the main hall of the Qin Gang mansion. The door, filled with a bloodthirsty aura, rose. The sword immortal ancestor smiled at Yixuan, telling him he had something good for him. He then ordered 3 demon generals to guard the entrance. Yixuan was mentally cursing 1,000 times. Could it be that the ancestor wants to take over Yu Qingqian's body? This is getting out of hand. The sword immortal ancestor wants to take over Qingqian's body. What should Yixuan, who came in disguise, do now? Just now, Yu Qingqian and Mei Ling went to search for the 3rd spirit stone. Unexpectedly, they were spotted by the guarding demon general. To prevent the demon general from sounding the alarm, the two of them decided to act first. Facing the assault, the fish demon chuckled. 2 minor golden core demons? They're not even enough for my underlings to handle. As countless little fishmen surged forward, Yu Qingqian had no choice but to summon her life-bound flying wheel. In an instant, she entered the realm of moonlight. With the appearance of the Hallow behind her, all the little demons fell to the ground, unable to rise. The fish demon was shocked. This is clearly the princess's moonlight wheel in Dao realm. It's over. The moonlight Qingqian from the demon emperor's side is a fake. I must report this to the demon emperor immediately. Yu Qingqian was startled. Why did I kill this fish demon? This is going to be troublesome. It must have discovered my true identity. While Yu Qingqian was still lost in thought, the fish demon suddenly lunged forward, intending to drag Yu Qingqian back to the demon emperor's palace. At the critical moment, a large sword fell from the sky, piercing the fish demon to the ground. The person who arrived was 7th sister and 8th sister, who had just awakened. Yu Qingqian and Mei Ling also reverted to their normal forms. After obtaining the spirit stone, everyone began walking out of the Tian Gang manor. Only the sword elder was left, cowering and shouting, telling them not to go to their deaths. Inside the Tang mansion, Yixuan arrived at the blood-colored formation with the demon emperor. He suddenly realized the reason behind the violent rage of the demons in the Hell Tower. At this moment, the demon emperor suddenly spoke. Do you want this earth-shattering cultivation of your uncle? Upon hearing this, Yixuan was stunned. According to the sword immortal ancestor's personality, he should have forced his way in a long time ago. But now he's speaking persuasively. There's only one possibility. Sure enough, the sword immortal ancestor continued. The person being possessed must willingly offer their body. Otherwise, both of them will be in mortal danger. Then he reasoned with him, appealing to his emotions and logic. It indicates that the demon race is weak, and that I am already old and frail. I really can't accept this. Then I promised Yixuan various benefit. After we go out, I will definitely find him a suitable body. Though I said that, the old monster's hand was still firmly pressed on Yixuan's head. It seemed like it could crush him by accident. Yixuan had no choice but to agree. He then used the excuse that men and women should not touch and sent her away. However, this wasn't a long-term solution. The next time she comes, he wouldn't know what to do. Meanwhile, a mouse scurried past Yixuan. Suddenly it felt an inexplicable chill. Human, what do you want to do? A great battle is about to break out in front of the Tiangang mansion. The demon generals who received orders to defend are stepping forward one by one. 7th sister takes the lead and charges ahead. No general can withstand her sharp blade. 8th sister holds a flower umbrella, smiling gently. She looks harmless, but the flower petals scattered under the umbrella. But amidst the demon horde, they exploded one after another. For a moment, countless demons were killed and wounded. However, the sword immortal ancestor completely ignored it. After all, a few insignificant clowns were harmless. Then the ancestor slowly walked towards Yixuan. He cautiously scanned the area with his divine sense. After confirming it was Yu Qingqian, he began to undress. He also muttered, the demon race will never forget Qingqian's sacrifice. Then the entire bloody magic formation began to boil. Countless blood energies swarmed towards the two of them. Meanwhile, deep beneath Wanjin's sect, the blood demon ancestor watched the boiling blood pool with excitement. This meant that the sword immortal ancestor had successfully found a body for possession. He immediately sent a message, ordering all forces to act immediately. encircle and suppress the Sword Immortal sect and capture Nankong. A quarter of an hour later, Lin Wally led people to the Sword Immortal sect. He confronted the elder sister and the others from across the river. Yuanji spoke insidiously, claiming that the changes in the Boundary Prison Tower were caused by Nankong's incompetence. If he were in charge of the sect, he would have handled it properly. Huang Yurong was furious. You Yuan are despicable. As the most senior elder of the Sword Immortal sect, he didn't mention a word about what happened inside the Boundary Prison Tower. Clearly he's deliberately doing this. Lin Wally even took advantage of the situation, saying it's still the old rules. As long as Nankong becomes his partner, then everything will be forgotten. Hearing this, the senior sisters all cursed Lin Wally for being shameless. Such a big frog wants to eat a swan? The expressionless elder sister directly drew her sword, and with a single strike of force splitting Mount Hua, she attacked Lin Wally and the others. Seeing that the situation couldn't be resolved peacefully, Lin Wally drew his long sword, hypocritically declaring that he would uphold justice today and destroy the Jiangshan sect. Faced with such power, the Jiangshan sect disciples fought back. The battle to the death is today, and the people fighting outside the Tiangang mansion were suddenly drawn by a soaring beam of blood light. They saw a person slowly standing in the air. The surrounding demons knelt down beneath him. Yu Qingqian with his double pupils laughed wildly. This body. I'm extremely satisfied. The Sword Immortal ancestor successfully possessed Yi Xuan's body. He immediately intended to attack his sisters, but as everyone was on high alert, the inner energy gathering in the ancestor's palm dissipated like a fart, vanishing without a trace. The tense crowd was left speechless. The eighth sister immediately stated, could it be that Yi Xuan's body is too weak, unable to unleash the power of a transcendent god? The Sword Immortal ancestor also looked at his hands in surprise, uncertain what had happened. Unconvinced, he used all his strength, trying to gather his inner energy in his palms, but it was completely useless. Yu Qingqian, holding the flying wheel, faced the ancestor. You can't use your divine transformation abilities anymore. Then you shall pay with your life for my father. The Sword Immortal ancestor was shocked. Why is there still a Yu Qingqian? Then who did I possess? Before the ancestor could figure it out, Yu Qingqian's lunar wheel smashed down viciously. Having lost all his spiritual power, the ancestor could only flee in a panic. While fleeing, he ordered the surrounding demon generals to protect him quickly. However, a pair of jade feet appeared before the ancestor. Yi Xuan's crisp voice sounded. Protecting who? You're not the real Ya Huang. It's Yu King again. The ancestor is wishing for death at this moment. Why is it Yu Qingqian again? Will you let me live or not? Yi Xuan took out the illusion fox pill and removed the disguise, teasingly stating that the ancestor's possession wasn't Yu's body, but it was just a small animal he casually picked up from the ground. The Sword Immortal ancestor immediately understood the reason. The animal had no spiritual root in its body. Therefore, he naturally couldn't fully utilize his cultivation. But since things had come to this, he could only find another way. So he summoned all the demons and offered a great reward. Whoever killed anyone could directly become his personal guard, enjoying all sorts of wealth and luxury. The demons were still hesitating. Suddenly a giant hand descended from the sky. It smashed the Sword Immortal ancestor violently into the ground. The Heavenly Gang Demon Emperor blew a breath of air, acting all cool. Old geezer, when did it become your turn to call the shots inside the Boundary Prison Tower? Seeing this, the demons rejoiced. It's the Heavenly Gang Demon Emperor, he's back. Yu Qingqian excitedly threw herself into her uncle's arms. Then she inquired about the whereabouts of the Sword Immortal ancestor. Following the Demon Emperor's gaze, everyone discovered that where the ancestor had been, there was now a huge rat. Jinsu sneered, covering his mouth. Oh, so he's been reverted to his original form. The dignified ancestor of the Sword Immortal sect. I was tricked by Yi Xuan and turned into a mouse. I almost became a part of his stomach. Yi Xuan then explained to everyone. When he was seizing control, he suddenly saw a little mouse passing by on the ground. He used the excuse of undressing to lure the ancestor out. Then he fed the mouse a 9 Heavens illusion fox pill. He himself swallowed a pill to switch places. You should all know what happened next. The Sword Immortal ancestor successfully possessed the rat's body, and I took the opportunity to rescue the Heavenly Demon Emperor. But I also have to thank my sisters for their help. Without the threat, I might not have been able to deceive him. Seventh sister pushed Yi Xuan away immediately, telling me to stop all this hugging and cuddling. Not very familiar, right? At this moment, the Demon Emperor Qin Gang slowly stepped forward and stated that he was aware of the ins and outs of the matter. The demon race owes Yi Xuan a huge favor. However, this evil Sword Immortal has harmed countless members of my race, and even harmed his own younger brother. Can you hand him over to my demon race for disposal? Yi Xuan thought for a moment and shook his head. This Sword Immortal ancestor is a manifestation of the heart demon. It has no physical form, and is extremely difficult to eliminate. The best course of action now is to have my guardian beast watch over it temporarily. Once I leave the Realm Prison Tower, I will discuss it with my elder sister. Upon hearing this, the Demon Emperor let out a long sigh. That works as well. Then seventh sister turned to look at the Demon Emperor and demand the last piece of the Spirit Stone. The demon generals all spoke out in opposition. Although this kid has done us demons a favor, this is the only opportunity for freedom in 1,000 years. Are we really going to give it up? The demon king's face darkened. Shut up. We will have a time to see the light of day again. If we lose the demon's reputation before then, that's the greatest loss. Then the heavenly Gang Yao Huang took out a spirit stone from his bosom and gave it to Savent's sister. As the spirit stone was embedded, the entire mechanism emitted a dazzling light. Several beams of light shot straight into the sky. The demons looked forlornly into the distance. They didn't know how much longer they would be trapped here. At that moment, a tremor suddenly came from the earth. Yixuan's fanchon suddenly rushed out of his arms in a hurry. It let out a crisp dragon's roar. Yixuan quickly asked Ling what was going on. The answer she gave was that Yixuan had struck it lucky again. The realm prison tower was a fragment of the Unjua mountain, originating from the same source. That meant he could take the realm prison tower into his fanchon seal. Yixuan, I have a plan. I can take you all out of the tower. The life or death battle between the Jiangxian sect and others rages on. Inside the Jiu Tower, Yixuan has formed an alliance with the Yazoo using the fanchon seal. Both sides battling outside the tower suddenly felt the earth shake. The already crumbling Jiu Tower was rapidly shrinking at this moment. This commotion caused everyone to turn and look. You and the old thief hurriedly ran towards Lin Wanli and reported that the Tower of the Underworld was on the verge of collapsing. He suggested that Lin lead the team to evacuate first. After all, while the position of the Sword Immortal sect master is tempting, you still need to be alive to sit in that seat. Nankong heard this and glared with rage. What, aren't you all self-proclaimed champions of justice? Aren't you here to subdue demons and uphold the way? Why are you afraid now that it's come to this? Lin Wanli was now in a difficult position. He retreated. He would appear too opportunistic. But if he didn't retreat, wouldn't he be at a great disadvantage? While he was still hesitating, a group of uninvited guests suddenly appeared on the battlefield. The aura emitted is earth-shattering. UNG panicked and shouted, "This is bad, the Hell Prison Tower is gone. Monsters and demons have escaped." Nankamo was struck as if by a thunderbolt upon hearing this. Looks like Yixuan and the two sisters are in grave danger. She raised her Kingfing sword in front of her chest. She shouted loudly, "Disciples of the Sword Immortal sect, form a formation. Today there will only be a bloody battle. We can't let a single demon or ghost escape." However, what surprised everyone was, the demons all swarmed towards the disciples of the Myriad Swords Alliance. For a time, the Myriad Swords Alliance disciples fell one after another. Then 3 Yuanying stage demons appeared. Upon appearing, they directly bypassed Nan Kong and confronted the top experts of the Myriad Swords Alliance and others. The sisters were all puzzled. Why were the demonic creatures avoiding their own disciples? Could something have happened that they didn't know about? At this moment, Lin Wanli knew he wouldn't gain any advantage today. But before that, he still wanted to secretly attack Nan Kong. While Nan Kong's attention was fully on the demonic creatures, Lin Wanli directly activated his sword formation, intending to attack from behind. By the time Nan Kong turned around, it was too late to dodge. But the next moment, the flying sword suddenly turned and flew to the side. It then obediently stood upright in the Demon Emperor's hand. The Demon Emperor lightly squeezed and shattered the 3 flying swords. He mumbled something about worthless junk. The old monsters felt an incredibly oppressive aura from the Demon Emperor. Is this the aura of the God Transformation Realm? Lin Wanli was still watching the Demon Emperor from a distance. He was thinking about how to escape. The next moment, the Demon Emperor appeared right in front of him. That'll pervert. Are you the one they're talking about? Yixuan finally returned to the Sword Immortal sect. His big sister immediately gave him a loving hug. Meanwhile, Lin Wanli on the other side was completely confused. Why would the name Old Pervert come out of the mouths of the demon race? Before he could explain anything, the whole person was firmly slapped. In an instant, they shot across the sky like a meteor. Only their 2 calves were left exposed outside the mountain. UNG solemnly speculated. The demon race has been imprisoned for 1,000 years. They should have hated the Sword Immortal sect to the bone. Why are they now showing favoritism toward the Sword Immortal sect? At this moment, Lin Wanli finally managed to flip over and leap down from the mountain. He pointed his finger and scolded Yixuan for being self-destructive. How could he collude with the demon clan? Isn't he ashamed? Yixuan wasn't willing to indulge Lin Wanli. He directly countered, saying Lin Wanli was the most shameless person in the world. As the leader of the 5 Extremes Alliance, instead of doing something meaningful, he spent all his time thinking about how to annex the 5 sects. If he really had the ability, come on, try moving me if you can. Upon hearing this, Lin Wanli could no longer hold back. He waved his hand, signaling all the disciples of the 3 sects to charge. Yixuan grinned and looked at the Demon Emperor. He was indicating that his return to the mortal world would be marked by handing these shameless people over to the Demon Emperor to establish his reputation. The Demon Emperor curled the corner of his mouth into a smile. This is excellent. Under the command of the Demon Emperor, the demon army charged forward to engage in battle. The disciples from various factions were no match for the demons. In no time they were completely routed and defeated. Experts like Lin Wally tried to rush forward to rescue them, but they were surrounded by the demon faction's nascent soul experts. The demon emperor also attacked with a thunderous punch. However, Lin Wally managed to narrowly dodge it, but it only caused the disciples at the rear to fall one after another. Taking advantage of the opportunity, Swan summoned the heaven-slaying seal from his chest. The entire seal expanded with the wind. It stood above everyone's heads like a giant mountain. Lin Wally hurriedly urged everyone to retreat quickly, but it was still a step too late. Many disciples were trapped under the seal. The female cultivators of the Sword Immortal sect all took action. The outcome is bound to be decided today. But Lin Wally, the crafty old fox, seeing the situation turn unfavorable, quickly prepared to flee. In the end, he couldn't resist making a harsh remark. "You wait, I will be back." Throughout history, humans and demons cannot coexist, let alone a demon captured by the Sword Immortal sect's ancestor. I wonder how Swan, caught in the middle, will handle this. Just as Lin Wally made his harsh remark and prepared to flee, Swan's heavenly seal slammed down again. In a matter of moments, another wave of contributions was harvested. Lin Wally's heart was bleeding. These were all his most trusted elites. He couldn't afford to think too much. Swan's next attack was already coming. Panicked, he could only lead his subordinates to flee in all directions. Sister seized the right moment and unleashed a fiery phoenix sweeping the plains. Lin Wally realized it was impossible to resist. He immediately threw Yuwenji out. Poor Yuwen, the old thief, hadn't even enjoyed the so-called glory and wealth. He became Lin Wally's shield for death instead. Sister angrily cursed damn. Yet Lin Wally, that old dog, still managed to escape. But isn't there still a traitor here? Third sister, how should we deal with someone who betrays the sect? Third sister's mouth was almost unable to close. They'll be torn apart by 5 horses. Yuwenji was so scared that he quickly crawled up. Wait, sect leader, I was deceived by an evil person. I'm truly innocent. Before he finished speaking, a fierce sword wind had already flashed past. The eldest sister wiped the blood from her sword. From now on, the Sword Immortal sect will have no outer disciples. Swan collapsed on the ground, asked Linger if his contribution points were maxed out, but Linger told him his contribution was 0. After all, he had become stronger by preemptively spending money. Taking back 9 out of 13 isn't excessive, is it? Swan's old face immediately fell. Talking reason with a woman really is a foolish thing to do. At this moment, Swan's ear was grabbed. The stunningly beautiful woman, Nan Kongmo, appeared in front of him. Quickly tell me, what's the deal with that strange bronze seal? And why is the Hell Tower missing? Swan didn't know how to respond. I had to make an excuse, saying it's a long story, hoping to get away with it. But I was surrounded by several older sisters. It's alright. We have plenty of time. At this time, the Demon Emperor and Yukinkian slowly walked over. Swan immediately stepped forward and introduced Bio Bing's identity. But the eldest sister didn't look pleased. She stated clearly that humans and demons are sworn enemies. Although this time we indeed relied on the demon clan's help, my Sword Immortal sect does not welcome you. The Demon Emperor coldly sneered and said, "Is this how you treat your benefactors? I never expected that after 1,000 years. The human race is still so shameless." Seeing the tension rising between both sides, Swan hurriedly stepped in between. Alright, take your time and tell me. Although they knew that water and fire are incompatible, Swan still wanted to reconcile the Sword Immortal sect and the Demon clan. So he pulled his elder sister aside and whispered to her. To his surprise, his elder sister immediately pushed him away. She said this was not something that could be done. Then with an unstoppable aura, she walked forward. Disciples of the Sword Immortal sect, we and the demon race are sworn enemies. Form ranks, follow me into battle. The Demon Emperor's eyes widened in fury, his voice hoarse with rage. What a treacherous human race, burning bridges after crossing them. My demon sons attacked. Then both sides engaged in a fierce and chaotic battle. A blow here, a blow there. A few people and demons are awkwardly chatting non-stop. One disciple even says to act properly. The lion demon nearby is breaking into a cold sweat. We're already being normal. Look at those women, they're even worse. One of them is touching the special part of the charmed spirit. Another one is pinching its tail, nearly drooling. And the two over there are openly discussing colored contact lenses and nails. Swan looked at the battlefield below. He felt it was about time for the performance to end. He hurriedly instructed both sides to stop fighting. The injured second elder sister quickly asked about the situation. The injured third sister reported that only 2 people were hurt. A few scratched fingers, 3 fingers scraped. Scratched fingers, too deeply immersed in the roll, heatstroke. The Demon Emperor waved his hand to signal the Demon clan to stop. The eldest sister announced that they were temporarily unable to defeat the demon race and would return to the sect. The two sides secretly cupped their fists in a gesture of respect. On the way to Yunming's, Milan couldn't help but ask Xuan why they had to stage such a grand play. Xuan explained that no sect in the world would tolerate demon cultivators. Only by settling them within the Sword Immortal sect's territory would other sects dare not easily provoke them. But how could the Sword Immortal sect accept the ancient demon clan? Left with no choice, they staged a grand play, pretending to be at odds. Only then did both sides occupy the inner and outer mountain gates respectively. and the Yumming marsh in front is filled with a wild atmosphere, which is very suitable for the demon clan to live in. Within the marsh there are numerous wild beasts, so feeding the demon clan is not a problem. The demon emperor placed his arm around Yixuan's shoulder. Kid, you've once again done great service for my demon race. How about I make the decision and betroth Yer to you? Both of them were stunned when these words were spoken. No way. Absolutely not. The mission of the Realm Prison Tower was finally completed successfully, and the path to Zhou resurrection also made progress. But faced with the priceless Fanchan Heart Sutra worth 100 million, what choice will Yixuan ultimately make? Right after the Demon Emperor suggested marrying Yu Qingqing Yixuan, both of them voiced their objections in unison. The Demon Emperor had to settle for second best, allowing Mei Ling to follow Yixuan from then on. It's a small token of appreciation from the demon race, but Lai wouldn't accept it. The spirit is its own maid. Would an official certification count as a favor returned? The Demon Emperor's calculation is really loud and clear, with a proud and smiling expression. Of course, it's not just that. From now on, my demon tribe will guard the Yumming Great Marsh. We will never allow any treacherous individuals to pass, and my niece hopes to stay by the young master's side. Yu Qingqian was stunned and horrified upon hearing this. Uncle, why do you insist on me following him? Only Yixuan understood the Demon Emperor's intentions. This act is a form of entrusting his legacy. The Sword Immortal ancestor's malicious thoughts and possessions severely weakened the Demon Emperor. His life expectancy may be short. In the future, the Demon Clan will surely be led by Yu Qingqian. He hopes that I can take care of things here. At this moment, the divine level choice appears here. What's different this time is that there are actually 3 options. 0101001001 piece of spiritual vein information. 01001000101100 the complete Heavenly Heart Sutra and 1 spirit concentration pill. Yixuan stared at the system panel, suddenly stunned. He rushed crazily toward the Sword Immortal sect. After returning to the cottage, he casually let the 2 women find a place to stay. He called out to Ling to ask whether the third option was as he had imagined. To his surprise, Linger said that if it was option 1, it would directly grant a spiritual vein, which could support the Sword Immortal sect for 100 years. Option 2 was a complete version of the Fanchan Heart Sutra. You know how expensive each page is. As for the third option, it was just the revival of a person. Yixuan had a rare serious expression, firmly stated that he chose 3, to revive Zhou. Hearing this, Linger finally remembered the dream spirit, but she expressed her incomprehension. That spirit could only exist in the dream world. Even with the Ningxin pill, it wouldn't be that easy to revive her. Yixuan said it didn't matter. No matter what, he had to try. Upon seeing this scene, Linger suddenly asked, if my soul shatters completely, would you? She stopped midway. Linger blushed and turned her head away. Forget it, pretend I didn't ask. Yixuan stared at Linger, speechless. Do all women ask such silly questions? If something happens to you, I will, of course, do everything I can to save you. Now quickly help me figure out how to revive Xiao Zhao. Linger thought for a moment, and said that Xiao Zhao had helped Yixuan break through, put her into the danchin and slowly nourish her. Yixuan returned to the room, took out a spirit gathering pill, and placed it in the danchin. I don't know if the one chasing is Xiao Zhou's primordial spirit. Just then, the door suddenly creaked open. All I could hear was Yixuan talking to himself. Why does it feel so small? I wonder if rubbing it will make it bigger. Nankong's face turned red. What is my little uncle doing? Yixuan's 9 Heavens mystic transformation technique finally found its use. And the first target was the eldest sister who had given him the technique. Just now after hearing Yixuan's words, the eldest sister couldn't help but sigh, realizing that her younger brother had grown up. Yixuan turned around when he heard the sigh. To his surprise, it was the eldest sister, silently standing behind him. Thinking of the many secrets he kept, Yixuan quickly told her not to resort to harsh interrogation. Nankong smiled. Little uncle, you've grown up. Big sister won't force you to reveal your secrets. The other sisters won't ask either. But big sister still needs to remind you here. The easier power comes, the harder it is to control. You must stay true to yourself. Before she finished speaking, Nankong's little hand was suddenly grabbed. Don't worry, big sis. Look, I killed my way in and out of the prison tower 7 times. There wasn't any problem at all. By the way, since I've done such a great service, aren't you going to reward me with something, big sis? Nankong slapped Yixuan's hand away with a flick. You're really getting more and more unruly. Go cool off somewhere else. Yixuan saw that his older sister was really about to leave. He quickly stood up, intending to ask her something important. But unexpectedly, he accidentally stepped on the bath towel on the floor. He slipped and flew toward his sister. He ended up landing squarely in a soft spot. His sister let out an involuntary scream. Yixuan hurriedly got up to check the situation. He must not let his elder sister get hurt. Nankamo stammered. Uncle, your 9 Heavens mystical transformation technique has only reached the mortal level. Why does it hurt so much after just a light bump? Yixuan suddenly realized. His Heavenly Tao spiritual root is extremely rigid and yang. Plus the enhancement of the 9 Heavens mystical transformation technique With Sister Fanwei's Xuanyin physique, it can help them double their cultivation speed. Thinking of this, he quickly turned Nankang Mo's body around. Sister, if you think so, then come see for yourself. I guess no one wants to watch what happens next, so I'll let everyone skip it. A moment later, Nankang adjusted her clothes. Relying on the Nine Heavens' mysterious transformation technique to break through is merely a speculative method. If it weren't for the strong enemies surrounding my Sword Immortal sect, I wouldn't be in such a hurry. The others are all diligently practicing. With your current cultivation, you should be able to try them one by one, break through one at a time. Upon hearing this, Yixuan's eyes lit up. The eldest sister means that I should cultivate with the 8 sisters. Separately, after receiving the eldest sister's approval, Yixuan's wicked claws immediately reached for the second sister. I wonder how Huang Yurong, known as the brilliant strategist, will couple Yixuan's advances. Just now, the eldest sister adjusted her clothes and was about to leave, but was stopped by Yixuan, who grabbed the corner of her clothes. He said he had something important to ask the elder sister. He then took out a ball of purple aura from his chest. The elder sister looked at the mouse in Yixuan's palm. She could only feel a wave of evil energy coming from it, but didn't know what it actually was. So the two sat under the corridor and talked about the events of the Realm Prison Tower. After hearing the details, the elder sister was greatly shocked. I didn't expect that this mouse was the malevolent soul of the Sword Immortal ancestor. It also teamed up with the Blood Demon ancestor to cause the chaos of the Realm Prison Tower. But according to Yan, this malevolent soul has already reached the divine transformation stage. It is difficult to destroy it using ordinary methods. The safest way is to seal it. It is said that there is a certain underworld artifact in the ghostly realm that can achieve this. However, I don't know much about this. With this Nine Heavens mysterious bird, I only need 5 years. My strength will be on par with the transformation god realm. Yeek's overjoyed. Have you really done a huge favor for my big sister again, right? Any new work? How about we do it again? Before the words left his mouth, the elder sister pushed Yixuan away with one hand. It's getting late, you should rest early. Everyone thought Nankang Mo would leave. Yixuan slowly stood up, intending to go back to his room and sleep. But unexpectedly, countless light blue petals drifted down from the sky. Nankang unexpectedly turned back. He gently kissed Yixuan on the face, indicating that the reward had been given. Don't mention again. Watching Nankang Mo shyly leave, a slight smile appeared on Yasa's lips. This elder sister is really quite cute. The next morning, Yixuan was still fast asleep when he felt something wriggling near his nose. Sneeze sent the two women flying. Yixuan looked at the two women in confusion. What are you doing by my bed so early in the morning? The two women expressed their grievance, saying they were unfamiliar with the area and didn't know what they could do. Yixuan thought about it and agreed. He put on his clothes and prepared to show the two women around the sect. After touring the cafeteria and the council hall, they arrived at Xuanfeng Hall. Here collected the Jianshan sect's millennia-old classics. After sending off the two women, Yixuan prepared to search for legends about the netherworld himself. Unexpectedly, he saw his second sister there. At that moment, Huang Yurong was about to reach out and switch the classics. However, she accidentally knocked them over. Countless classics tumbled down. Yixuan dashed forward to protect her. Huang Yurong, held in Lo's arms, blushed. Uncle, it's you.